isolation, right?
I think so. Maybe he switched it back.
He just gave us a very brief glimpse at what he's working with before ultimately playing the horses of the Bruin in. So this bounces 2 creatures, and when you're bouncing tokens, very effective use of the card.
Very effective, and with no other ability to tempt with the ring at the moment. You know, this is a good card that Tyler really needed here to at least just stay alive.
Yep. Yep.
And now Tyler only has 1 card, looks like 2 cards in hand.
And Paral now, another 5 mana. And
there's the War Beast that got bounced.
Yep. And another nasty end here.
Okay, block, nasty end, draw a couple of cards.
Yeah. No, that was legendary. The ring tempted him from the horses.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Draw 3. And
잠시만요.
Now he's got to deal with 2 creatures.
저 나갔다 와가지고 잠깐만 좀 씻고 올게요. 잠시만요.
If you deal with both of these creatures, you're going to still leave behind a gigantic 4/4 amass token.
Boy.
So.
Oh boy, really tough spot here for the American.
So we saw the 1 isolation, right? That was kind of flashed from Tyler, maybe on accident from the last turn. So that's a way to deal with
flexing. Just like, hey, I got this. Look out for
flexing.
that. Little
But
preview.
It is pretty big if you can get 1 blocker to get in front of the 4/3 and then, you know, tuck away the War Beast. That's a way to actually kind of stabilize and maybe get into this game. Another card that I'm seeing in the deck from Tyler here that would be very good. Man, beat me to it. I was going to say Mouth of Sauron.
Absolutely perfect here. The Mouth of Sauron is really nice because, again, it's going to create 2 bodies here, right?
And this 2 large ones.
Yes. And this is what you want in a situation like this where you're facing... He's dealt with the ring bearers, right?
Yes.
He's dealt with these little 1/1s that were going to peck away at his life total, and now he just needs some beef.
Some beef. Some beef is definitely what Tyler's got now. Now we'll see if there's land 4 or if we played a land already, because if you can do that, this board is maintained with that.
Boy, he's got the island as well, so the isolation is live. Tyler Hatchell
fighting back.
He is right back in this game now. Oh, he's playing an Eastling Vanguard instead.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So instead of playing the isolation, which we believe is still in hand, 2 cards left for Tyler. So
yeah.
Oh boy, he's sailing close to the win, but he's doing a good job. He's doing a great job of staying in this game from a position that did not look hugely advantageous. But that Mouth of Sauron, it's such a good card.
One of the most incredible cards. It's my personal favorite uncommon. I love these blue-black kind of control style decks. I love to, you know, draw a lot of cards, play some birthday escapes with that, Torment of Gollum, and then curve into this card where you can get 2 large creatures. And
dude, the Soothing of Smeagol as well gets rid of the War Beast. So Hatchell just... His hand was just pure gasoline, man.
Yeah.
It's just pure rocket fuel in his hand.
It was after those nasty ends. You know, I think maybe the hand was kind of full of a lot of nasty ends without good creatures to sacrifice. And once you got to deploy those and, you know, get a 3-for-1, essentially because all these creatures were going to die that were blocked before it was nasty end, now you really see Tyler's deck kind of firing on all cylinders. And, you know, I mean, outside of 1 card, the Voracious Fell Beast, Tyler has a lot of the power in his deck already on the battlefield. There is also a Horn of Gondor.
And we're seeing now a 3-power Ring Bearer getting in, right? Dealing a ton of damage. And Paral goes down in game number 2. That was an incredible turnaround there.
Wow.
From Tyler Hatchell. Oh my goodness. I had him dead to rights. He was on 3 life, facing down 2 1/1s. Right. Okay, all right. That doesn't sound that impressive. Sending down a Ring Bearer that was basically unblockable on that board. But he managed to claw his way back into that game.
Incredible, and I am just hyped we get to see another game between these 2 awesome players. And yeah, we'll see who has the ability to be 2-0 and fight for that trophy at a Pro Tour. And it cannot be undersold enough how hard it is to get a 3-0 at a Pro Tour draft. I mean, these are just much different drafts than when you're playing on Arena or at your local shop or anything. These players all know exactly what's important, and these matchups and matches end up being very difficult.
Denethor now off the Great Hall of the Citadel.
Yep.
That's the opening play here for Hatchell. We've already seen Paral play a Birthday Escape. 4 mana for him. We see now the star of the show from last game in the Relentless Rohirrim. Good point you make about how difficult these drafts are. If all's even, I mean, it's hard to get a 3-0 anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what is it, 12.5%? But it's not that for most of the players in this room. You're sitting down and playing against the greatest Magic the Gathering players in the world.
Yes.
Right? Like, you feel like such a fish when you sit across from you. It's like, Reduke, LSV, you know.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Nathan Stoyer for these poor people in our feature table for our first draft.
Yeah, really, really tough competition always here. So, all right, here is the Torment of Golem looking at this hand, and a pretty solid hand. These kind of situations where you have Torment of Golem and you see counter spells like Sauron's Trickery, or if you see Glorious Gale, especially, where you can just play around these kind of counter spells, it ends up being a lot less impactful. So now at this point, Tyler is going to not necessarily tap out for 5 mana and jam his best card in the face of, you know, an incredibly powerful card here, Sauron's Trickery. Just being able to counter Sauron's Trickery, excuse me, being able to counter something and get a body that lays around is so good. One of the best blue uncommons.
Absolutely. We see now the Birthday Escape take the ring up to 3, but I want to come back to the Saruman's Trickery because we've seen cards like this in the past, right? This flavor of card. We call it the cancel with upside.
Yes.
1 blue, counter target spell, get something. You know, scry 1, exile it, whatever. This is probably the best cancel.
안녕하세요. 예, 지금 드랩이요.
Sort of Mystic Snake.
랜드로 보면 알 수 있죠.
Any of the old school players there?
The boomers who are watching this on a Steam
더워.
Twitch stream.
나왔다 하는데
There we go.
너무 더워요.
For the viewers. Shout out to our card viewers here, giving us a flashback.
A boomer himself, so he knows all about this. Exactly. Yeah. He rode here on the back of a Brontosaurus.
He had his paper Mystic Snakes.
여러분 드랩 좀 해보셨나요? 나 안 해서 몰라요.
Alright, so
맞아, 지금 너무 더워.
that was a much better Torment of Golem than we saw last time. Played roughly on curve here, and now the Corsair of Umbar, a pretty middling card. I think. Is that fair? Am I being fair to the captain?
지옥의 화질이라 지금 뭘 하고 있는지 아무것도 안 읽히거든요, 여러분.
You know, it really is not a premium common, and that is what Tyler is doing in the face of a face-up counterspell. You know that's, or we could probably think that's not Tyler's best card in hand, but something to play, gain more stuff on the battlefield,
지옥의 화질 어떡하지?
and either force the counterspell on a weaker card, or, you know, wait
일단 타겟
to
노토큰
fish out a
크리처
little later.
또
The
핸드.
Soothing of Smeagol now targeting the Relentless Row Hiram to send it back up into Mark Peral's hand.
저 링
Prompt the Saruman's Trickery.
링 저거 뭐예요 이거?
Has to. This is just too much of a tempo loss. If Mark was able to recast
이거 군대 나오는 거고 카운터 스펠하고 군대 나오고 오크 군대야?
then I think maybe you
오크
would
군대는 또 이거 군대 나온 다음에 또 치면은 얘가 올라가는 거죠.
Just a little bit too brutal at this mid stage of the game.
안 했으니까.
And one thing I also want to bring up.
이게 또 하나 토큰 나오는 게 아니고 얘가 올라가는 거죠. 전에 있던 군단이랑 비슷한 건데 오크인 거죠.
Players are also trying to hurry up a little bit with maybe time being a factor.
내가 몰라가지고 요즘에
joining us for their first Pro Tour podcast.
안 봐서 잘 몰라가지고
Corey, talk us through what is involved when it comes to
같이 보기인데 내가 몰라. 여러분들이 알려줘야 돼.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, when time
나
is
잘
called
몰라.
at these events, you will have 5 extra turns to finish it up.
거의 다 드랩이라 더 몰라.
Draw is fine maybe when you're in day 2.
네?
You
아예 안
know,
했다.
a lot of players intentionally draw to make it
하지
into the top
않았다.
8, but a draw in day 1 is as close to a loss as it gets.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's really not what you want.
일단 블루가 좀 인기가 좋은가 본데? 그죠? 다들 블루를 넣고 있네?
So these players do want to avoid that, but with this format being a little bit slower, a little bit
그리고 이거 모던 요번에 다 무슨 반지밖에 없다며.
50-minute rounds usually are
반지판이라며.
situations, but sometimes when things
반지가 그리 좋아요?
The other thing about this, I don't think we're going to see this in modern, but I broadcast tournaments where, you know, the format has been glacial. And you get in that draw bracket because you're playing a slow deck, and all you're doing is
좋은 것
playing
같던데.
against other slow decks. It's a nightmare.
blue-white control mirrors as far as
개사기다.
2-0-4. It's awful. It's awful.
개사기 정도다.
Alright, so we had the Torment of Golem taking out the War Beast here, amassing a little extra power here, getting that army up to a 4-4. Looks like it's going to be on block.
메타 보니까 다 반지밖에 없더라고요. 이게 이 정도까지 기울어져 있는 경우가 별로 없거든요.
So the captain of Umbar joining Denethor. And what's Peral's response here? For 2 mana. Jeez, he's thinking about it.
Okay.
Okay, it's a Hithlane Knots. All right.
That leads me to believe that we are trying to get a little aggressive here.
Yeah. Trying to get a blocker out of the way.
And Hithlane Knots, a really nice card when it comes to being able to scry first and draw.
제이슨님,
You know, the
이거 준대
scry
프로모.
mechanic maybe necessarily wasn't
빨리
the most
사세요.
powerful thing, doesn't really compete with, you know, ring tempting style cards, but still pretty solid on a battlefield when you're late in the game.
And look at this now. We see the ring go all the way to the 4th level with this Relentless Rohirrim, and very wisely choosing the 1-1
못생겼다고?
as the ring bearer here. We've seen a lot of
에어리어 갖고 이쁜데?
happening in this game. It looks like, I think it feels like both players have sort of achieved that critical mass of being able to get the ring to level 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to see a pretty large attack here. This is an attack for 8, essentially. If you count in the chapter 3 life lost here from the ring. And this is a large attack, putting Tyler down to 4 as there was no block.
밸런스가 좋아 보이죠?
And we'll see what Tyler can do.
이거밖에
Tyler
안
has a
써.
nice battlefield as well, but I caught a peek at Mark's hand there, and it looks
여기에서
like
끝났죠? 여기서 끝났어.
Deathless, excuse me, as well
여기서
as
얘기가 끝났어.
Yeah, Smite the Deathless, a pretty good removal spell. You know, a lightning strike, basically. A bit of upside against stuff like Easterling Vanguard.
Oh, it's amazing.
As we've already talked about. This is a card you're always extremely happy to play in your deck. There are creatures that...
역시 반지의 제왕이면 역시 반지지.
That 4 toughness mark. Aowen, another card that we've seen already today, makes it a little awkward. But look, you're not complaining. You'll play. You take Smite the Deathless. You're happy with it.
Definitely, I think it's one of the best red cards.
근데 메타 너무한 거 아니야?
Best red commons, excuse me, I believe.
Yep. So now it looks like Tyler's thinking carefully about what he wants to do. And for 2 mana, what are we going to see in play here?
2 mana, let's see. We already have the Soothing of Smeagol. It's probably not the #1 option.
Could be the Vanguard. He's got 3 copies of that.
Yep. This is very much the slow down turn. Like, this is going to be the turn that kind of decides the game when you just had a massive attack here for 8 coming right at you. And
재밌는지는 잘 모르겠고
is the ability
밸런스 패치가 이게
great.
될 수 있나?
Oh yeah, this card not necessarily what you want to be doing.
어찌합니까 이거 밸런스 패치?
Tokens?
Not at all.
Yeah, but excellent here when you have a 1/1
in this situation.
Ring bearer. It was great.
Whatever it is, you will use it to get rid of the ring bearer here. So Bewitching Leechcraft doing its job, and now just a pair of Relentless Rohirrim for Mark Peral. Hatchel not attacking, of course, on 4 life. Those Rohirrim are both lethal individually.
And with 3 mana available, there could easily be a trick from Tyler here to really prevent something.
난
Dreadful as
솔직히
the Storm is something that kind of sticks out to me looking at the list. Could also be
모던 쪽 밸런스를 아예 신경 안 쓰고 반지의 제왕 팬들 빼오려고 낸 것 같은데? 절대 반지는 못 참지 이러고? 이 정도까지 아티팩트 4만화 아티팩트가 이 정도까지 메타에 영향을 준다고?
Awesome if it could trigger on your opponent's turn as well.
Yeah.
Already great.
It's already very good, but yeah, no, you know, I guess you're not often casting nasty ends in your own turn while you're chump blocking.
Yeah,
I wonder if there's a card that allows you to do that. I don't know. It's well beyond the purview of this draft format. In any case, all right. Here's the Smite the Deathless we talked about.
야 2번 3이던데 뭐 2점 번인가 보다.
And here's going to be the Dreadful as the
아 2만원 3점 번.
You know, because this is an excellent Dreadful as the
상해 크리처 3점 찍고 크리처 무적을 잃어버린대요.
Or nasty end. You know, I mean, this is really
그리고 익지할 텐데.
multiple cards.
얘 무적을 잃어버리고 익지할 텐데요.
Very happy to have either one of those. Looks like we do not have the Dreadful as the Storm, or not valuing it enough.
No, nasty end.
I think that was discarded.
Oh, discarded nasty.
Discarded to the loot.
Oh, sure. The activation of the captain. Excuse me. Righto.
All right, interesting.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
Exile.
If I would be looking at that,
아니야? 뭐
as
드로투한 거 아니야?
I would be thinking, wow, this is a very strong hand. If you're discarding nasty end instead of casting it.
Yeah, something must be going on. But here's a
타겟 크리처 오퍼너트 컨트롤 딜 데미지.
Which will,
Oh.
if this resolves, slay the Denethor.
This is a lethal spell here because you are able to attack with 2 4/3s. So this is going to put the pressure on Tyler to see if
얘
he
썼나?
have
4점
anything to stay alive.
맞으라고
Or
얘한테
this
쓴
is
건가?
just GG. I caught a quick glance at Tyler's
이제 노잼이에요. 저 요즘 매직을 잘 안 해서 다음 스탠다드 나올 때까지 안 하고 있을 거라
When you're on 0 life.
Yeah, 0
잘
life
몰라요.
will make a lot of things tougher.
Okay. So what have we just seen there?
뭐야, 공격가이가 들어와네?
Sacrifice to the Denethor.
해주는데?
Yeah. Yeah, this was...
And that means that you're on 5 life and not just dead to the Relentless Rohirrim. We're going to see a jump block go to 1.
Brutal. Yep, it had to be sacrificed there. Denethor was the target of the removal spell to deal with, but this just keeps
그린 강세다.
Tyler alive.
오노 그린.
We do get to see the Mouth of
One life, baby. One life. It's not zero. Mouth of Sauron comes down.
그러면 어쩔 수 없지.
Is this a mass token going to be?
So you can, getting a
날빌
count
대
from both graveyards here, you can target your opponent. You
그린이
can target
강세면
yourself as
날빌이지
well.
역시.
Usually just choosing the bigger, or if it's pretty close, you target yourself.
Yep. Targeting himself.
세계 첫 수험으로 혼내줍시다.
And here we go, just like last game, where Tyler just, wanted to make it entertaining for all of us.
Yeah.
Live by one life. But that is that a 6-6 or a
6-6.
9-6? Okay.
It's a 6-6,
Wow.
dude. Yep. All right. So big enough. Big enough.
벌써 하기 싫어.
Very happy to
로터스
see
말하자마자 벌써 하기 싫어.
the fire
안 할래요.
to a quarrels end. That makes a 1-1.
Okay, that doesn't do it. Is there a way to push through these attackers? Now, the one thing you can do is attack with your Ring Bearer and force the trade with the Mouth of Sauron, because that army is too large to block. But, I mean, Tyler's fine with that.
You're blocking with the mouth.
Yeah.
뭔데?
Instead of going to negative
Instead of going to negative
3?
whatever? Well, it's close. It's a close call. We'll see how these Pro Tour level players decide to address that particular decision point, Corey. All right, that looks like a Haradrim Spearmaster in hand.
And a Smite the Deathless number 2, it looks like, neither of which.
Smite the Deathless. Oh, no. The four toughness on the Mouth of Sauron.
Okay,
absolutely decisive.
This is going to be forced
드로우
blocks, as
디스카드구나.
you see right there, and then Smite the Deathless to finish off the army and put this little 1-1 as the only creature where it puts Tyler to the test once again.
And it's lethal. It is lethal. This 1-1 is demanding an answer.
아니 쟤는 디나이랑
who untaps
뭐
now with
레드
six
디나이
mana.
다 픽했나? 뭐 다 찍네?
Stem the bleeding, but will he be able to defeat the might of this lethal attacker next turn? The humble 1-1 Easterling Vanguard. That's going to do it. That's going to be enough here to get us another turn.
Yep, let's see what Mark has available.
Only 2 Smite the Deathless. We've seen both of them cast, I believe, this game. So there's no way to cleanly answer the Vanguard here for Mark Peral.
Yeah, not looking like it. Yeah, any removal spell just allows that amass token to then block as well.
But there is the Haradrim.
I think that was a Lorien revealed as well, so a way to draw some extra cards, but values the battlefield
그냥 다
right now
넣던데?
a little bit more.
모든 덱에 다 반지 넣고 아니면 없으면 사이드에 넣어가지고 드로우를 해야 될 것 같은데 그럼 드로우 먹고.
So the winner of this game will go on to play against Nathan Stoyer and see who wins the pod. Okay, Arwen's gift.
All right, that's a nice one here. Scry's 2, I think I saw a land put on the bottom there. Pretty, oh no, gonna have a think about it actually.
Okay.
Are we top? He likes what he sees. Mountain and
top.
this card drawn off of the Arwen's gift.
That's Tyler shaking his head.
주국의
Like,
탑.
You kept both on
you
top.
kept both. That's always a bad feeling. And
1만화 랜드 사이클?
Gandalf.
14랜드면 그 1만화도 안 나올 것 같은데?
So that card, nasty end counters it though. Straight away.
이게 뭐야? X 데미지의 타겟 클치한테 주고 X는 내 무덤에 있는 소설이 인스턴트.
Wow.
Incredible here.
이건 또 뭐야?
As Tyler just refuses to go down. Isolation
대기로 올린다.
after the nasty end effectively counters the
1점 남으네. 1점만 때리면 되는데 못 때리고 있네.
And now it's the Bath song. Mark Peral just desperately trying to find a way to deal with
뉴잉랜드는 뭐 그럴 수 있죠.
Unreal
뉴잉랜드는 그럴
game.
수
We
있죠.
saw 2 spells here from Mark off the top. I didn't catch what
오,
the
악수.
blue card drawn was, but it was indeed.
뭐야, 3판 들어갔어?
There's that dice in the middle of our screen.
So
that is
we're on
turn.
turns. We're on turns, dude. Time has been called. So can Hatchell stick around long enough here?
So Tyler cannot win. Tyler cannot win this match, but is now playing for the draw, as there's just not enough power in Tyler's deck. But Mark needs a haste threat. This is his last turn to do so.
야, 이거를 비겨?
I don't know if there is.
I don't know what there is.
Gandalf Sanction was the card.
Yeah. Gandalf Sanction was the big finisher here for Mark Peral, but
야, 이걸 비겨? 이거 아니지 않아?
Oh yeah, I'm not seeing anything. I think this is going to end in a draw.
I think this is it. And you know what? I know
내가 이래서 오프라인 싫어요.
Right? It feels like a win for Tyler, right? This feels like Tyler did such an incredible job of staying alive in this game and in this match, right? Not going down. And look, stuff isn't out to draw. It never feels great for either player, but I think Tyler in this situation can
비기고
say,
좋다고 웃고 있네.
"Good boy."
Yeah.
I did it. Well, I didn't do it, but I did not do it.
Exactly. And, with that Gandalf sanction, there's other options.
아, 오랜만에 보니까 또 화가 난다.
Maybe wait
이기는
a
거
little
보니까.
bit. There was that option to just attack with the creature. And if you were able to just block Nasty and the blocker then, maybe the next creature that was played, then you Gandalf sanction, maybe that could have changed the texture of the game a little bit.
매직은 항상 느끼는 건데 근데 평등하지 않아. 이 게임은 평등한 게임이 아니야. 그렇죠. 허점이 너무 커. 예전에 우리가 하는 그런 보드게임 느낌이 너무 많이 나. 좀 더 체계적으로 해야 되니까 아레나로 해야 돼. 대회가 좀 그래. 나 이제는 오프라인 대회 나가라고 하면 좀 그래요. 아레나에서 느끼지 못했던 이 분노가 다시 세금적으로 올라오는 거야.
And we're going to find out very shortly, my friends. We're going to chuck it back over to the news desk. Maria's standing by to talk you through what's next on the agenda. And in a few short moments, my friends, coverage of Pro Tour The Lord of the Rings will continue. So stay with us here in Barcelona.
여러분, 문제가 뭔지 알아? 리밋이 원래 빨리 끝났거든요, 예전에는. 이렇게 오래 안 끝났어. 근데 지금은 리밋이 너무 이득을 많이 봐. 드로우도 많고. 원래 드랩은 비기는 거 거의 없어야 돼요. 좀 그래. 나는 약간 그렇게 생각해요. 게임의 대회인데 대회 자체에서 비긴다라는 개념이 들어가면 안 되지 않나? 그런 생각도 들긴 해요. 대회에서 비긴다라는 개념이 있는 게 그게 좋다고 느껴지지가 않아. 비긴다는 개념이 없었으면 좋겠어요. 나만 그래요? 여러분들 안 그래요? 추가 시간을 넣으면 또 애매해지니까 그냥 한 명이 스페가 갈려야 된다고 봐요. 난 스페가 갈려야 된다 이렇게 생각을 합니다. 스페를 가르자. 축구처럼 승부차기 넣어야 돼. 안 되겠어. 승부차기 시스템 넣어야 돼.
Welcome back to coverage of Pro Tour The Lord of the Rings from Barcelona, Spain. There's a shot of the beach that plenty of the players will have visited before getting into the action here this weekend at the Pro Tour. We're so happy to have you here in draft this morning before we switch over to modern later this afternoon. Let's take a look at our headlines after 2 rounds of play. Draft pod finals ahead. Everybody, who is going to start out the tournament at 3-0?
말들은 신속을 얻는데요.
We're going to find out after this.
얘도 신속이야. 오마나 사사 신속. 얘가 공격 가면 필적 카드 능력 파워를
The big winner, flavor. The flavor out there with the Lord of the Rings draft is just incredible. We've been seeing it on the tables. It's been so much more fun to watch. Shadowfax, Lord of Horses.
잠깐만, 내려놓고 올라가는 것도 아니고 그냥 내려놓는 거야? 오마나의 사사 밑으로 공격을 간다고?
Pick 8, the last possible opportunity. Paul and Cedric were saying he
이게 엉커야?
punch. He needed some top end. Shadowfax showed up.
뭐야 이거?
It won him that last match, putting him at 2-0. This card has done so much work in this limited format, and for Nathan Stoyer.
What a flavor win! Good Shadowfax. Good.
아니 너무.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the news.
너무 센데?
joined by Mani Devoody.
오마나의 헤이스트로 구바구가 어떻게 가는 건데?
Under our belt, Will, you've been down on the floor. The players about draft this morning. Some
아니 내용이 너무 걔가 뭐랄까 너무 직관적으로 센데? 그냥 오마나의 사사 헤이스트도 나쁘지 않은데 어떻게 가면 4 이하 공격력이 그냥 필드에 공격 상태로 깔린대. 맞아 이거? 엉커가? 아 리밋 기준이죠. 스탠다드 기준에서 얘기하면 뭐 쓰죠. 오렌지다 오렌지. 그레그 오렌지.
2 with a 1 ring. Can't get more flavorful than that if we tried. Moving on to Autumn Bachette. Obviously, she started off with a bit of Grixis going on.
머리가 되게 신기하게 돼 있다.
Wrong pick for a Frodo got past him.
머리가 되게 신기하게 돼
I
있어.
want to do it now. I'm going to be going.
뭐야 이거
into the green white.
1무 1패자들 경기를 왜 보여주는 거야? 1무 1패자들 경기를 왜 보여주는 거야?
And get there. And round number 1 got themselves a
님들아 나
draw.
이해 좀 시켜줘요. 1무 1패 이거 뭔데?
And then moving on to the last final person playing for, see him get himself an invite to the World Championships in Las Vegas. It is Jean-Manuel Deprat. There he is on your screen. Not going too well for him, but he is winning the flavor text. Not only did he manage to open himself
메인 밸류가 없진 않죠? 지금 나오는 애들은 다 탑 피니셔 아까 4,
as well
and 5
to finish off that flavor.
That's awesome.
많이
Love
같이
hearing those
결승.
flavor stories from the floor. Hey everybody, if you're thinking I want to go to one of these MagicCons, that sounds awesome. Hey, you're not wrong. We've got one coming up in September 22nd through the 24th. MagicCon Las Vegas.
리밋 잘 안 됐나 보죠. 리밋 2패여도 저 아저씨 스탠다드 컨스 잘하니까 올라갈 수도 있고.
Awesome. There's a 100K limited open. Hello, yes, I love
매지코는 뭐야? 야, 이런 거 할 시간에 밸런스 좀 맞춰. 이런 거 하고 있어. 라스베가스 더럽게 좋아하네.
And you can snag yourself a couple of really cool promo cards too. I've got this Relentless Rats, which is just awesome. I want to show it off. I want
뭐야,
to
야, 화질 어떻게 해봐?
Look at that.
G? G때?
It is so good. And Monty, you're in this actually. There you are.
Right there.
That's you.
I'm right there.
So
야, 위에 카드 상태가 위에 별로 안 좋은 것 같은데
promo
이거?
cards and a lot of other awesome stuff.
거칠거칠한
Let's
느낌인데?
take a look at our
뭔가?
feature match here coming up for round number 3 as we play
불편하죠?
in draft this morning. Nathan Stoyer versus
1승 1무랑
Hatchell.
2승.
Nathan Stoyer starting out undefeated, sitting at 2-0. Tyler Hatchell picking up that draw last
와, 저 친구 잘 나간다. 요즘에 맨날 결승
Let's
가고
get to meet
우승도
our
한번
players a
하고.
little bit better.
그리고로
Nathan
우승했던
Stoyer,
친구죠?
He's your current reigning world champion. He's your current reigning
요즘 잘 나가?
tour champion. Can he do it again? Well, he's setting himself up to do so today, kicking off the tournament with a 2-0 record. Can he take the pod?
MOM 챔피언.
We'll find out. He's going to have to get through
그는 그냥
Hatchell to do it. Started
산디에고
playing
사는
in 2000,
동네요.
qualified via the
하지만 매진력
RC
23년.
from San Diego,
여기서 길 가는
from San Diego and Illinois.
길 가는 사람도 다 경력 물어보면 20년이에요 이 게임. 알죠?
Look at our players, but what about the
처음 보는 사람 매직 얼마나 했어요? 별로 안 했어요. 15년이었다. 이런 게임이에요, 이 게임.
This morning with Cedric and Paul, and again the deck didn't look
몰라요,
great,
한국에
but
있는지.
it had a lot going for it. 3
모릅니다.
copies of Mary, a
오,
lot
보루스
of pressure
어그로.
for this deck, and if you can start off with
딴 건 모르겠고
we've seen how much work
그냥
those 3 copies of reprieve
두들겨 패도 되긴 듯해요. 나 카드 하나도 몰라요.
to put the opponent behind while you're pushing damage through. Now, one of the weaknesses.
말세 어디서 1승 더 하면 가요? 말세 나한테 그런 얘기 안 했는데.
Toughness, but if you can get on the board
드랩이죠,
early,
드랩.
Nathan definitely has the ways to.
드랩이라 후진다는 거.
We've seen him do that time and time again with
드랩 덱.
like Shadowfax. Now, on the other side,
한일 챔피언?
this deck from
우리
Tyler
말세.
is a doozy. We just watched him fight for a harder
불쌍하구만.
draw on camera, bring back a game that looked almost impossible twice in games 2 and 3, and this.
육사는 아깝게 떨어진 게 아닌데? 육사면 그냥 반타작보다 조금 잘한 건데? 못한 거임. 빨리 약 올려주죠. 말세.
Claim the precious and 3 copies of the Torment of Golem, and Nathan.
84는 좀 아쉽긴 하다.
But he's going to have to do it again. There's Horn of Gondor back
근데
again.
84면
Best rares in the
84면 못 가는 게 맞지.
This time.
원래 매직이 3패 하면은 거의 끝이에요. 어떤 대회든.
I think the big key point.
근데 9-3이라고 올라가면 그게 되게 좀 느슨한 대회인 거야. 원래 매직은 2패 하면은 거의 간당간당. 3패 하면 거의 끝. 대부분 그래요.
He's going to have a much easier time in this match.
Nathan Stoyer starting out the morning.
원래 승수 많이 쌓으면 후반에 갈수록 힘들긴 해요. 잘하는 애들이 많이 있으니까. 게임도 많이 만나요.
In this draft, so maybe the biggest test for him to prove that his draft deck can get the job done and start off with a.
그래서 데이트에 잘하는 게 중요해요.
Alright, well it's time for our draft finals. I'm going to send it over to Cedric and Paul here for the pod.
저 머리 뭐야 저거?
Thank you so much, Maria. Cedric Phillips.
오, 머리 색깔 봐.
Getting ready for the final round.
저 무슨 색깔이 에메랄드 색이야?
For today, we watched Nathan draft, as Monty did mention.
주목할 때마다 패배하는 남자가 아니고 패배가 잦은 남자예요. 주목하지 않을 때도 진다고요. 우리 말씀.
Boy, I'm gonna fan you down.
Oh yeah.
All those blue black cards.
이 머리 진짜 특이하다. 에메랄드 색으로 했어 염색을. 진짜 특이하다. 나 저런 색 처음 봐요. 그러니까 코스프레 하는 사람들도 저런 색 잘 안 했던 것 같아.
So this might be a pretty good matchup here for Tyler Hatchell.
Yeah, Tyler Hatchell has a very, very good deck and what looks to be a pretty good matchup. Now, as we have stated many times when we watched Nathan play and when we watched him draft, if he's able to get a little bit ahead, those reprieves are going to be really good. I think that's going to be exemplified.
프로그래밍 잘하게 생겼다.
Do that
이 사람
because a lot of
프로그래밍
Tyler's
잘하게
trying to catch up
생겼어.
with, they're pretty expensive cards.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can go 1 drop, 2 drop, or 2 drop, 3 drop, and then reprieve.
여기에 글자 있으니까 옷 뒤집어 입은 것 같아.
The longer the games go here, the worse.
원래 저거 목 뒤에 있는데 저런 거 글자. 옷 뒤집어 입은 것 같다.
Wants to win that die roll, get onto the board quick with that 3 copies of reprieve that he has.
Well, we will look at these players begin things right now. A little island cycling to kick things off here for Tyler Hatchell against Nathan Stoyers. Both players kicking off round number 3 of Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings, with 7 cards. If Nathan wins this match, he moves on to 3-0. If Tyler wins, it'll be
12시가 행동이 느리다.
Whoever wins this match will be the winner of the pod.
Absolutely. Would be a very solid start here for either player. And Nathan with a slower start. With taking a look at this hand, and no 3 drops and no 2 drops, just that reprieve.
Yeah, not a ton going on to start things off with Nathan. Again, I'm looking
지금 6시 하품했죠?
Tyler, I think, wants to play.
플레이 왜 이렇게 느려? 이런 거 하품했어요.
Card quality can really take over the game.
원래 어그로 굴리면은 마음이 급하거든요.
Yeah. And we saw in the last round Nathan able to break up kind of one of the better rares in the set, Horn of Gondor, because his opponent just didn't have any other humans in his deck.
Yep.
But Tyler's deck is much better suited, has something like 5-6 humans, so that even if Nathan happens to have a removal spell for the token from the Horn, Tyler can still drop more creatures.
쓸데없는 행동을 안 하는 것도 되게
Horn of
중요해요.
Gondor, incredible card. Lost my fair share of matches against that card.
Initialing Vanguard is the turn 2 play there from Tyler. A swamp and attack here for turn number 3 as we head back over to Nathan.
이게 진짜 힘든 부담이지. 콜라보 하면 원래 힘들 때 콜라보 한다는데. 매직 진짜 힘든가 보다.
No, it is not. Ton of 4 drops here in Nathan's hand, and Tyler knows
콜라보 메타
about the 3 reprieves in Nathan's hand.
이게 안 좋은 거라는데.
He could, given the fact that he's the one who's got a permanent on the battlefield, he could perhaps play it a little bit slow.
And here is a Torment that will get reprieved. So Nathan will send that back for now. Drawing a copy of Shadowfax. We'll untap the land.
화이트 리밴드.
Nathan's 4th turn. We'll simply draw a card to begin things and see if we can actually get something deployed onto the battlefield here. Though it's going to be a little bit painful knowing that perhaps a Torment will be played again the next turn, and the Shadowfax would be headed to the graveyard.
마랑 있다 마랑.
You want to play the best 4 drop that you have here, because Tyler likely will be able to take the other one. Although
마치 마랑 하나 때문에 짠 거 같은 덱이죠. 보로스.
Well, I'll ask you an interesting question right now.
보로스 마랑 덱.
Mary is an option this turn. You don't have to play a 4-mana spell. You
아까도 나왔죠. 메타의 카드 마랑.
Another reprieve. We're open decklist after all.
That is true. That is true. Now taking a look at Tyler's hand, if he doesn't have any other options, he's probably still priced into just playing the Torment still.
Sure.
마랑의 파괴력을 한번 봅시다.
Nathan giving this turn a long look. Looks like going to be tapping 4 mana. So it'll be one of these 4 mana spells. Not the fancy play, a more simplistic one here for Nathan.
뭐야 뭐 갑자기 왜 뭔데?
And it'll be the 4-3, a little bit of tempting to be done and passing the turn back over to Tyler. Now, will Tyler
갑자기 슬립을 왜 벗긴 거야?
Is the question.
Yeah, I mean the coast is clear here. I think you want to add to the board here, so this just kind of does both. And a lot of action here for Nathan.
마랑 뺀다 마랑.
Nathan working with a pretty good hand. We
뭔지 몰라도 마랑 빼겠죠?
Shadowfax was touched, not discarded just yet, but I have a feeling that might be.
저거는 뭔가 디스카드일 거고 마랑을 뺄 거예요. 잘 모르겠지만.
Would put a lot of power onto the battlefield on the next turn. The other card I think to consider would be the Foray of Orcs, because Nathan can play that next turn, get the 2/2 off the battlefield, and get in a pretty decent attack.
Tyler gonna write down those cards. Take a
야 마지막 큰일 나 빨리 마랑 빼. 너 큰일 나 친구야 큰일 나 빨리 빼. 아니 큰일 난다니까 마랑 나오면. 아까 이번 메타의 주요 카드로 뽑혔어 역시. 얼마나 센지 보고 싶었는데 바로 봤죠. 디스카드로 뺄 정도면 개센 거야. 님들.
But yeah, takes the shadow facts here.
Not much of a surprise.
Yeah.
It saw Nathan smirk a little bit there, seeing that go to the graveyard.
대신에 능력이 어떻게 발동되는지는 못 봤어요.
This turn for Nathan.
버려진 바로.
The possibility to double spell turn.
Yeah, you can go. I mean, you can go 4-drop into the Lancer here, right? So, I imagine we're gonna see probably a 4A of Orcs. If you go 4A of Orcs on the 2/2 Amass token on Tyler's side, you can get a nice clean attack in here with the Relentless Rohirrim. I suppose you can also play the Mary in attack and draw a card.
Yep.
Now the Mary would be trading with the Amass token in play.
It looks like step one here for Nathan is just going to be attacking with the Relentless Rohirrim. So, looks like no blocks, 4 damage going to come across. Yeah. Tyler's going to fall down to 16. So we're all tied up as far as light totals are concerned, at least for right now. In the second main phase, Nathan will play Mountain, down to 5 cards in hand.
많아? 원래 마랑 달려야 되는데 마랑 빠져가지고.
Is this just the
보스나 봅시다. 4마나.
Both 4-drops are perfectly fine options here.
Yeah, this appears as though it might just be Faramir here.
Yeah, the only issue with playing out a Faramir here is Nathan knows that Tyler has a lot of other Amass cards, right? So if Tyler plays another Amass card next turn, all of a sudden that token is out of reach for the 4A of Orcs.
Sure,
right?
sure.
And then you're dealing with a 4/4 or a 6/6 potentially later. That's really tough for Nathan because he only has 1 smite.
Yeah, he has no real meaningful way to get a large creature off the battlefield.
Right.
It's a real struggle for Nathan and his Boros strategy, but it will be Faramir.
Okay.
뭔지 하나도 모르겠다.
And simply passing the turn back. So we're going to head back Tyler's way.
뭔지 하나도 모르겠어요. 1마나 1, 메나스.
Wow, look at Tyler's hand.
밑에 못 읽어.
Yeah, so Tyler,
메나스예요.
as we mentioned, look, no shortage of power.
호전적을 갖고 있어. 호전적이야.
We've taken a look at the deck list at the top from our wonderful folks at our news desk, and you can see the hand on the left-hand side of the screen. The Mouth of Sauron, excuse me. Nasty End, Claim the Precious, Double Isolation. It's a very good deck, and it's very powerful cards. The question, of course, is
아레나를 언제 하냐고요? 저 아레나 언제
if he's able
하냐고요?
to cast
뭐지?
all those spells, I think winning is
아니면 뭐 아레나
it's just a matter
대회
of
언제 하냐고요?
if he's going to be able to do that all the time.
Yeah.
대회요? 모르겠는데?
Nathan going to try to make that pretty difficult, though.
모르겠어요.
Foray of Orcs.
뭐 곧 하지 않을까요?
So an interesting thing that Tyler could choose to do here is cast Nasty End on the Easterling Vanguard. That allows you to amass 1 and turn it into a 3/3, right? Which would play around that.
잘 가네.
But Tyler just choosing to keep up his options with the mana.
It'll be Mary.
그런 거 같은데요? 나도 잘 몰라요. 요즘에 저 대회 나갈 생각 안 하고 있어서 제가 대회를 나갈 때는 열심히 이것저것 알아보고 했는데 요즘에는 대회 나갈 생각이 없어가지고
It's not a bad mystery card, though.
이사 준비하는 것 때문에
Next turn, most likely, but for now,
바빠요.
Yeah, so likely here you're going to see Tyler block the Mary here, get that off the battlefield. That's a card advantage engine.
아지트 하나
Probably
만들어
going to
갑니다.
be using the isolation at Orthanc on another creature that's in play. Yep. And
아 여기는 본가 지분 계속 있어요.
doing his best to stabilize
여기
the board
말고
and just
이제
survive long enough here.
아지트 하나 만들어서 왔다 갔다 할 거예요.
Mouth of Sauron will go a
여기랑.
long way to helping him.
가까워요, 집 앞이야.
it would, Paul, as Tyler will draw a card. Again, Tyler's hand is still good, and it looks like Island was the draw step. So that's land number 5. That's mana source number 5. That could lead to Mouth of Sauron number 1, which brings another.
아들은 나랑 가고 딸은 여기 본가에 할머니랑
is
있고
the Mouth of Sauron.
Right. What are we targeting?
남자들만
Target
떠납니다.
himself, so let's mill 3 and then do some amassing.
아지트는 남자들끼리 써야죠.
5/5. 5/5 on the battlefield. It's really tough here. for
여기
Nathan
또
to
냉장고도
deal with.
사고 세탁기도 사고 에어컨도 가져와야
Very
되고
important draw step
할 게
here
많아요.
for Nathan, who picked up a mountain.
글로 가면은 이제
And that Urkin
트위치에서도 방송할까 생각 중이에요. 트위치로
Given
방송할까.
what's in Nathan's
내가 노래를 못
hand,
들으는 게
Tyler
너무 싫어서 트위치로
has
방송하려고 그냥.
stabilized here. Has
유튜브로
stabilized
하면은 저작권
here.
때문에 뭐 음악도 못 듣고
With
이러니까 너무
sizing
답답.
can go
방송을
with
잘 안 하게 돼요.
Relentless Rohirrim, and the 5/5
그날
just break
트위치
walls, everything
가가지고
else.
Yes, it does.
화질
This is the real concern for Nathan.
화질 안 좋아도 뭐
Nathan's deck
거기서
plays very well
노래 들으면서 행복하게
out
하려고.
ahead. Nathan was not able to get far enough ahead in this particular game.
뭔가 많이 깔려 있었는데 다 어디 갔지? 우리 웃고 떠드는 사이에 다 어디 갔어요?
Nathan's
얘들 다 어디 갔어?
probably getting rid of just one large creature due to the lack of removal. And we'll harp on that point because this is going to be.
아 진짜로 웃고 떠드는 사이에 뭐 다 없어졌는데?
Go a little wider. Can't really go tall at this point. Just needs to try to go wide around these couple of creatures, but there could be more on the way here for Tyler Hatchell.
But given what Tyler has, Nathan needs to string together many good draws in a row.
Oh, you've mentioned the other problem, is that Tyler has good cards in here.
Yeah. That's yes. Very important to winning matches in Magic, as I found out.
A very astute observation.
Oh yeah, well, that's why I'm here.
That's right. It'll be Eckenbrand, Lord of Westfold. And now Nathan trying to figure out what the best attacks could possibly be.
Yeah, so with the Eckenbrand in play, that's +1/+0 to the entire team. This is an attack for 2. Tyler could double block here, but does not want Nathan to tempt here. Or is he? No.
We see the reach in. Okay. Yep. So there's the blocking. But more importantly here for Nathan, if you're rooting for him, it's the tempting that does matter.
공격 왜 한 거야?
The ring is going to tempt the amass.
공격 가서 멀티블럭 당해서 죽었거든요. 공격 왜 가는 거야?
Underneath the 2 creatures that Tyler has in play.
But this isn't particularly concerning right now if you are Tyler, given the contents of Tyler's hand.
왜죠?
You know you've got that problem solved in a multitude of ways.
Yeah, you've got to claim the precious if you're
반지가 유혹해요? 그럼 공격 가야 돼?
Isolation as well. Soothing of Smeagol does not deal with tokens. But multiple answers.
스미골처럼 용광로에 뛰어든 거예요?
Tyler is also at a
반지 들고 스미골 이러면서?
Yeah, so has done a nice job of preserving the life total.
아, 반지 유혹을 터뜨리려고 간 거다.
아,
난 또 스미골 이러고 용광로에 뛰어드는 줄 알았네. 반지가.
Casting these cards. You don't want to end these cards. You don't want to end the game, with these cards in hand. That's actually what Nathan wants to have happen. Is you didn't have time to cast all these cards because if you do, winning is going to be very easy. And now you're starting to see Tyler convert his resources. There's a claim. There's your first tempting of the ring. And Hatchell's starting to, Paul, run away with this one, it feels
like. I think this might be the turn. Well, you might see Tyler.
저거 반지 유혹을 하는 거 자체가 좋은가 보다. 스펠들 그거 들은 걸 많이 쓰네.
Excuse me, the Relentless Rohirrim. Oh,
wow.
3마다 디나인데 수설이긴 하고 유색도 많이 되긴 하고.
Wow.
그래도 반지 유혹이 얼마나 좋은지 모르겠는데.
It is. Yeah. So you're going to see Nathan make a block here. There's a trade.
Right. But we're talking about 5 damage versus 2 damage.
Indeed.
And Tyler does have a soothing here as well.
Nathan will draw a card for the turn. Doesn't look thrilled. Going to head to combat right away. It'll be an attack and a loot.
Okay.
As Nathan's ring is on level 2. Mountain will go to the graveyard. Hatchell's going to fall down to 9. Second main phase here for Stoyer.
Right.
And we knew that one was coming due to the previous isolation.
I wonder if Tyler's going to just bounce the Faramir. It looks like he is.
Yep.
All right, and now we're also going up to the second ability on the ring. So Tyler also gets to loot.
Yeah, and this is the ability I know you like the most on this card.
Oh,
the looting effect.
Who doesn't like drawing cards, though?
That's a very good point.
Come on, let's be real.
The looting effect here is incredibly powerful. Both players
저 잠깐 강아지랑 놀고 좀 있을게요.
Than Nathan is right now.
Yeah, and Tyler
그래부터 재미없어요. 강아지랑 놀래.
With an additional bounce spell here, winning the race here, Nathan needs to find multiple important threats here to try to keep up.
Nathan did pick up a copy.
근데 코코 벌써 3살이에요.
So does have the ability to double spell on this.
Yeah, that's great.
안 돼요, 우리 이제 코코 지금 고기 먹고 배불러가지고 쉬고 있어요.
Might want to run out the Faramir first, just in case Tyler does have a removal spell to kill the token.
고기 먹고 기분 좋아가지고.
So allowing the attack.
삼겹살 먹고 지금 기분 좋아서.
Giving Nathan the loot here, going down to 7, saving the isolation for a bigger threat here, knowing that Nathan does, of course, have the Faramir in hand.
Yep.
코코가 방송에 나오는 거 되게 싫어해요. 카메라에 이렇게 올라가면 밟아놓죠. 치우라고. 아직 삼겹살 먹어도 되죠.
Likely will meet in isolation here. No way to stop the card draw.
아니 뭐 소금 안 찍고 그냥 고기만 구운 거. 그냥 삼겹살 생으로 구운 거.
The ring bearer being one, the Faramir being the other. So Aaron Ryder will draw a card. Pick up a copy of Mary.
All right. Isolation here, not quite lethal yet.
생삼겹 먹은 거라
potentially go down to 1, right? So.
아이 맨날 피만 보면은 두더지 이미 1킬 했어요. 근데 괜찮아.
Right now. It's just a swamp and a nasty end here.
Oh, he's gonna make the attack.
Okay.
Trigger and a loot. Now,
Loot needs to find something. Now, Tyler will go down to 2.
아니 그거야 돼지고기 안 좋아서 자제하라는 거 너무 많이 먹어서 그런 거 아니에요?
lethal attack if Tyler cannot find an answer.
correct.
우리 코코 벌써 두더지 1킬에 그거 뭐야?
Nathan's gonna say no blocks here. I'll go.
벌도 잡고 잘 잡아요. 얘. 사냥 잘해요.
Something to interact with
사냥견이야,
his birthday
사냥견.
escape that he drew.
Well, let's start there.
맨날 길 가다가 벌 있으면은 앙 하고 물어서 먹어요.
Up to level 3.
Did he find a threat? Is he gonna? Oh, he did. Okay.
Oh, wait, didn't find just
벌 볼 때마다 막 이빨로
It's actually
물던데?
this is the only thing with a mask.
That's true.
He would
That's
love
true.
to have another 2-2 in play here, but there is some downside sometimes with the mask. You play the Dunlin Cribane, however, if you do, the 5-5 in play just turns into a 7-7.
Okay, well here is the Dunlin Cribane.
대공은 아니고
So now it's going to be
그거예요.
up to
유틸리티 써가지고 자기 에너지를 사용하면은
Now remember, Nathan can still attack with
공격이
everything,
가능해.
force a jump block,
근데
and then still play a
점프하거나 그러지 않아요.
So keep
자기
that in mind
눈높이에
here.
있어야지만 해. 대공은 아닌 것 같아요.
Did he draw Smite?
Drew Breaking of the Fellowship.
Oh,
Which is actually
that's
really good, right?
That
so
is
that goes
incredible.
there.
That goes there. Mary attack for
a
7. Wow. And Tyler just got the nasty and he doesn't have anything. He's just gonna die.
So here's nasty end, but
Oh right, of course.
뭔가 7매치를 잡았어.
Bad, but you got to do what you got to do.
it keeps you alive.
Keeps you alive, of course.
So now nasty end resolves. Draw a couple of cards. This is Mary.
Right.
This will be the attack.
Now you draw 2,
어때?
discard 1, and get the chump here. Tyler's gonna go.
1점 남은 사람이 어떻게 하는 거 보니까 얘 비행인가 봐요.
Given our
얘
last
비행인가
match, we
봐.
saw Tyler's ability to stay alive for a while. So
Yeah, I mean, he did find a voracious,
갑자기 스택 쌓고 질문해요.
which is quite strong.
졌나 보다.
okay, so now Nathan's also going to play that, draw a card, and now he's going to stack his triggers so that
You
he
wanna draw
draws.
first.
Yep.
Then
Now he'll loot. Yep.
뭐야 드로우를 왜 계속해?
force the block. Wow.
Nathan's drawn a copy of Eagles of the North and Faramir. There's your chump block.
비행인데
You're
이거
at-
다 맞으면
you're
죽나
down to,
보다.
what, 3 life and you have 4 attackers.
이거 막은 듯 그래서.
Torment of Gollum.
1점인데 못 죽여?
Situation. Swamp the draw step for the turn.
1점 어떻게 안 돼?
Again here for Tyler Hatchell. 2 swamp, a voracious, fell beast. Torment of Gollum and a Captain of Umbar. Paul, you see.
그럼 지금 이 챕터니까 3장 드로우 디스카드 3번 할 수 있는 거야?
Torment plus captain here being played as he doesn't have the mana to play Voracious Fellbeast and gain life. Okay, well, you know, that gets the Eagles at least out of the hand.
졌으면 나가
Imagine
포기해.
the card that you want to take here.
And that is going to do it. Nathan Stoyer is going to win game number 1 there against Tyler Hatchell. I felt as though if Tyler was able to convert all those resources, he was going to be able to
한
win that
놈만.
game, but came up short in that one. So now we turn our attention to game number 2. Both players keeping
단지 올라가
cards.
있는 놈만
Again, remember, if Nathan wins
적용되는
this match,
거야?
3-0's the pot. If Tyler wins, it'll be a 2-0-1 for him. In what does feel like a favorable matchup, even though he's down a game.
첩프랑.
But oh man, what a
첩프
series
개잘함.
of draws there for
Yes.
Nathan to kind of get back into it, finding one of his very few ways to interact. To
얘
clear
그러니까
away
대기 싼 거야. 여기
that really backbreaking attack.
절대 반지 있으면 셔플 그렇게 안 함.
In Nathan's that does not have a lot of removal.
그냥
but
오크랑 오크 아처랑
looks like
절대 반지
just
있으면
enough.
셔플 그렇게 안 하거든요. 여기 비싼 카드
We're
없어.
going to head back over to Tyler. Nathan with looks to be maybe some mana issues here. No red mana just yet.
Yeah. Got the reprieve though. Does Tyler have a play? Just knock. Oh, it's gonna go immediately back to hand.
Yeah, so
얘 이따가 얘
Nathan
스탠다드
will draw a card. Let's make
그
it
컨스
2
대회 할 때
games.
한번 보자고요.
I
셔플
don't
어떻게 하나.
think so either.
저 셔플 안 함.
I believe a
no.
Shadowfax among those cards, but that doesn't tap.
랜드가
This is
없는디?
gonna be a discard here. I
트레드
think.
스탑
So
디스카드
well,
클린업 하고 있는데 졌네.
So let's head back over to Tyler now and see if he can press his advantage here. We're going to attack for 2 to kick things off. Stoyer's going to fall down to 16.
Just play it again, right?
I mean, worst case scenario, you're just playing it into another reprieve.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to play, you're playing into a potential reprieve.
I mean, you ran it into the first one.
게임의
I'm not
랜드
sure
스탑은
how
어쩔 수
there's
없죠.
a
누구도
less
피해갈 수 없어.
likelihood for it to happen again, but at the same time, he kind of doesn't want Nathan to draw lands. But I think you just have to run it out here.
And that's exactly
All right.
That's exactly what Tyler will do with that Captain of Umbar. So it is
Lands?
on the battlefield.
No.
클린업.
land.
야 접어와 다음 게임에.
Discard. So we're going to head back over to Tyler once again.
This might be a quick one here.
In for 4, Stoyer will fall down to 12.
오.
이거 누구야? 가필드 걔도 이거 투웨르스 하면은 욕할걸요? 자기가 만든 게임인데.
This card is absolutely bananas if you can get it going.
Yep. And Nathan says, I'm all set here. So very quick at game 2.
Wow.
피차드 가필드 자도 욕할걸요? 트렌드 스탑 빡치네 이러고.
Stoyer will start things off with a plains. Looks like
really
still lacking.
Having trouble finding mountains.
Well, you know, this is the thing about 2-color decks in Limited. Sometimes your mana, just even if you're 8/8, Nathan is, sometimes it just doesn't shake out the way you want it to.
Absolutely.
Now Tyler, 3 colors, he's doing
right.
fine.
리맨드.
Not a problem at all.
Brief?
Was there a mountain this time? Oh boy, you see Nathan with the headshake.
Not
again.
또 턴?
Not again. That Moria Marauder just rotting.
이러니까 게임에 사람들이 열받는 거야.
And that was an early pick in the draft there for Stoyer.
아니 대회에서 두 번 다 트렌드 스탑 걸리면 답이 없다니까.
For our reigning world champion. But Tyler doesn't care about that. Tyler says, I want to win this pot.
Land. Make it a game. Oh, again.
야 진짜 존나 짜증나겠다.
Yeah, we're gonna head back.
이게 세계대회 수준이야. 이래서 안 돼. 바꿔야 돼. 룰적 개정이 필요합니다. 난 그렇게 생각해요. 이 게임은 룰적 이 랜드스탑에 대한 룰을 개정할 필요가 있어요.
It very much will be. It's got to start with probably a mountain next turn.
It has to be.
Yeah, to be able to
개정이
make the game.
시급하다.
In the meantime, you see that Tyler's going to write down these cards, get some information, figure out the best way to kind of sequence, assuming that Nathan does draw lands. Because if he doesn't, he doesn't have anything to worry about. So now if you're Tyler, you're going to think about, okay, if you draw a mountain, what are the consequences of that taking place?
Yeah, I imagine probably you're going to take the Aomir here, right? If you draw, if Nathan draws a land, that's his best play. It's a very powerful creature.
지금 존나 짜증내고 있겠죠. 아무거나 빼. 네가 이겼어. 킹받네 이러고 있죠.
For Tyler, because it's going to lay the foundation for the rest of the game. Right. You know exactly what your opponent can do. So you want to figure out exactly what you can stop them from doing. And then
그리고 요번에 들어오면서 또 딱 말리는데 얘가 버려져서 클린업 안 돼도 되니까 오히려 좋아 이러고 턴 넘겨요.
There's the mountain.
There is the mountain. Nathan going to have to try.
원래 들어한 다음에 상대가 디스카드 시켜서 클린업 안 줘도 되니까 오히려 좋아해야 되는데.
I mean, Tyler doesn't have
스토리텔링이
an attack anymore.
No,
technically.
No.
지금 잘못됐어요.
We know that he's got a Dunlin Crabane in hand.
들어하고 딱 못 깔고 넘겨야 되는데. 까마귀.
Dunlin Crabane, one of the premium commons in this format.
Absolutely.
Incredibly powerful card. Mouth of Sauron appears to be the draw step here for Tyler as well.
Yeah, probably gonna wait on that and just go Dunlin Crabane into the Easterling.
됐다.
Vanguard.
사사.
Beat down.
Stoyer going to fall down to 14 after this attack.
Or if you don't think the Vanguard's going to be relevant, you could just pass and go for the loot option. But it looks like he wants to just add to the board.
Adding to the board, Hatchel will do. Now Sawyer's drawing another land here. Okay. So this is exactly what we were kind of talking about a turn or two ago, which is if Nathan does start drawing lands, you do know exactly what he's working with because you know what the draw steps are,
right?
Which are the lands. So you know every card in hand here for Nathan.
The problem is, I mean, Tyler's just going to continue to amass, and I don't know that Nathan actually just has a way to deal with a 6/6 that's in play.
Well, the only way you can get around is by getting a little frisky like you did game 1.
Right.
Kind of swarm around it and get weird.
But when you're this far behind, that's just
2만화에 4만화에 찍고 선물 나오는 거야?
The Foray of Orcs will come down. Eliminate that flyer.
Oh, and Tyler's got the Soothing here as well. I think he's just considering, do I just go for the main phase Soothing and attack with everything?
Right. I mean, what that does is it does a nice job of shortening the game.
Right.
It makes it so that Nathan's draw steps effectively have to be perfect. But here's going to be the Mouth of Sauron. So mill 3 this way.
Okay. +2/+2.
Yep, so it'll be a 6/6.
6/6.
뭐야 개센데 이거?
Nathan has no choice but to take it here.
얘가 배틀필드에 들어갈 때 3장을 밀고 X장을 한 만큼 오크 군단을 만드는데
So Nathan's just going to deploy a Faramir.
어떤 타입에 따라서 만드는지 못 봤어.
여튼
소설의 인스턴트겠죠? 색깔이
And there's a lot of ways that can go wrong.
Right. He does have the escape from Orthanc on top of that. Wow. Tyler found the Great Hall of the
아, 나 원래 지금 잘 시간인데.
That does allow him to play that splashed
나 힘들어요, 힘들어.
that he has in hand. very nice way to close out the game. Nathan already down to 8, so not many more attacks before Denethor can just drain Nathan down.
And now we see Tyler starting to think about, okay, you know, I can get a little bit more aggressive.
Right.
Because I've drawn the White Stars for that Denethor, as you mentioned, Paul, because I have Soothing in my hand right now, and I've got some very good spells to draw to.
Right.
It doesn't hurt me to maybe get a little more aggressive. And oh, by the way, Nathan, I'm at 20.
And, you know, I think Tyler is also probably going to be aware of the isolation of Escape from Orthanc.
Absolutely.
Rather.
Absolutely.
So if Nathan goes for some giant block, might just be happy trading the 6/6 for 2 creatures.
Yep. Because remember, Nathan's past 3 draw steps have been lands.
Right.
So
쟤는 꼭 죽여야
Tyler's
되나 보다.
working with basically perfect information. The only thing he doesn't know is the top card of Nathan's deck. That's it.
Yeah. So now, if Nathan takes the 6 here, the Denethor is just going to close out the game.
Yes.
Tyler going for...
It's like it might be Smo's thinking about casting
I don't think you
Soothing
need
of
to-
Smeagol.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily need to go for the Soothing here. I'm not sure what it would accomplish, even if you bounce.
방시 들고 있는 건가?
Yeah.
Okay, he thought about it, he stopped himself.
Right.
You know, in situations like this, Paul, I always say, when you're playing against the world champ, easier said than done.
Right.
You might start to second guess yourself a little bit.
Exactly.
You know, you have the opportunity to win the pod and beating the world champion to do it, but he did a nice job of slowing himself down there.
야 반대 아니야? 그지?
Yeah, and this is just going to be way too much. Nathan going down to 2. Denethor going to hit play. Tyler simply just needs to untap, sacrifice 2 creatures, and that should be the game.
Yep, and Nathan, you see the smile on his face. It's not one that he likes to have to give, and he will extend the hand. Tyler Hatchell gonna win
방금
this game.
들어가자마자 접을 때 빡침이 느껴졌어요.
Nathan Stoyer to go 2-0-1 in the pod, which normally isn't the
아니야.
record we say that wins the pod.
빡침이
but he does
느껴졌어요.
today here at this Pro Tour in Barcelona. Very impressive win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Of course, you know, Nathan, he's going to look back at you know, those games and go, well,
이 빡침이 느껴지지 않는 사람은 오프라인 매직을 많이 안 한 사람이야.
you just have to keep it.
나는
just super likely
적당히
to
했기
find the land.
때문에
He just wasn't able to. And that of course just happened.
빡침을
That's
느꼈어요.
all part of it.
That's all.
야발
part of
이런
the
거
game. I
접는
think
거
there's going to be a lot of
느꼈어.
people who might watch and be like, of course you should have mulliganed. It's like, no, that's an absolute keep. And, you know, given that you're going to have 3 to 4 draw steps to find that land, it's super likely. You just have to keep those. If you mulligan those, you're just giving up a lot of percentage points.
And you and I felt that after watching Nathan's draft. We felt the 2-1 was very much in range. Of course, we know a player of his caliber would love to walk out of there with a 3.
저 헤어스타일 근데 진짜
success for him. And for Tyler,
저 색깔은
absolutely a success. So
역대급이다. 나 진짜 저런 색깔 처음 봐요. 사람 머리카락에 저런 색깔이 나올 수 있구나.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, yes, we're limited. I'm thrilled for that. We'll see you very soon.
반지의 제왕에 로안 있지 않아? 반지의 제왕 로안 있지 않아? 로안? 민초단이다. 지금 상대 로안이야 로안. 그죠? 반지의 제왕 중간계 땅. 로안의 영토 보이죠? 반지의 제왕 그 콜라보라고 지금 피처 배치도 로안이야. 명예 한국인? 좀 덜자. 어디서 잘 하고 있나? 컨트롤이요? 스탠다드?
Beautiful, beautiful, majestic Barcelona is where we are, and wherever you are, we thank you for joining us. Cedric Phillips, Paul Chion here at Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings from Barcelona, Spain, as we continue on here in round number 3, closing out our limited portion of today. It's been a blast so far. Watching Nathan Stoyer do his thing with Boros, and we've seen some other decks as well. And now we prepare for our non-feature match draft pod. We're going to dabble around here and watch Seb Rowan against Georgios Valakis. Seb has a very interesting
루안 반지의제왕 중간계
how do we say flavor in this
영토 루안 기마대 있잖아.
It is
기마병?
filled with legendary creatures. Take a look here. We got Gandalf, Faramir, Boromir, Pippin, Frodo, just the entire
신용랜드
team ready to go.
Just a nice little team up to give some beatdowns, and Seb has done a nice job of that so far. This is Azorius deck. We don't see a ton of Azorius in this format, but if it does come together well, it is a pretty good deck. I will say that, and more importantly, for you green haters out there, it is not green. That's not where people do not really like to be in this particular format. So power level of this deck appears to be pretty high here for Seb. I'm excited to see how these games are going to play out here. So we're going to bring you this match a little bit faster than our last handful of matches. And what I do mean by that is we're going to speed it up just a tick, because we want to bring you as much magic as we can here from Barcelona all weekend long. So we prepare to watch a very flavorful Azorius deck.
Yeah, and Faramir, by the way, one of the reasons to go into
서양 친구들은 수영이 다 잘나는 것 같아.
in the set. I remember my opponent first.
난 내시 수영인데.
Oh, I don't want them to have either mode. Can I just refuse?
I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. Both these players are going to start off with 7 cards, our second match of round number 3. And we will watch our first of hopefully 3 games unfold, as I'd love to watch a nice long match here, as I do really enjoy this limited format.
Looks like a Rivendell here from Seb Rohan, of course, with all
빨리
the
할게요.
creatures in the deck.
You see Samwise is stout-hearted.
아, 그런가 보구나.
Okay.
뭔가 행동이 좀 빠르네요.
Curving out, beating down.
Doesn't appear as though Seb having any mana issues here. So the white source of mana there for Rohan, and just going to simply pass the turn back.
Now Seb does have multiple copies of Saruman's Trickery.
이게 근데 아레나에 모던이 없다 보니까 별로 의미가 안 생긴다.
You might just need to run something into it, but Seb has to have it here.
Yeah, and as it Seb does. So
나만 그래요?
counter that, amass 1.
Such a powerful card.
Yeah, it's one of the better counter spells we've seen in limited formats for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's incredible just how making that 1/1 just makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
Because typically, 1 blue counter target spell is not something that you want to play in your draft decks. But in this format, I mean, just getting that 1/1 body, there's so much to do with an amass token, goes a long way.
And most of the time, a 1/1 in a format isn't really a ton either. Now, speaking
아레나
of
쉬시라고요?
Faramir.
너무한 거 아니에요?
The prince is here. 3/3 human noble at the beginning of your end step. Choose an opponent at the beginning of.
나는 그래도 아레나
end
괜찮다고
step.
생각하는데.
Draw a card if they didn't attack you that turn. Otherwise, create a 1/1. Actually,
Create
how about
3
3
1/1s.
How about 3 1/1?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's the knife wound, which is just okay in this situation. So there's the card draw. Shadow Summoning did create 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying.
Yeah, Georgios with kind of a nice little flying spirit theme going here with the Shadow Summoning. But needs to fight through this this Faramir, which is going to just provide Seb advantages every single turn.
Yeah, and the game is going to kind of circle around this Faramir now.
Yeah,
this is what the game, at least in the short term, is going to be about. Now, if you're Georgios, hopefully not for too much longer, because it is a real pain to try to play through. There is a plains there for Rohan. And now it's going to be the horses.
Okay.
So those 2 tokens are gone. It'll be a scry 1 and then a little tempting
great.
to be done, yeah.
That is great. Seb just wants to stabilize the board. Those flyers are kind of annoying.
님들아 문제가 있어요. 내가 카드를 몰라서 할 말이 없어.
and now it's a situation where Georgios kind of
어떡하지?
If he doesn't attack, all of a sudden Seb just gets an entire army here.
Yeah.
It's like, but if he attacks, he just loses his creature.
Yes.
So
카드를 몰라서
tough spot here.
무슨 일이 일어나고 있는지 모르겠어요.
So it'll be a card that is drawn.
Yeah. And yeah, it's going to be tough for Georgios to beat through just all the cards that Seb's going to be ahead of.
오던 좀 보다가 그냥 방송 접고 잠이나 자야겠다.
So,
yeah,
return that back. That or we'll go to the graveyard.
파이오니아였으면은 그래도 좀 볼만할 것 같은데 파이오니아도 아니라서 오던이라서 모르겠네.
Some looting going on here now.
Yes, indeed. So that amass token will attack. Looks like there is at least one land to discard, so away goes the plains.
Then is it just time to replay the Faramir?
There are worse things to do there, partner.
There are worse things to do.
Yeah, so Faramir is back on the battlefield.
Back in play.
코코랑 놀고 있을게요.
The game continues to center around this very powerful, legendary human noble.
Georgios really needs to find a removal spell here. Get this Faramir off the battlefield. Okay, that is something. Lost Legend here, putting it 4th from the top, so not going to be seeing it for a while.
We've got a lot of temporary answers to a real problem.
Yeah.
That's what we've got right now if you're Georgios.
I'll worry about that one later.
Yeah, it might be coming back sooner than you think, but in the meantime, the problem is at least temporarily solved. Now, the looting means you'll get back to that Faramir a little bit faster than I think Georgios would prefer, but again, it is a temporary solution.
Right.
Is lost to legend.
And there's also Greyhaven's Navigator that Seb found, which allows him to scry things to the bottom to make sure that he can find that Faramir in a timely manner. Ooh, Frodo as well.
There's Frodo. Yeah, we mentioned the flavor coming into the match, but the flavor is also combined with power.
Yeah.
Because these are very powerful
나 옆에서 롤 차고 있어야지.
I mean, that's what you would expect that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I am going to make
나 옆에서 롤 차고 있을게요.
I'm going to put all these legendary creatures in. You have to make them exciting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Now, the black aspect of Frodo, we're not going to see that a ton, but as a 2/3 with lifelink, not a bad place to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now for Verlakis, has been in a rock and a hard place for some time now.
Here we go, Scry.
Yep.
Those aren't Faramir.
체스라니
Some mana here for Seb.
롤차나 하세요. 빨리 롤차 하세요.
You see the Greyhaven's Navigator that was cast. That's the 3/2 with Scry once enters the battlefield.
아 롤차 재밌어서 간간히 하고 있는데 시간이 없어가지고 이게 좀 아쉽네. 롤차 1 진짜 재밌는데.
There is the Faramir.
Guess who?
All the looting has allowed Seb to find it very, very quickly.
Step 1 is the attack.
Yep.
So this attack, of course, the Ring Bearer is going to be leading to the looting that is taking place here for Seb Rohan, who is 2-0 with this deck, mind you.
Not surprising.
No,
his deck is very powerful.
그런 것도 나가요?
Quite good. For an Azorius deck, if you could draw one up, this is what it looks like.
This is the one. This is it.
빈말이지만 응원할게요.
It's back. Oh, jeez.
Took Reaper as well. Now,
okay. Get a creature back.
Okay.
Tempt.
Yep, tempt up to level 2.
Not the most exciting return. Oh, and just passing.
Boy.
What do you have? Right? It's like, what do you have? You just
재미있게 본다.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Oh, it was a flash creature, of course. Okay.
Well, I hope it's better than that.
I think it was just Samwise.
It was Samwise, yes.
Right,
so I'm for
Is
Georgios.
that it, though?
Yeah, for Georgios' sake, I'm
that's the
hoping.
big finish?
Yeah, I'm hoping there's something better than Samwise.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is going to be a bad time.
Yeah.
진짜 드랩은 내가 카드를 몰라서 아무것도 모르겠다. 진짜 하나도 모르겠어요.
Here. Nope. So there's a delayed sweeper, but I don't think that's going to be timely enough here for Georgios.
And it is worth noting, of course, as you're going to see Seb continue to play more threats here. Protector of Gondor is going to be joined alongside a 1/1 token that it creates. I'm going to guess that Georgios does not have a sweeper because, wouldn't keep playing all this stuff, and we're in an open deckless
Did
tournament.
we even see the scoop there? I think they were just like, you know what? We don't need to
로안
see
이겼어.
Yeah, well, there's a...
I think you can all guess what happened.
Yeah, we have Seb up a game here.
Okay.
As Georgios is going to be on the play here for game number 2. Both players will keep their 7 cards hands. And there you saw not only the power level of Seb's deck, but just there's a lot of cohesion as well.
Yeah.
This looks like, again, looks to be a pretty good Azorius deck, as you're going to see the Birthday Escape. The ring is going to go up to level 1. And now an island, and simply passing the turn back. Nothing for Velocus yet.
얼마나 드로우.
I mean, there must be some removal there.
한지의 유혹.
Pretty tough to keep a hand with just nothing to do in the first 3 turns. Wow. Was there a mulligan, perhaps?
No, they both kept 7.
Oh,
이거 너무 리얼하다.
Mirkwood Bats.
물고기 잡아먹는 느낀 거.
One of the cards that, at least for me, has kind of underperformed relative to, you know, you read it, you're like, oh, 4-man, 2/3, it's got an ability, maybe it's going to be great. You really need to go kind of hard on the the token strategy to really get enough value out of that card, because just the sizing just not ideal.
From one card that's underperformed to, I think, a card that is generally overperformed in Protector of Gondor. That one that it makes alongside the ring is very, very
2/3 versus 4/4, right? I mean, so much more stats.
Yep.
Well, okay. I sure hope Georgios can somehow make lots of tokens. I mean, we did see the summoning, right?
We did.
If you can follow that up next turn.
Now, don't forget here as well, though Seb did win the last game in very impressive fashion, both of these players are 2-0. They're playing for the pod, which implies that Georgios does have good cards in his deck. We didn't see any of them in the first game. We're starting to see some of them in the second game, as a Bewitching Leechcraft has been played on one of those bats.
Ooh, and is he representing a Saruman's Trickery? No. Okay. Looks like Pippin has entered the battlefield.
A 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance Ward 1.
Yeah, and if you have a removal spell, you have to target and get rid of the Pippin first.
Going to be a little more expensive to do so, too. So we turn our attention back to Velocus. Is there any token generation, as Paul mentioned? Not yet.
Just a Mortal Knife Wound here. Or excuse me, Morgul Knife Wound. So just kind of an annoying aura, right? It's like, do I just want to take 2 every single turn for this effect? Given that Seb is reasonably ahead. Although, wow, Denethor here from Georgios.
Best card that Georgios has played.
Absolutely.
By far.
Especially given the fact that you can start generating tokens.
Yes.
And every time you do, you get to drain your opponent for 2.
Yes.
With the double Mirkwood Bats that are in play.
So this is kind of what you were looking for.
Yeah.
Where's the token generation? What's really going on in this deck? Well, now we're all getting an idea. As the 2 bats, the Denethor, haven't seen much removal here from Georgios, but this game is looking a little bit more favorable.
Right.
Now, on Seb's side of things, some things to think through, of course. We saw Falamir be so very powerful in that last game. Hasn't shown up in this game just yet, has Faramir.
And took the 2 this turn, although it's a little bit tougher here now that Georgios is threatening a good amount of damage here.
Another Kingfisher. And just a simple passing of the turn.
Yeah, you could go for the double block.
Yep.
With the bats. Try to slow things down here a little bit.
Worst case scenario, drawing a couple cards.
Yep, absolutely. Look for the Faramir.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. Now the Oath of the Grey Host.
Okay, and we are going to start making some tokens, getting some drain going here. Seb's going to take 2. If you sack the food, that's also an additional 2 points of damage. You make a treasure token. That's more draining.
Now,
the Oath plus the Mirkwood Bats is a nice combination.
Now it's starting to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
On why Georgios is 2-0 and exactly what his deck is trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, and Seb, you know, when you are blue and white, not a lot of hard removal spells, right? Not a lot of ways to kind of shut down what Georgios' little aristocrats combo thing going on here, just making a bunch of tokens and getting a lot of chip damage in here and there.
Yeah, kind of an Azorius-based deck's nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially doubly true, I think, in this format.
Right. So then now if you're Seb, you're thinking, do I need to start attacking? Do I need to just try to find a way to close out the game? Because, I mean, as you go, you know, every single chapter of the Oath, I mean, it's just going to be even more difficult for Seb to kind of come back here.
So now we're going to work ourselves a little bit deeper into the mid-game here with that Saga on the battlefield, which is going to start to really cause some real problems here for Seb Rohan. And what kind of measures can be taken. Looks like going to sacrifice that food token. A couple of triggers here in response to the soothing of Smeagol.
So take 2, bounce, tempt. You can now loot by putting that onto your 1/1 token.
Okay.
Getting in.
아, 나갔다 와서 그런가? 왜 이렇게 피곤하고 몸에 힘이 없고 졸리지?
If you are Seb, I think the longer the game goes, the worse it is for you with all of these token synergies.
I wonder if Seb is just debating whether or not he wants to put the ring on one of the Kingfishers or the 1/1. That would be my guess. Huh.
I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if it's the Protector of Gondor.
Yeah, because that's just a clean block for Georgios with the 2/4 that's in play, unless he has another tempt effect. Huh.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
There's the attack. There's a loot from the ring, discarding of planes.
Oh, okay. Oh, and making it, giving it protection from white.
Sure.
Or protection from creatures, rather. Card type, protection from the card type of your choice. So that's an attack for 7. So we're racing here.
We are racing indeed. Now that's tough to do against a deck that can generate food tokens and gain some life through some weird interactions.
So here we go. Chapter 2, take 3, make a treasure, take another 1. So Seb's down to 5.
Seb's down to 5, yeah.
Yeah,
this game could end very quickly.
You can sack the treasure down to 4.
Okay.
You can play the bats. So now that's 2. And if you sack a creature, that's another 2.
And now the question is, where do you get that final 1?
Was Seb at 8?
Well, Seb sacrificed the food token. That was so nicely given by Georgios.
But, I mean, once this oath goes off, Seb needs to find a way to basically kill Georgios before Chapter 3 of Oath of the Greyhost.
Yes.
Because that's 6 damage with the double Mirkwood bats that are in play.
We're going to get some more bat triggers here from the sacrificing, I believe, of the treasure.
Oh, and there's a muster. That's another 2.
So there's your amassed orc.
Oh, finds a land, so now you have the sacrifice available as well. And yeah, Georgios just needs to survive this attack.
Yeah, this very much feels like if you could just hang on.
Or is this just lethal here? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Looks like it is.
Yep. So we're going to turn our attention to our third and final one here between these two players. Winner of it gets the 3-0 through the pod. Now, Paul, I'm going to ask you, as this opening turns to unfold, do you have many Pro Tour 3-0s in draft?
Do I?
Yeah, 3-0 the pod.
I have my fair share of 3-0 trophies.
Ooh, I've won.
You have one.
One.
Yeah, but you've got a top 8 though.
But whatever. I've only 3-0'd one limited pod.
Oh man,
it's hard. It's really hard.
The Pro Tour is hard.
That's also true. That's also true. It's really hard to 3-0 these things. And it gets your tournament off to just the best start. You feel so good.
Absolutely.
You feel so good. And doubly true, you lose the 3-0 match, brutal.
Yeah.
It's only your first loss of the weekend, but it's just brutal.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of these players is going to be riding high as Seb is going to make an attack here. And one of these players is going to have to bounce back after a difficult loss. Now is there a third land? There is there for Seb.
Okay.
So took Reaper number 2 as the ring is tempting here thus far.
Oh, Dunlin Kerbane.
Yeah, we know how good that card is.
I mean, yeah. Black is just so incredible, right?
It's very good.
Mortar Muster, Dunlin Kerbane, Tempt the Precious, like Torment of Golem, like those are all just incredibly high picks.
Yes.
And they're all centralized in this one color.
Yep. All of those cards are great. Frodo also quite good. That'll join the fray. Now here comes that Took Reaper. We're thinking about a trade. It slowed up a little bit, though, because that would bring the ring up to level 2. Okay.
Yeah, but just in terms of cards, you're trading your 2-drop for a 1/1 that made a 2/2.
Yeah.
Right? So
now Frodo's going to be the ring bearer. And the ring is on level 2 there for Seb Rohan. So we heard back over to Velakis. 4 mana. Oh, that one's a good one.
All right, so that means Rise of the Witch King. So both players are going to sacrifice a creature, and Georgios will be able to reanimate the Dunlin Kerbane back from the graveyard.
Yes. This is a very, very, very good turn, assuming all goes to plan here for Georgios. Now, there may be a response here from Seb. This hasn't taken place just yet, and so here comes the response. It's going to be a soothing.
All right, so gonna bounce the Frodo back to hand.
Yep.
Go to tempt the third ability on tempt. So getting close to that fourth mark, which can close out games very quickly.
It can. Now, it is worth noting, because of the bouncing of Frodo, there is no ring bearer at the moment.
Correct.
I take that back.
Take it back.
Yep.
We now have a ring bearer. It is a 1-2. It's really tough to block.
And it is up to level 4.
Level 4. So Georgios needs to find an answer for Frodo here.
Well, there's a second swamp.
Oh, lost legend.
There is an answer. Now, as we mentioned in game number 1, it's a temporary one, but when you're facing down level 4 of the ring, a temporary answer might be all that you need.
I mean, the key was just getting the ring bearer off the battlefield.
Yes, absolutely.
So great start here from Velakis, and Seb does not have a play this turn.
And for how much power Seb does have in the deck, as we showed you at the beginning of this match.
Oh.
Well, that's not bad.
Unexpected one here. Soldier of the Grey Host does get to ambush the Dunlin Crebain. Oh, big spider. So Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. 6 mana, 8/8, Death Touch, Ward 2. Whenever it eats something, whenever it successfully eats something, turns it into food. Turns it into food.
I think we see why I think we see why there's a green splash here now.
Yeah, I would splash for that one too.
Yeah, this card's this one's a lot.
Yeah,
this one's a lot. Oh, and he gets to attack too.
Attack for 10.
Whoo,
Not
boy,
bad.
not bad at all.
Yep.
So, you know, after game 1, we were wondering, okay, what's going on with Georgios' deck? Doesn't appear to be very good. It's 2-0 in the pod, though. Maybe some things broke Georgios' way, which is still true because there are some good cards in here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There are some really good cards in here. You're going to see Deceive the Messenger.
No shortage of power from both sides here, but Georgios drawing all of his great cards here. No legends from Seb this game. And Mirkwood Bats. We saw how much work that card did in game 2 with Georgios' token-themed deck.
Yeah, there's Pippin, but that might be a little late to the party.
Does give you a decent blocker if it doesn't die. In a way to block the spider.
Well,
but it did die, so now no way to block the spider.
Bitter Downfall, going to pay the ward on that as well. So there is no clean way to manage this gigantic spider.
Boom, get you for 10. Are we already in chump block mode
Yeah,
here?
I think so.
All right, time to make a food.
Yep.
Get to, I believe that's a drain for 1 as well, right?
Yeah, they're going to take a look at that spider one more time just because it does have a lot of text on it.
That's not going to get it done.
Well, it's no longer lost in legend, so that's good.
Right?
It's back on the battlefield.
It is back on the battlefield, but that spider is doing so much work here.
Frodo coming back to seeing a battlefield, and now
the combo.
Yep, the saga as well, and Oath of the Grey Host.
No counter here from Seb.
슬프네요.
I think this is just going to be it here.
Yeah, I think this is just too much to overcome. Georgios' deck does actually look quite good.
It does.
Once it kind of gets firing on all cylinders, it does look pretty darn good. And there's definitely some power baked into this thing. So Frodo's going to get flattened. A little bit of damage will come through there.
Will be turned into food.
Yes, indeed.
3 food on the battlefield here.
Yeah, very nice alongside the bats, of course. And it might just be one more draw step here for Seb. And it is. We'll extend the hand. And Georgios Velakis is going to win this match 2-1 to 3-0 the pod.
Yeah.
The best feeling at a Pro Tour, 3-0 the pod.
Absolutely. Yeah, really, really powerful deck with lots of synergies. Really, really cool deck to see. I haven't really seen a deck like that before with, you know, utilizing the power of something like a Mirkwood Bats, which is typically not the type of card that you want to play in your deck.
Yeah, and you said a card that's underperformed, and I agree with you in this format, but
in the right deck?
Yes. In the right deck, it's very, very, very good. And that looked to be the right deck. Congratulations to Georgios on the 3-0, a perfect start to the day. Now we turn our attention to one more match. It's Carl Sarap, who's coming off of a top 8 at our last Pro Tour, going up against one of our favorites. Christian Calcano back on the Pro Tour. Top finishes 1 to Carl's 3. Both these players are 2-0. Now, I will tell you this, my friend. Christian, someone who many players consider a very, very good limited player.
Right.
Carl Sarap, one amongst the players nowadays who consider to be maybe the best active limited player.
Yeah.
That's going. So this should be very, very entertaining, as I believe Christian Calcano did win game number 1
오랜만에 본다.
this match. And for Calcano, you know, we saw him take a little bit of time away from Magic. Familiar face who did very well on the Grand Prix circuit, does have a Pro Tour top 8 on the resume as well, and he is just thrilled to be back playing competitive Magic.
Yeah, he was a Pro Tour
빅메이커예요,
several years.
Yes.
You know, he was what you would call also kind of a grinder.
Oh, the definition.
Would play every single Grand Prix, just absolutely loved it. He was just all over the place, making sure that he could continue to play these Pro Tours, and good to see him kind of back here competing at the highest level.
Now, this is interesting because I was curious if we're going to have the opportunity to see green in a meaningful way here on day number 1. We are seeing that here from Carl with Mushroom Watchdogs to kick things off.
And Calcano with what many consider to be the most powerful color combination with a Rakdos deck here.
It's hard to argue.
Yeah.
Black being the best color in the set, red arguably being the second best color in the set, going up against what I think many would argue is the weakest color in the set here in green. So let's see what Carl's able to put together here, as it looks like an Ince Fury has been played to take care of that Goblin.
Ooh, Dunlin Kerbane. This card just does so much work.
It's all value. We've seen cards like this over the past handful of years, and they're good every time.
Right. I mean, you know, just not even too long ago, Preening Champion,
yes,
right, was just the best limited card, or the best common by a large margin.
Yep.
And this kind of does the best impression of that card.
Now, when you are a green deck like Carl's, we're kind of leaning on the food aspect of things, one could argue.
Yeah. You can have a successful green deck if you do also look to play the multicolor green deck with lots of mana fixing. But it looks like Carl right now just stuck on forests here.
Yeah. The Mirror Guardian does show up as a 4/2. When it dies, the ring does tempt. The splash color here, splash might be a little bit incorrect. I'll just say a heavier second color. Looks to be mountains. And it looks to be a plains running around in the deck too, as a Snarling Warg is going to show up here for Calcano.
Finds a generous sense, so just more forests here. So unclear what he has in hand, but you know, playing a red-green base deck here, needs to find mountain to probably unlock his hand.
And Calcano's going to take that forward very quickly. No interest in blocking, and now the follow-up is another Mirror.
So I mean, those get in for a good chunk of damage.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you got to start blocking them.
Right.
That's kind of the point of them. And they do have a tendency to trade up in combat as well. So.
Christian not really putting on a ton of pressure here. Okay, the book.
Yep, not a bad place to be. Do a little bit of amassing of 1, soon to be 2.
So now the Warg can get in for 4.
Yes, indeed.
And then by attacking with just the Warg, you're representing a potential double block here on one of the mirrors.
Carl very quickly tapping mana.
Lembas. Okay.
Looks like a food, more or less is a food.
Yeah.
And there's a Battlefield Scry 1, then you get to draw a card. Of course, you can pay 2 and tap it, sacrifice Lembas, and gain 3 life.
Yeah. Nice little combo there with the Mushroom Watchdogs as well.
It is indeed.
Ooh. Kept has to be a different colored source of mana, right?
I would hope. I would hope for Carl.
Maybe a parting of many ways, potentially. I see the 1 mana here.
And it looks like that is going to be the case. So here
is many partings.
Here is many partings to get the basic plains out of the deck.
Plains, that's interesting. There's a lot of mountains in this deck, but going for the plains here.
Yeah, it looks like taking a look at Carl's deck list, which we have access to in front of us. We're seeing 7 forest, 5 mountains, a swamp, a plain.
Dawn of a new age.
Yeah, we're seeing a couple different colors here. Now, this is a very powerful enchantment here from Carl.
You get a hope counter for each creature you control. Remove a counter at your end step. If you do, draw a card. So, nice source of card advantage.
If it's around for long enough.
If it is around for long enough.
That's the big thing, is will it be able to sit around and do its thing long enough? Because Carl is under some duress here at the moment. We're going to head back over Christian's way. Chapter 2 will mean an amass 2.
Yeah, but I think Carl's looking like he's trying to turn it around here. At 15 life, got the creature in play. Christian's also down to 9 here.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
he has to be mindful of his life total.
And this is what we said about that Beer Mirror Guardian, which is at some point you got to block that thing.
Yeah.
4 power is no joke.
Right.
So some blocking is probably going to have to really be thought about on the second one here in just a bit. For now, Calcano's going to think about this turn for a little while. Remember that Chapter 3 of that saga is going to go off soon enough. But here's a card that I know you've cast a ton in the Torment of Golem.
That's a good one. I like this one. Yes, this one I like.
It'll be take your best card, which will be the Death Touch Spider in this instance.
Yeah, and Calcano trying to put some pressure on here, getting in for 4. Next turn, potentially 10 damage with Menace.
Yes. So you see the life totals here of 11 to 9 as we head back over to Carl Sarap. Magic's present against, one could argue, Magic's past in Christian Calcano, but he is reappearing in the competitive scene very well with a 2-0 start, and it looks to be a pretty good limited deck here.
Gimli here in play here for Carl Sarap.
Calcano going to take a read of that. We'll do the same. 3 mana, 3/2. It has indestructible as long as you can control 2 or more creatures died under your control this turn. Yeah. Another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Gimli. When this ability resolves for the 3rd time this turn, Gimli fights up to 1 target creature you don't control.
Yeah, and Carl right there drawing a card and gaining 4 life here. So now, again, sitting at a healthy 15, could afford to take a big hit here from Calcano potentially. And Calcano down to 5. Has the Shire in play, has the Lembas, has the food token.
Yeah, it does make you wonder what's going on in Calcano's hand here now. So he is thinking about the turn. You mentioned the Shire. That's the legendary land.
Yep.
You can tap an untap creature you control to create a food token. Green does have a way of, I would say, staying alive.
Yep, absolutely.
Given all the food generation. It's very good at racing if it can get itself in those situations.
Yeah. Calc doing some math here.
Well, they don't call him the calculator for nothing. So let's see what's going on here.
All right, breaking of the Fellowship here, pretty good.
It's been impressive.
Yeah.
Through these 3 rounds. We saw Nathan cast it a couple of times. We see Christian cast it now too.
All right, so now you get to get in for a decent attack. This is a potential attack for 10.
Well, there might be more.
Oh, and then is this lethal now?
So this is a mass 2, going to gain control.
Grishnek. Oh no, cannot steal the 4/2 because it is a legendary creature as it has the ring. So it can only steal non-legendary creatures. So this, not the most impressive Grishnek, can only get, it basically just gave the amass token +2/+2.
Well, that's not so bad.
So it's still an attack here for 7 + 5, 12 damage.
Yep. Calcano may have thought he had lethal there, but not the case. So, gonna sacrifice
the Lembas, get shuffled back in, gain some life.
Yep. So, Carl's gonna go back up to 6, but seems to be behind now. Again, we don't have a great idea of what's going on in Carl's hand at this exact moment, but I will tell you this much: this draw step, Paul, gonna be pretty important.
Yeah. Something like an Ends Fury would be fantastic. That would just win Carl the game. Fight the Grishnak and get in for the final points of damage, if you could find one. A lot of pressure here, though, from Calcano.
Yeah, his draw has been pretty good. A lot of good back and forth between these 2 players in this game, and now you see an attack, immediate block.
And so now Carl can go up to 9. Oh, he's tapping.
He tapped very quickly. Yes, he did.
What?
And now here's an attack. So that was Fire of Orthanc. And that is going to do it. Target artifact or land. Creatures without flying cannot block, and that is going to do it. Christian Calcano going to win that game and match there over Carl Sarap. 2 games to 0. Calcano, welcome back to the Pro Tour.
Still got it.
Never lost it. 3 and very impressive return here for Christian.
Yeah. One thing I do want to note, at least from the matches that we've seen, right? All the people who got their trophy, who got their, I guess Tyler Hatchell went 2-0-1, all drafting black decks, right?
Yeah.
Every single time a deck with black ended up getting the trophy here. Just one of the best colors. Really, really impressive showing.
Yeah, and again, everybody kind of knew that coming in, but it was one thing that we talked about with everyone at the players meeting is kind of, okay, everybody knows black is really good. What's the backup plan? And everybody's answer was kind of different, but at the end of the day, the Swamps ruled supreme.
I mean, I have seen different approaches when I talk to different people. Some people just kind of said, going into the draft, I'm just going to assume that one of my colors is black.
Yes.
And then I'll just draft the other color and figure things out.
Yep.
Whereas other teams are trying to find other ways to draft the format, maybe go into red-white, maybe try to draft green, because everybody's going to be fighting for black. But right now, so far, at least from what we've seen, seems like just going black is the way to go.
Those other strategies, they yielded some 2-1s, but not enough 3-0s. We're taking a break here from Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings, from Barcelona, Spain. We do come back, we're heading over to the news desk. It'll be Maria and Mani getting us ready for some modern gameplay. I can't wait.
Oh.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings, here from Barcelona, Spain. A look there at Sagrada Familia, truly one of the most incredible places I have ever had the privilege to visit. If you go to Barcelona, you simply must see Sagrada Familia. Something else you must see is this tournament here this weekend. This has been fantastic. There's a look at the players battling for that trophy right there and their share of a $500,000 prize pool. Let's take a look at our headlines in just a moment. Welcome back to the news desk. Maria Bartholdi and Mani Davuti hanging out with you here in Spain. And speaking of the trophy, there it is right there. That's what the players are playing for this weekend. And of course, the title of Pro Tour champion. Let's find out what's been going on here. We've got our headlines for you. 3 rounds in the books. Draft is done here on day 1. If you love limited, don't worry, it'll be back tomorrow. But for now, we move on to modern. There are 32 perfect 3-0 records left in the building. There were 269 players. 32 remain undefeated, among them Greg Orange, Gab Nassif, and Simon Nielsen, along with a lot of other people, of course. 5 rounds of modern coming up. Next, very excited to see what happens with modern. And Horn of Gondor is our headline card. Why is that, Mani?
Yeah, Maria, 32 perfect records, but the winner of our feature pod was not one of them, getting a 2-0-1 record to end the draft and using this extremely powerful rare Horn of Gondor to get the job done against Nathan Sawyer in that last match.
Card is a house. Well, Will was down in our feature match area and talked to some people who are very happy after draft this morning. Let's hear from them right now.
Tyler, you just defeated the current world champion, the current Pro Tour champion, and you're still undefeated in this tournament, Pro Tour Lord of the Rings. How does that feel?
Feels good. You know, I'm here to have fun, and I think Lord of the Rings is a great set. I think there's a lot of depth in the limited format. It's been an odd pod, I think. There's a couple of weird things that happened. It's always fun to play the world champion like Nathan and engage him. He's a really nice guy. I think Game 2 didn't go his way. He got screwed, and I won that one. And then Game 3 went a little bit the same way, but he did find some lands, but I was able to be the aggressive player, which isn't where he wants to be.
That's what I was going to bring on to. I was going to ask you, what was your game plan going into this? You knew Nathan drafted the aggro deck of the format. You know, you went red, white, managed to turn everything sideways. You on the slower, more controlling build. What was your game plan going, knowing that you're playing against an aggro deck?
Yeah, so I actually passed 2 of the Marys that he got, and he told me he got 2 of them. I saw his deck list, he had 3 of them, right? So definitely when I'm on the draw, I'd like to take out more expensive spells, and I brought in some 2/3s looters, which you don't normally want in your deck, but I wanted something to block 2/2s in particular. So that worked out well, yeah. I think that it's pretty unintuitive in this format that sometimes even the controlling deck wants to take the aggression, and you're rewarded for that. So I got a leg up on him, and it worked out.
George, you managed to qualify for this Pro Tour in Athens. This is your first Pro Tour, and you've just finished the draft round 3-0 undefeated. How does that feel?
It feels really amazing. I don't have any words. My first Pro Tour 3-0. I don't know what to say. I'm really thrilled about it.
So would I be. So you drafted Abzan colors. Traditionally, we think Grixis is the colors that people want to be going. They're the strong ones, but you went completely against the grain. When Abzan, talk to me about that and the picks that you know to build this deck.
이 아저씨가 큰 거야? 이 아저씨가 작은 거야? 둘의 키 차이가 엄청난데?
The strongest color in the draft, so I went that direction, and my opponent floated some really strong green cards like the Shelob and the.
이 아저씨 왜 이렇게 떠들고 있어?
So I thought that was the right path, and I really like the colors. It's a grindy deck, and it usually gets the job done.
There's a look from our players who did so well for themselves in draft. What a huge accomplishment here for them, starting the weekend off with such a great record. Let's take a look at our leaderboard for the first time in the tournament. Round of draft now under our belt. 32 players undefeated, and we're going to see every single one of them.
봐봐요. 탈이.
The first thing is the Pro Tour is truly an international. 14 different
8명 중에 6명이 탈이야.
The first 16 of our
이 존만 게임 뭐지 이거? 탈이 존만 게임?
Players like Gabriel Nassif, but also 3
너프해도 다 탈이밖에 안 가는데?
Team Worldly Council, including Sean Goddard and hometown hero Tony Marcos, as well as Christian Calcano, a fan favorite who we saw
나시프 6위
feature match, getting the job done to go 3-0 from that team.
All right, let's take a look at our second set of players here that are currently 3-0 in the tournament, Monty.
Names you've already mentioned: Greg Orange, Simon Nielsen.
이치카와!
For that World Championship qualification.
오렌지!
Getting a great start here. Yuki Ichikawa, one of my
죄다 모르는
players,
애들.
and Christian Calcano. Everyone's
칼카노도 삼승했네.
First time Pro Tour player Jake Beardsley getting that last 30-second slot 3-0 in his first Pro Tour.
Ooh, must feel nice. Congratulations to
안
our
보이는데요?
players starting
없어.
out undefeated. But now we transition over to Modern, and I know a lot of you are very, very excited to see Modern here on the big stage for the first time at the Pro Tour level since 2019. Let's reveal our Modern metagame.
잘 나가는데.
Yeah, Maria, this is not the Modern the players may remember from all the way back in 2019. Since then, Modern Horizons and now the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth have come out and really changed the shape of the format. You see Rakdos Evoke, the top played deck in the field here with just under
250명 정도밖에 안 나왔나 보네.
Not that much of a share, and then behind that, 4-color Omnath, Rhinos, both the Teamer and 4-color variety, as well as Mono Green Tron and Golgari Yawgmoth really closing down the pack. And I think something really interesting that Frank Karsten noted, around 93% of the decks in the field are playing at least one card from the new set, The Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. So really just the impact of this set being felt on this format, which is a little surprising considering Modern has 20 years of Magic to really rely on. Feeling this impact on this metagame is really huge.
All right, there's a look at the modern metagame here this weekend. We'll find out what happens over the next 5 rounds today. Let's take a look at our tournament schedule. Everybody tune in tomorrow starting at 5 a.m. Eastern time for rounds 9 through 16. Draft in the morning and then more modern later in the afternoon. And of course, you do not want to miss our top 8 coming on Sunday. Make sure you remember this. It is 1 hour earlier, starting at 4 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday for our top 8, which is single elimination modern. All right, everybody, it is time for modern here in the building. Let's find out who will be watching Do Battle in our feature match area here for round number 4.
맛있다.
It's none other than Hall of Famer Gabriel
리빙 앤드 골가리 야그모스 그가 그게 아니야? 새끼들 둘이 똑같은 데가 아니야? 무덥스는데?
A little bit better. Living End in the hands of Gab Nassif. Started playing in 1995. Gab Nassif has just done it all. You might know
이 정도 돼야지 고인물이야. 앞에가 1로 시작해야 돼. 199, 1999 이 정도 돼야 돼. 아시겠죠?
Right after that, one of the best players to play the game, Gab Nassif. Versus Wojtek Kowalczuk here running.
얘네들은 이제 갓난쟁이들. 한 5살 된 애들. 아직 성인 아니야. 13년 아직 성인 아니죠. 초등학생 정도 되네. 초등학생.
But what about these modern decks, Monty?
And Maria, we are going to start by taking a look at the Hall of Famers deck. Gab Nassif has brought Living End. Now, this is a deck that has existed in Modern for a very long time, but the later iterations and the current iteration of Living End is nothing like we've seen in the past.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, and 15랜드네. 왜 거짓말해요? 15랜드인데 14랜드라고.
Being the core of the deck, the goal is to cascade into this using cards like Violent Outburst or Shardless Agent. But now you have a lot of interaction in the deck, with 4 copies of Grief allowing you to attack your opponent's hand to try to resolve.
그러니까 걔는 골드 PC에 올라간 거예요. 15랜드였으면 프로투어에 왔을 텐데 14랜드여서 골드 PC에 올라온 거예요.
And the Lord of the Rings added even more to that.
아시겠죠?
Like the Oliphant and the Generous Ent, giving it some land cyclers, giant creatures, and making it that much more consistent. This deck is really a powerhouse when you're not up against graveyard hate.
야 강아지 발바닥 만지니까는 얘가 눈치 줘요. 간지럽다고.
But now I'm even more terrified. Let's take a look at Wojtek Kowalczuk's deck here on the other side of things, Monty.
Golgari Yawgmoth. Now this is a creature-oriented combo deck. The core of the deck revolves around Yawgmoth Transposition. That is a big one, as that is the namesake card and what brings it all together.
이거 그냥 그거네.
Is to get 2 undying
이
creatures.
새끼 갖고 막 무덤 돌려서 계속 잡는 거의 그건데.
2 undying creatures plus a Yawgmoth, you're able to sacrifice 1
거의
to put
콤보
a
덱인데 콤보 덱.
-1 counter on the other one.
계속 그거네. 크리처 돌려가지고 이런 거 계속 써가지고 무한으로 쏴서 죽이는 툴덱이네. 툴박스네. 툴박스구나. 나는 대회 나가면은 툴박스 아니면은 그게 좋다고 생각이야. 미드레인지 아니면 툴박스 둘 중 하나가 좋다고 생각해. 그래서 나한테 대회를 나갈 때 무슨 덱을 들고 나갈 거냐 이렇다면 나는 둘 중 하나 선택할 것 같은데 락토스 아니면 툴박스.
Alright, this matchup seems sweet. Monty, what should people at home look out for?
I think the big thing is whether Wojtek can be put in a position where he can find that endurance and instant speed and stop Gab, and how Gab is going to play around that. Considering Force of Negation, not that great against creatures, it may prove troublesome.
All right, well, let's find out what happens. We've got Riley and Corey in the booth with this one. Take it away.
Thanks very much, Maria. It's great to have your company as we get into Modern now. My name's Riley, joined by Corey Baumeister. And Corey, I know a lot of people will be very excited to get into the back half of today's action as we move from Limited into Constructed. It's been a long time since we've showcased Modern at the highest level like
이런 멋있는 것 같아. 나이트.
I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hogak was terrorizing back in that day, so it's been quite a while. It's my favorite format. I cannot wait to get into this. So many different decks. It's a blast to play.
We're going to get stuck in as soon as our players are ready down in the feature match area. A name that many people will be very familiar with, of course, Gabriel Nassif, the Frenchman, the Hall of Famer, famous for wearing his yellow hat. He doesn't have it on today.
비숍 뭔가 그거잖아요.
You can see there. But against
교회에 있을 것 같잖아.
He's on Living End, as we've already talked about. We have Wojtek
주교 느낌 딱 나네.
and this is a list that I'm really interested to see. The Golgari Yawgmoth list, right? One of the many cards from Modern Horizons 2 that has had a huge impact was Yawgmoth ran position. And here, Corey, it enables quite a, would you call this a complex combo?
Yeah, it feels like a creature combo deck, you know, kind of to its core. It has a lot of interaction, and of course, Yawgmoth itself is such an incredible card here.
Opening up with a brand new face from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, Delighted Halfling. This is one of the most played cards from the new set, and it is an absolute powerhouse. Let's make no mistake about that.
Yeah, absolutely great. 1 mana acceleration creature. The uncounterable aspect is not going to be super huge in this particular matchup, but there's going to be a lot of matchups in Modern where it is going to be super relevant.
But the most important thing, in my view, on this card is that little number down in the bottom right-hand corner. That 2, right? So important. 2
12시에 원래 덱 킵했다고요?
Filled with not just Orcish Bowmasters, but also Ren and 6. Being able to keep your mana dork alive through their turn 2 play.
건방진.
Yep, absolutely. That has made cards like Ragavan a little bit more, you know, not as format dominating as it used to be in the past. So yeah, Delighted Halfling, excellent card here.
Let's have a little squiz at
시프야 혼내줘.
here. Gab has
원랜드 혼내줘.
an Oliphant as well to fetch
해줘.
a mountain, and we're going to see a Curator of Mysteries hit the bin. This is what the Living End deck wants to do. If you're newer to Modern, I can give you a little brief explanation as to what Living End does. It cycles away these creatures with cheap cycling abilities, and then casts Living End.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't suspend Living End the way that it's written on the card. It almost cheats it into play in some ways using the Cascade ability of cards like Shardless Agent and Violent Outburst. We may see that, but right now we're seeing another really important card in this format, Grief. And Grief is making headlines not just in Living End, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very good in a lot of different decks. Here it is
님들아,
mostly used to clear the way
되게
of
싼 거 아니야?
automatic cards like Endurance. That is going to be the game 1 card.
아니 땅이 제일 비싼 게임에서 땅이 15장밖에 안 들어가.
But for now,
리빙 엔드 이거 싼 데가 아니야?
That's going to disrupt the Living End, and then when it comes back into play, you can hit some of the more powerful creatures like Yawgmoth on the second time it's coming around. So, yeah, Gabriel Nassif is just trying to line up a bunch
왜
of
이렇게 매직
creatures
비싼 거야?
and then cast either Violent Outburst
무슨
or
죄다 100만 원이야.
Living End those creatures back, and we do already see it in hand there.
So that's a good start here for Nassif, a bit of early disruption.
Is that good, Frank, like this?
Yeah. And it looks like there's really
뭐가
no
비싸?
interaction.
얘가 비싸네.
Has
방금 쓰네 얘. 얘가
2
비싸네.
endurance. You know, there's only 2 of the card, but you do have
카운터도
power
비싸네.
followings, evolution, stuff like that. And it looks like it's just jam
비싸구나.
and hope Nassif does not have it. Well, there's some bad news because Nassif not only has it, has both options here available. And most of the time you just get Shardless Agent because you get that extra body attached to it.
아니에요. 누가 엔듀런스 잘 쓰나 싸움 아니에요.
Weird, like for people who know Living End, it's like yeah, of course, no worries. But the Shardless Agent doesn't get
그런
hit
싸움
by
아닙니다.
the Living End because it's still on the stack when the Living End resolves.
Yeah,
you'll get there. If you're a new player, welcome to Modern. It is a Wild West format, and slowly, surely you'll get it. Don't you worry. Here's Violent Outburst. So we're going to see.
뭐야 여기 유언 떴는데 딴 거야. 아웃버스트 나왔어.
Gabriel Nassif is going to look at cards, exile cards from the top of his library, and if he's lucky, Corey, maybe. Well, no, if you go and look at this deck list, you'll notice there are no cards that cost
안 나옴.
fewer than 3 mana, right?
이게 리빙 엔드 안 넣는 거 아니야?
Oh, hang on, I want to listen to this.
And go like 1 past my Living Ends.
This is a Pro-Tour Hall of Famer just having a chat with the judge about what happens if he stuffs up his Cascade trigger.
I mean, because it happens. You're going kind of fast. You know what you're going to hit.
왜냐? 얘들 다 죽여야 되니까.
And
잘
then
가.
the cards get randomly put on the bottom. So this is another
어디서 원랜드 킵이 이러고 바로 죽여버렸죠? 원랜드 킵 바로 메스 맞이.
Yeah, but he didn't call a judge, Corey. He's chatting while he's resolving his triggers.
Well, a judge is there. A judge is there.
Anyway, we've got the Living End. So away go the 3 creatures here for Wojtek, unfortunately for him. But
yeah,
we now see the Grief trigger as well as going to pick something out, the Gilded Goose, the pick. And now, Nassif, look, this is just what Living End wants to do, right? He's just put 4 billion power into play with a 3.
아니 건방진
That's it. We can pack things up. Go to game number 3 now.
아니 리빙 엔드 상대로 원랜드에 부스팅 생물 들고 킵하는 거 맞아 저거?
Really interesting.
Yeah, so Living End is one of the best Game 1 decks out there. You know, this is similar to decks that we've seen like Dredge in the past, where there's a lot of hate cards coming in. You know, you have different hate cards as far as cards that interact with the graveyard, like in
이제는 6시가 원랜드?
one of the most popular cards being played this entire weekend.
드랩을 잘하나 보죠.
Just play on 0. You will be able to counter those Cascade Living End effects without any problem. So Nassif would have to deal with that first and then Cascade into the Living End. So that is the game where Nassif is supposed to, quote unquote, kind of always win. And now these two post-board games get a little trickier.
It's really important to note that Living End has a ridiculous Game 1 win percentage, but it is a deck that I'm not going to say it's easy to hate out, but there, in the sense that hate always works against it. But there are lots and lots of options, and you can attack it from many different ways. So right now, we're going to see a Grief open up the proceedings for Nassif. He looks very, very happy to tear apart Wojtek's hand whenever he can. Nassif's hand looks great, right? This is something we should discuss.
나 리빙 엔드 써야 되는데 그럼 야그모스 나오니까는 야그모스도 못하고 울프 새끼 빼기에 자존심 상하고 지금 자존심 상했음.
Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally you'd play kind of the normal amount of lands, 20-ish is about pretty standard for Modern, but with those cyclers you're able to not only just get basic lands like we kind of see in Limited, you're able to get these dual lands to fix your mana even better because, well, at the end of the day, it is a 3-color deck where if you draw too many you're going to struggle. But with the help from these cyclers, the deck is more consistent. It does kind of the same thing over and over. And if we look at kind of the sideboard of most Living End decks, all it is just anti-hate cards. You know, so it's just ways to deal with your opponent's hate cards. There's 2 proactive cards in the sense of Blood Moon and Leyline of the Void. Everything else, trying to blow up hate cards to make sure you can Living End.
아니 뭐 영울프 빼야지 뭐. 야구모스 나오게 해줄 순 없잖아.
Like, it can't just play like Disenchant.
Yeah.
Because then the Living End plan doesn't work. The Cascade into that would be a disaster. But this hand for Nassif, it doesn't look that impressive, but it's actually very good. We've got 2 Cascade cards, Violent Outburst and Shardless Agent, and we've got effectively a second land with Oliphant, right?
상대도 할 건 없죠.
One land. That is a big deal. So we're going to see the Oliphant cycled away, get one of these dual lands, and then you have 2 cyclers. Plus
표정이 매우 못마땅하죠.
You say missing a land, but in reality, between the Architects of Will, the Curator of Mysteries, and your draw step, like, you're going to find the land that you need.
But it is a 15-land deck. So you might, you know, you kind of cheat on lands a little bit, so you might draw an Oliphant, and that is your quote-unquote land, but if you draw it on turn 3, you can cascade into it immediately.
And go over to Nassif immediately.
이것이 프랑스상 리빙 엔드 원툴맨이다.
As he draws a Misty Rainforest right off the top with the Curator of Mysteries. So, the French Hall of Famer, I would say at this point, well and truly in the driver's seat.
Yes, absolutely. And now it is the pressure's on for Yawgmoth to always kind of do the Yawgmoth thing.
이거 채팅창 때문에 안 보인다. 이거 채팅창 쓸까요?
But if you are able to find that, there's no counterplay to it right now from the hand. So overall, though, you're right, Riley. This is not a great matchup for Yawgmoth in general. It's pretty tricky.
아니면 줄여?
The play here for Wojtek, that's a blast from the past. We've seen that in Modern.
이러면 안 보일 것 같긴 한데.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And it's provided a little plant here for Wojtek, but a very quiet second turn for him. He does have the Thran position in hand. I believe he's sitting on a copy of Yawgmoth.
Yes, I believe.
So that'll be able to come out next turn with the Golden Goose.
So you see Nassif there cycling right away. Normally you always wait, but if you were able to find something like Grief, maybe you want to look for another black card and then Grief right away. But as it stands, you know, this was the turn where Wojtek really needed to find some interaction here.
나와버렸다.
Is okay. It gives you a
저 나오면 이제
you know, to find specifically endurance.
세크리 해가지고 무덤에 넣으니까 리빙 엔드로 다시 나오죠.
Excellent, because
let's talk about it.
Yeah, because you're able to evoke it, get rid of your opponent's graveyard with Living End on the stack, and your endurance.
아니요, 그래도 그는 드로우를 많이 먹어요.
You actually are the one who gets to gets to keep a creature in play.
And this makes it really important for anyone who's looking to pick up and play with living end. Sometimes you want to respond to the cascade trigger, and sometimes you want to respond to the living end.
그리고 다시
in this situation with endurance,
쟤네들이 나와요.
they have already cast the living end before you cast the endurance, because then if you don't, they'll just like, oh, I'm not going to cast my living end. And they'll put it back in the and they'll put it back in the deck because it's a mate. You don't have to cast the card that you cascade into.
Exactly. Yep. Very good point. Doesn't come up super often, but definitely does sometimes for sure.
All right, so Mountain Cycling now, I believe, with that Oliphant hitting the bin for Nassif. He's going to be able to untap and go straight into the Shardless Agent if he chooses. What's he worried about at this situation?
Just endurance. Absolutely. Only worried about endurance here from Nassif's side. Just hoping to fade that. And there is a lot of them.
There's 3 now.
Yeah, there's 3. 2 main, 1 board. But, you know, Quarter Calling, not an option anymore. And it is going to only be able to draw 2 cards. And Votek has to draw endurance into green cards. So... yeah. As it stands right now, Modern is a fast format, we'll say the least.
And we're kind of trying to create some drama here, but you can see with Wojtek's hand, he's sitting on Orcish Bowmasters and 2/3 of absolutely nothing else. Yeah. So not looking good for the Polish player here.
And that's the thing. This is a perfectly fine Yawgmoth draw. You know, next turn, Wojtek easily could win the game, you know, if given that time, but just not enough with how fast Living End and how consistent it kind of goes off on turn 3.
I was talking to someone, maybe it was you, I can't remember, talking about Nassif's stream. He's a great streamer as well. You can find him at Yellow Hat on Twitch.
Very good for learning. Very good for learning how to play the game.
Was it you who was telling me, it's like, oh, you know, he plays this, he plays that, he plays some nonsense, he has a good time. But when he wants to do some winning, he gets out Living End.
Yep, exactly. Like, we see him, he plays a lot of the challenges and stuff on the weekend and really plays Living End when it's time to kind of get serious. Yep.
And you know that if he could be playing Supreme Verdicts and Teferis, he would be.
Yes.
You know, he'd be playing his trademark, getting through Azorius control.
Yep.
So you know that this deck must be good in order to take him away from his beloved Hallow.
All
right, 3 mana. We're going to see a cascade here, and we're going to see Gabriel Nassif try to wrap up the game with a turn 3 violent outburst. What's he going to hit? There's the Ingot Shield. We talked about that.
Yep, that was brought in, and this is open deck list, so the Chalice of the Voids were face up.
Yep. We know that they are sitting in people's sideboards, and the players do have access to that. So,
all right, here's draw number 1. It's got to be green card or endurance.
So this is drawing with Yawgmoth Thran Physician, right?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Sacking the creature to then draw a card.
So we can see there on the screen, Yawgmoth Thran Physician, pay 1 life, sacrifice
green
another
card.
Creature.
All right.
-1/-1 counter and draw a card. So there's the green card. Have we found the endurance? Oh my goodness! Off the top, it's an endurance. Just like that. Wojtek is unbelievable draw from him. He drew green card into endurance. The only combination of cards that got him out of that position.
Unreal. And on top of that, gets to put in endurance with the invoke trigger. Draw another card.
나 느꼈어.
That
모던 하면 안 돼.
So before he goes to the evoke trigger, he pays another life, draws another card. That is incredible. Wojtek Kowalczuk already this is the second game of Modern we've watched today, Corey, and Wojtek is already looking to like, no, this is my format, all right? This is my format.
As most players do when they are on a feature match at the
pro
level, you always watch back your match. You know, you want to kind of see it. Nassif's going to watch back and probably not love
He's not going to love it. Wojtek, although, let's all say good day to Wojtek, who's rewatching this back at home a couple of days later. He's having a great time. He's having the time of his life.
Yes.
Holy moly.
And Wojtek really stayed really stoic about it because, you know, Nassif doesn't know that you needed that.
아니, 만화도 없이 튀어나올 수 있고 이게 좀 그렇다, 게임이.
Correctly, you know, you have sacrificed this, trigger that, no worries. I had this the whole time, dude. Let's go. Wow. Let's go. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, he says.
Yeah. And that was incredible.
The other thing about endurance that is just so backbreaking here for Nassif, right? Like, if it were a counterspell, Nassif's like,
이거 게임 이상하다.
Look at his
없었는데.
He's got nothing to bring back anymore.
생물이라 카운터 있는데 카운터도 못 치고 이상하다.
He's bringing back nothing.
Yeah. And there is some scenarios where you have the living end on the stack, and if you do get endurance, you first let that trigger resolve, and then you start cycling again.
But he was out of mana.
Yeah, but when it's late game, you can kind of do that stuff. But here, of course, I like to play as well.
그냥 문제가 죄다 플래시라 문제야.
And
새끼들 다 플래시 달려.
Just ridiculous here. Gabriel Nassif taking an absolute shellacking here from Wojtek, who is not here to make friends, dude. Ripping the green card and the endurance. What a series of draws for him.
Yeah, we'll have to get Frank to type up the odds on that one because that was...
the steam will be coming off his calculator as we speak as he figures that one out. Holy moly. All right, let's have a look at what's in Naseef's hand. Let's see if he's got any more business. He's got that Shardless Agent. He's got an Oliphant, so he can put something in the bin. Subtlety and Force of Negation here. The other cards that typically you're wanting to use to protect what you're doing rather than playing them reactively. You're sort of wanting to play them proactively. So Naseef, not the best spot right now.
Yeah, not the best at all. And honestly, Force of Negation is a card that I'm kind of surprised it's even left in. There's only Court of Calling and Eldritch Evolution as your targets. You
님들아.
those 2 Chalice of the Voids that you can hit. But that really
대개는 스펠을 쓰는데 다 생물이고 인스턴트야.
There's some thought to playing around
게임이 어떻게 이렇게 되지?
and maybe
생물과 인스턴트와 디나인 하나야.
But most of the time you just jam
생물과
have the least amount of chance of
다 하나, 다 뭐 없어. 다 비용 막 없이 다 이래. 게임 이상해요.
Subtlety cast with the Force pitched.
Yep.
Targeting, that's an Orcish Bowmasters hanging out there. That's still on the stack, or it's. I think Wojtek is considering whether to put it on top or below deck.
Yep, exactly.
게임
And
이상해.
one nice thing that I would do here
이거 레가시에서 하던 거 왜 무덤도 하고 있어?
is put it on top, and you can always change your mind.
Yeah.
You can always sacrifice the land and shuffle it away later if you want, depending on how it works. But Riley, even look at this. As it's standing right now, you know, Naseef is at 10, so a little bit of a precarious life total. But as it stands, you can just cycle Oliphant and then that Shardless Agent. It's still going to deal with the creatures. You're going to have to deal with Yawgmoth coming back, but you're still going to get a nice little battlefield from Naseef's side and still be in this game, even though we had this crazy interaction.
He has to do something.
아니 프레스트 안 들어가는 거 아니야? 그냥 진작에 깨버려야 되는 거 아니야? 지금 깨! 야 지금 깨!
Wishes that weren't an Oliphant.
Yeah.
Right now, like he would have take basically any other cycler there because he would want to cycle into another.
있어.
Yeah,
지성이님들.
have the prerequisite
예리한데?
amount of mana, you really don't, you know, necessarily want these.
But it still goes to show just how powerful these 1-mana land cyclers are in this deck, because if that were just a mountain in his hand, Naseef would be in a very bad, like a really, really bad spot. At least, and he's bringing back the subtlety as well. So this actually isn't the worst living end here.
슬퍼 보인다.
Go for it.
So far, you know, we still have a draw step here. We could chain together a couple of cyclers and really start, you know, getting more stuff here. Prismatic command or Prismari command, not exactly what you wanted here.
커맨더?
Prismari command isn't going to aid him too much, but again, another really key card post board, the shatter effect to destroy Chalice, and also the looting effect, right? Draw 2, discard 2. Really useful way to make sure the graveyard's nice and full while enacting a game plan. 3 mana. Now we're going to see Shardless Agent, I imagine, a transplant from Legacy. A Legacy staple for a long time before it made the jump to Modern in Modern Horizons 2. And now Naseef going through the motions and going to flip a Living End in order to try to run back his success in game number 1. Here it is. And let's see what Wojtek's response is this time. The Young Wolf comes back, correct?
Yep.
Or is it exiled to the...
Nope, that should come back.
I think it comes back, right? I know the Living End exiles cards from the graveyard, but not from the battlefield. You sacrifice them.
Sacrifice them, yep, absolutely. So we'll get the Young Wolf back and Yawgmoth here. So that's
a good start.
That's a really good start. Then all you really need is one more Young Wolf, and now you can draw a card.
캐스케이드 덱이긴 한데 캐스케이드라고 안 하고 리빙엔드 덱이라고 합니다. 리빙엔드는 비용이 없어요. 서스펜드 비용밖에 없어가지고 이거 비용이 0인데 그걸 캐스케이드로 내서 리빙엔드를 쓰는 덱이에요. 그냥 리빙엔드 덱이라고 합니다. 캐스케이드 덱이라고 합니다.
So Wojtek here.
캐스케이드라고 하면 그 코끼리 2개 나오는 덱이 캐스케이드 아니에요?
This Living End, which I believe is still on the stack.
It is, yeah. Just looking like we're just looking to... no, just make a food.
Oh, a food token.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
If you even
코끼리가 아니고 코뿔소였나? 여튼. 파라팔 나오는 거.
Yep, so back comes the Young Wolf. That touches the graveyard very briefly before the Undying.
그걸 캐스케이드 덱이라고 하는 걸로 알고 있고
for another round of the lunch buffet.
지금 이 덱은 리빙엔드라고 합니다.
Returns him to the battlefield. As for Naseef, Subtlety and Oliphant coming back from the bin, and that Shardless Agent hitting the battlefield after the Living End has resolved. So the Frenchman has managed to put a board back together. But look, win, lose or draw, an iconic moment for Wojtek before. That was, hoo boy. We're not going to be forgetting about that green card into Endurance draw for a long time.
Yeah, that was incredible there. And now you kind of play these weird games with Living End where you're just kind of getting into combat with, you know, some just mid-range creatures here.
So, I was going to say before, with the Young Wolf, right, all Wojtek really needs is another creature in order to, like, start the draw engine. Not kickstart it in the way that you would with another Young Wolf, But he can get a really good amount of value out of this, and he didn't even need a creature. He had a fetch land, Dryad Arbor.
비싸다뇨.
Exactly.
야구목수 얼마인데?
That kind of equates to 2 cards, no matter what.
얼마인데 비싸요?
Dryad Arbiter, you target the Young Wolf, and then
found an Eldritch Evolution there. Sorry, Corey.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. That's huge. That's huge. Eldritch Evolution can sacrifice the Young Wolf. You can go get powerful cards like Grist, just to name a few to start.
무슨 게임이 죄다 천벌이야.
You
어,
can
진짜
just get
천벌이네.
Young Wolf as well, I believe.
아이 지금 보니까 제이스님 가격 모르면서 그냥 천불이라고 던지는 거죠.
What we do here.
대충 100만 원은 할 거야. 이런 마음가짐으로.
And a Thoughtseize. Yeah, definitely huge advantage here to Votek.
Okay, so 3 mana. Now, Eldritch Evolution brings back the Young Wolf after its... the Undying brings back the Young Wolf. And now he can go and say, oh, look, there's that chalice.
근데 보니까 대부분 그렇긴 해.
Finds a Patra.
패치랜드가 비싸요? 원래 예전에 있던 가격 정도 아니야? 다른 카드들도 많이 비싸진 거 아니야?
Go off here. Every -1/-1 counter that you get onto a creature, you get a snake. So then you sack that snake, put a minus counter on Young Wolf, and you just keep this going here.
It's really important to note for perhaps players who aren't familiar with the Undying mechanic and with +1/+1 and -1/-1 counters.
Yeah.
You can put all sorts of different counters on creatures, right? You put stun counters, whatever.
이거 무한 아니야? 뱀새끼 나오면서?
Yep.
The exception is -1/-1 counters and +1/+1 counters. They cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So if you have a creature with a +1/+1 counter, you put a -1/-1 counter on it.
No counter.
That's it.
Yep.
Now we've just seen Voitek.
심의 패치 18불이에요?
No business winning. No business
또
whatsoever.
재판했나?
That
왜 이렇게 싸?
incredible series of draws, and then able to search out the Hapatra with the Eldritch Evolution.
지금인가? 심의 패치를 살 땐가 지금?
Textbook stuff from him. Love to see it.
Really impressive stuff. Votek was already ready to be like, all right, 3-1.
지금 우리는 리빙핸드를 데뷔할 땐가?
Perfect 2
심의
cards.
패치를 사서?
I love that it was the Young Wolf first that we saw.
Yeah.
That you needed the endurance afterwards, the extra sweat.
심의 패치 사서 우리 모던도 진출할까?
It was a terrific sequence there for Voitek, who gets himself a game 3 as a result. A mulligan for the poll as he starts the game on 6 cards. Nassif looks to have a decent enough opener here, Corey.
A really great opener, especially in the sense that there is an Ingot Chewer to be able to blow up the Chalice that Votek has. So Votek kept that hand based on the power of Chalice. And now as long as Nassif can find the lands, which is not guaranteed right now. Oh, we do have the Oliphant.
좆댐!
Yeah, it's already guaranteed for 2 lands, which is huge.
Yep.
Chalice!
So Voitek plays the Chalice of the Void on 0. That means that it will counter any 0 mana spells that are cast.
Yep.
Living End, of course, the key one that's going to be taken out. But
그거 들어가나? 레드 1마 레드 겟 들어가나?
Can evoke this Ingot Chewer, and the Ingot Chewer's shatter effect takes care of the Chalice.
Exactly, and we saw the previous game where we're like, okay, we really wish this Oliphant was a different cycler to kind of channel him in.
Yeah.
That could spell a nightmare scenario in this scenario if you just draw a card and you don't draw land. So this is really
저 들어가나? 인부코로 나오면서 아티 깨는
I think that they are just so much better because they enable this deck to take a much more consistent approach to enacting its combo. The fact that they don't just draw dead lands.
2장 들어가요, 2장.
Eating business. Oliphant is a lot better to have in your
아니, 손에 있는데?
mountain sitting in your hand, and so for that reason, yeah, I think that
역시 나시프
Living End
게임 존나 잘해.
been given a huge shot in the arm. Quarter calling off the top now for Voitek.
게임 존나 잘해.
On a hand that really doesn't look that great. Takanuma, Yawgmoth, quarter calling, and a whole lot of nothing else.
Yep, completely slow. The only reason to keep that hand was the power of Chalice. So really up against it here. Now we'll see if Nassif draws a land to be able to just go for Living End straight away. Doesn't look like it, so we're going to see some cycling to supercharge this Living End, which means Votek has exactly 1 turn to draw something spicy. We've seen it before. We might see it again.
We might see it again, dude. Striped Riverwinder hits the bin here as Nassif looking for a land.
존나 스택 싸네. 할 것도 없으면서 핸드 개구리면서.
I think we're going to see another cycle. He wants to hit this 3rd land drop.
Yep, absolutely. And you want to do it now because you want to play the land.
Yes, yeah, that's why it's main phase here, because Nassif is looking for that land. And he finds it too, he's found his teammates.
And now you can take a little bit of damage and cycle again to maximize. Now there is some point when you're like, well, my graveyard is already so impressive, I don't really need anymore.
6 creatures, I think you're getting close to that point here and now, I think.
Exactly.
But no, Nassif, he's hungry, dude. He's hungry, he wants some more creatures in there, let's go. Shocks himself with the the Steam Vents. That's an original Steam Vents as well, all the way back to Ravnica.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite
I tend to go for the return to Ravnica. That's the time that I started getting into competitive
와,
matches.
할 거 없으면서
RTR Gatecrash.
계속 할 거 있는 척.
Era ones, but look, all of them are.
뭔가 고민하는 척.
Bias to yourself. I see.
핸드 한번 까줘야지. 어?
Yes, no, terrible for me to have a personal bias, Corey.
So the one thing that we do have going here for Nassif as well is now Nassif can play around the endurance with the subtlety here.
Yes.
So can go for it and subtlety, which is going to provide a lot of insurance here. Doesn't look like we have.
He's got the endurance insurance.
Endurance insurance, exactly, because really needed it last game. I'll tell you that.
And he didn't have it, and he was caught out.
Exactly.
He was caught out. He's not making that mistake again, Corey. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely. So there was really one out for this game to basically not end next turn, and that was the Case Chalice of the Void. Since there's 2 on the board. And as it stands now, that game 2 is going to be an awesome story for Votek to show to his friends. Unfortunately, will not materialize into a match win.
I don't think so here. Nassif is able to untap with a graveyard that is absolutely stacked. He's got the Violent Outburst. He's got the Subtlety and a blue card, Architects at Will to back it up. And I think Nassif is about to put about 4 billion power into play with this Living End and a stack graveyard. And Wojtek doesn't even get a consolation prize. He doesn't have anything in the bin.
Nope, nothing in the bin. You can Court of Calling here for 0 to get Dryad Arbiter. That's kind of the big thing. And Nassif can just let this happen and then go for the Violent Outburst, which will then get into Living End. But Nassif does not know that there's not 2 Endurances, for instance, and 2 green cards. So that is what he has to fade right now. And of course, you got to be worried about it because that's the only thing that could happen.
Well, look, and last time we were like, oh no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And then Wojtek's like, no, I got it. So yeah, Nassif's sitting there thinking like, all right, does he have double Young Wolf, double Endurance? What's this guy made of?
Yeah, exactly. See that nice graveyard shot here to be able to check out exactly what the hits are.
Mm-hmm. Looks like a couple of Stripe River Winders. We've got that Ingature that was doing some work before. Two Curator of Mysteries and the Oliphant that was key in making sure that Nassif hit his land drops. So here's the Dryad Arbor. But it's Nassif's turn now, and he doesn't hesitate in tapping 3 mana, and Violent Outburst goes onto the stack. Cascade Trigger.
Yep, and Nassif did this in the proper order because, well, Dryad Arbiter comes into play, can't activate or can't use itself for mana because it is summoning sick, and gets the value of killing the Dryad Arbiter with the Living End as well. It's minor since you're bringing back the world, but still it is the proper way to do it. Nassif is definitely all about making the correct play.
And you can see that he's being very careful. He doesn't want to overflip here. He doesn't want to flip past the Living End. He's already asked the judge about that. But it's only a matter of time before he hits the namesake card of this deck, Living End, onto the stack here. Wojtek is going to be forced to let that card resolve. And Gabriel Nassif, we are going to need to bust out the metric calculator here to figure out exactly how much power. Do numbers go this high, dude?
I don't believe they do.
No.
Nope, absolutely too far. I mean, half these creatures have hexproof. Like, it just becomes
it's not happening. It's not happening. Listen, I want to take a moment to salute Wojtek Kowalczuk for giving us the show of a lifetime. What a game 2 from him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there is no shame in going down to a player of the caliber of Gabriel Nassif, the French Hall of Famer, winning a game that, oh boy, a match, Corey, that I think will live very long in the memory. That was a pleasure to watch and a pleasure to have your company as well as we get stuck into Modern. So much more for us to get stuck into, Corey. Your thoughts as we wrap up our first game here?
You know, the thoughts that I have mainly from this
12시 제도 사이드 게임인데 너무 안 액티브한 거 아니야?
Really high impact cards that you can draw off the top.
열심히 있는 척 하는데 그런 거 모르고 치니까 끝나.
Stay tuned for the rest of the broadcast because
너무 배째 킵한 거 같은데?
kind of interactions, and I just can't wait to see the rest of them.
A lot more where that came from, so I hope you're hungry because we're going to get stuck into it very, very shortly. But right now, back to Maria, who's going to preview our next match.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we have Min Yang Chen.
이게 캐스케이드.
Ichikawa's, that's Team Rhino.
캐스케이드 대
4-color Omnat.
요게 캐스케이드예요.
Another one of the cascade decks in the
똑같이 캐스케이드 들어가고 이거 들어가고.
This time going into crashing footfalls to put a large board presence into play. Now, this deck is being backed up by a lot of interaction in the forms of Mystical Dispute, Force of Negation, Subtlety, and Brazen Borrower, all cards that get around the restriction with this Cascade deck of not costing less than 3. On the other side, we have Yuki Ichikawa on one of the most played decks in the field, the 4-color Omnath deck. Now, this is the mid-range deck of the format.
Oh, okay.
Tools, Delighted Halfling, and the One Ring really leveling up this deck. You can see why it is so vastly played. This deck is trying to use the Halfling to power out an uncounterable powerhouse like Ren and 6, Omnath, or Teferi Time Traveler, and that is going to be the big one in this matchup.
덱은 재밌어 보인다. 이 덱 재밌어 보이는데 내가 지금 대충 보니까 이 덱 한 2천만 원 하죠. 이거 2,000불 하죠.
The cascade ability. So this
덱 존나 비싸 보이는데 이거 한
tough one for Rhinos.
아 이거 2,000불 할 것 같은데 한 200만 할 것 같은데. 13만 원짜리? 그런 게 있어요? 자, 누가 잘생겼는지 봅시다. 승털좌 믿습니다. 승털좌 그린으로 혼내주세요. 앞쪽이 이거를 1분 동안 계속 보여주는 거야? 처음부터 250등까지? 이 속도로 다 못 보여줄 것 같은데? 나카무라상 매필드도 있네. 무기령도 있네.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Barcelona here for Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings continued coverage.
아니 이거 한국이었으면 다 터쳤는데 이거를 그냥 본다고?
To have your company here in Spain as we explore
비눗방울 우리나라에 했으면 저거 사람들이 다 오리게너에서 다 터치고 있는데
그걸 냈다고? take out Wojtek Kowalczyk living in getting the job done.
그죠?
We know that it's going to be a very powerful.
한국이었으면 이미 다 터졌지.
It's time to move on to our second feature match and look at some different lists here. We've already met our players Mingyang Chen and Yuki Ichikawa. Ichikawa, probably a familiar face for many. This bloke has been around the traps for a long time. Mingyang Chen, probably someone who could be an up-and-comer.
Yep, absolutely. Maybe not as many main results, but five top finishes for Yuki Ichikawa, very established. And the thing that I love about Modern, once again, is we see 2 different decks in round 1, 2 different decks here. That is just really what Modern is all about. The highest played deck being 19%. We're going to see a lot of different matchups, a lot of different interactions, and this matchup is no different.
Let's get stuck in here, meet our players, learn a little bit more about them. Yuki Ichikawa, of course, been around for a long time. 5 top finishes, over $183,000 in prize money, and he was the Innistrad champion winner as well.
Yep. Golgari Food, remember that?
He got it done, man.
That was a good one.
He got it done. On the other side of the table, Mingyang Chen won at a regional championship in China. And we're getting stuck in here. Both of these players.
친구 카드가 다 비싼데? 비싼 카드 쓰는데?
That is making its
이 땅 비싼 땅이에요.
So here's
비싼
the
땅
big thing.
쓴.
Yuki has an absolutely overpowered draw if you can go Delighted Halfling into Teferi Time Reveler against the Cascade deck. That's exactly what you want to be doing. Chen's going to have a really force thing if you have fire, which it is there. That is a must kill.
누가 2시간자예요?
Talk about the Rhinos deck. It has
푸도 미러 2시간 한 사람 누구예요?
Right? It doesn't cycle creatures into the bin, but it still looks to resolve cascade spells. These are typically, as we've seen before, cards like Shardless Age and some cards.
이치카와요? 2시간 있어?
Exalted, the Ardent Plea, the Exalted card.
Yep. There's a little bit of 4-color there. They're also playing.
6시에 있는 플레이어는 플레이 빨리 하는데?
You know, requirement of having to pay
빠른데?
play cards that cost more than 3. Since
활동작도 별로 없이.
one most of the time. But it gets around the cascade mechanic. But yeah, the big
2시간에서
difference
시간승.
from Rhinos, from Living End, is Rhinos gets to play a lot more interaction, a lot more removal, instead of, you know, the quote-unquote bad creatures that you have to cycle away that aren't really great at doing any other job besides cycling.
And I'm looking
적통
here at this list that Chen's
적통이죠? 렌
really,
적통.
really interesting. 2 copies of Brazen Borrower, not something we see all the time. 3
개사기죠,
copies
렌.
of Mystical Dispute main deck as well.
Yep, that's a really nice card here. And here it is.
가자,
I also saw from Ichikawa had Teferi, but since the Delighted Halfling was dealt with, now does not have the mana to deploy it. And once you play Teferi after the Rhinos have already resolved, it's a huge difference and a whole different story.
It's still not terrible because you can bounce one of the Rhinos.
맞아. 3마나 10바씩.
Before, this just would have been a 3 mana 2/2 with no abilities if the Teferi were on the battlefield. But now, 3 mana, 10 power. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, and wow, I see Force, Murktide, and a Subtlety. So, man, Chen has everything on lockdown here.
Yeah, Chen absolutely in the driver's seat here. That Lorien revealed really important in making sure that he had his land drops all sorted and ready to go. Another important card. I'm sure we'll get the chance to talk about that. But right now, Ichikawa, what's he going to do about this?
Probably cry. You know, I think being able to play Teferi and then getting it forced with this absolutely powerful draw from Chen, this is the ideal draw from the Teamer Rhinos deck.
And there it is. Teferi is going to be exiled by the force
이거
of
뭐야? 왜 이렇게 이쁘게 생겼어 얘?
Regent being pitched.
누가 방패 들고 마법 막고 있는데?
And now back to Chen, who was untapped with these Rhinos, untouched by anything such as a Teferi minus. So he's about to rumble.
And here's another thing. We see another violent outburst in the hand. Normally, you're like, I don't want to overextend against a possible Supreme Verdict. That is not in this list, and it's not really common in
it's not in
any
this
of the list.
format, man. No one's playing Supreme Verdict. R.I.P. Best sweeper ever printed. Holy moly.
Yep. So now,
so dirty.
Now, as it stands, this is 13 damage. So
안 나와.
Ichikawa is already going down to 1. Plus, then there's going to be 8 more power on the battlefield with a second crashing footfall. So, yeah, we're kind of all done here.
We can wrap things up pretty shortly. We don't actually often see violent outbursts, non-cascade text having any relevance, but here it's actually doing something.
Yes.
Right? It's like put give my creatures +1/+0, an extra 3 points of damage. Ichikawa has seen enough, and we are going to game 2.
3턴 뿌 4턴 어택 1점 남았어요.
And Teamer Rhinos, similar to Living End, has that similar very good game one, and it gets a lot worse. We see another 2 Chalice of the Voids gets collateral damage against Living End and Rhinos as another card to bring in. Not a lot of other cards that are being brought in from the 4-color side. There's 2 Dovin's Vetoes, which are very nice at fighting through counter spells to deal with the Rhinos.
패치가 없어.
But outside of that,
이런 개손해를.
Endurance isn't doing anything.
Endurance doesn't do anything. Those will be taken out. Yuki Ichikawa's plan is to actually just answer these Rhinos on a 1-for-1 basis with Prismatic Ending, Solitude, bounce with Teferi, and play, you know, one of our new cards, the One Ring, to gain some protection and card advantage.
We haven't seen the One Ring just yet in Modern, but I'm sure we will. It is going to be a big talking point this weekend. This card has been absolutely bonkers so far. So I'm sure we're going to get it. We're going to see it get some work done. But I want to talk about Chalice of the Void, right?
Yes.
Chalice of the Void already we've seen in both the matches that we've watched. Really important card. But there's a point I want to make about 4-color Omnath.
Yes.
Chalice of the Void in many decks is brought in. You play it for 0, right? And it turns off Living Ends, Rhinos, whatever. One of the best things about this 4-color Omnath deck is they can play it for 1. They can pay Chalice of the Void. They can put 2 mana into it, 1 counter on it, and they just take out the halflings or like leave them in, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't hamper the deck. Against, is it Murktide? Against even Rakdos, right? Turns off their 1-drops. this is a really, really important angle of attack, and something that really draws me to this Omnath deck as, I mean, it's already so powerful.
캐스케이드 되게 센가 보다, 돼.
Interactive avenue for this deck to take with chance.
Totally agree.
지금 핸드 보니까 핸드가 괜찮다.
Other kind of fringe deck like Death
하긴 3만화에 888 샌드 까는 덱인데 약할 리가
quite
없잖아.
a bit. And I mean, with this deck, you can get so much mana available that at times, when you've already established a battlefield, you can Chalice of the Void for like 4 against Yawgmoth to shut down Yawgmoth itself. So
일단 기분 안 좋으니까 올려.
In 4-color Omnath specifically. Most of the other decks can't generate that kind of mana.
이거 효과음 내고 싶다. 쭈르릉 하는 그 소리 알죠?
You put me onto it when we were preparing for the event. You sent me that.
개박치는 소리.
So sick, and I was playing.
아레나 부금 넣어주고 싶다.
So powerful.
Yes.
It's one of those decks.
당할 때마다 개박치는 그 소리
really
있는데.
exciting every time you get to your draw step because you know you're going to draw something good.
Exactly.
There's just no bad cards.
나만 빡치는 거 아니죠?
It's very much the control deck of the format, which feels kind of strange. You know, normally there's some kind of blue-white control deck, Esper control,
counter spell sweepers,
counter spells, supreme verdicts. Just not really how the texture of Modern is right now. So this ends up being the go-to deck for all those control lovers. Celestial Colonnade enjoyers, if you will.
Yeah, man. You were getting stuck in. I was talking about Celestial Colonnade, my one true love, yesterday, and oh my goodness, Corey would not. As if you're any less of a modern boomer than I am.
Well,
get out of town.
I mean, that's extra boomer status right there,
okay.
you know.
All right. Well, look, it's all Zoomers, no boomers today as we see crashing footfalls come down again. Brazen Borrower removed the Ren from the battlefield, bouncing it to the hand. And now we've just got an easy peasy cascade here.
Yeah, and no play there on turn 3 from Ichikawa. Not ideal by any means. Fetching the land, we could have an Omnath available here as a blocker. Not ideal. Omnath you really want to cast when you can then play a fetch land. Yeah. Because even in matchups like this, where you're not necessarily needing the mana, if you just need to buy time, you can go fetch land, gain 4, say go, crack, put a land into play, gain 4. You know, and that stabilizes against the Rhinos straight away.
Well, let's get into it here because we're seeing Ichikawa think about what he's actually going to cast. I suspect it'll be an Omnath, but there are actually a number of lines you can take with Omnath that are really important for people to know, right?
Yeah.
Omnath is... Oh, it's Teferi instead. Okay.
There's the Force again.
Oh, dude. Oh, my goodness. Forget it. Holy moly. You just cannot get a Teferi on the battlefield for love nor money.
Yeah.
So instead, Fury evoked with that Ren and 6 that was bounced. That's going to remove one of the Rhinos here, but Ichikawa would have been hoping to get rid of both of them.
Yeah, and these decks in the past have kind of run that ephemerate trick where you can really kind of go crazy with these cards, but no longer in the deck, not really needed. They do play more like a control deck.
It's got another violent outburst here. This
is that good?
Yeah, it's pretty good, Corey. I'd say, in my expert opinion, I'd say it's pretty good. Another crashing footfalls, 2 more Rhinos come down. So Chen well and truly in the driver's seat here. It's up to Ichikawa to try to find his way back into this game now.
Yep.
In for 5. And look at the pace that Chen's playing. I love the confidence. I love the confidence that this guy is sitting there with. He obviously knows his deck in and out.
Absolutely, and there we go. That is one card that can protect in this scenario. Here are the really popular play patterns with this deck.
All right, hit it.
First, play the One Ring, gain protection, draw a card.
Yep.
Untap, draw 2, and be like, okay, now look at your hand. Do I have the ability to then maintain the battlefield? If you do, great. The game continues. If not, you're in trouble. So you do have 4 draws to be able to find something like, you know, Omnath into Solitude, for instance. That would be pretty strong at maintaining the battlefield. But one thing about the One Ring in a 4-color Omnath, you really need to gain life to prevent it from, you know, killing you. Teferi can bounce it, which helps a lot. But for the most part, you know, you need to keep the ring around for quite a while until you gain a lot of card advantage.
And this is what I wanted to talk about as we see.
방지 못하게 해가지고 죽여버리려고 그러는 건가?
By the look of things. Yeah. One of the really important things about Omnath in this list is that it is a repeatable, mannerless way to gain a ton of life. And there are a bunch of different ways that different decks approach to dealing with the burden counters on the ring.
Yep.
But a lot of the time, the Omnath deck can just outrace it.
Yes, it absolutely can. It 100% can.
Gaining 8 life a turn cycle with the play pattern that you talked about before.
아 근데 봄크러셔를 상대 페이스에 못 쓰고 내 거에 써야 되니까 부담스러워서 그런가?
I suppose it's weird to talk about racing your own cards, but that's one of the things that Omnath can do with the One Ring.
Yep, 100%. And
내 대가리 막 이런 데 써야 되잖아요.
Nice thing with this 4-color Omnath deck is you draw these free spells.
Yeah, the pitch
so you can just have some turns where you cast 3-4 spells off 4 mana.
The final point I want to make about Omnath and its triggered abilities with Landfall is the fact that you play the fetch land, you crack it on your turn, generate 4 mana. What costs 4 mana, Corey?
The One Ring.
The One Ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can go from a position where you're pretty behind on board into Omnath, fetch land, play the One Ring, and all of a sudden you're back in it. Now we're seeing the cards played in the opposite sequence this time, the One Ring into Omnath, but Ichikawa back in this game.
I think Ichikawa is actually going to
뭐 기본적으로 이 덱 하나만 그냥 해서 캐스팅 비슷대로 쓰는 건 아니니까 바인딩 맞는 거야 뭐 그렇다 치고
So there was an
다른 보편적인 덱들한테는 케미가 더 좋아서 그런 거 아닐까요?
So this Omnath was taxed a little bit, so Yuki Ichikawa had to sack a land to put Omnath into play. So now there is a Brazen Borrower in hand, so you can petty theft this Omnath in response to the fetch.
절대 반지 쓰는 덱들이 많으니까.
And the only thing I saw in hand for Yuki Ichikawa was Ren, Delighted Halfling, Dovin's Veto, and as long as
올리고 블러드문.
this correctly, it's easy because you get to attack. Omnath blocks. Now Ichikawa is going to sack, bounce,
in response to that, and it's got trample, and that is that. Holy moly, that was some incredible sequencing from Chen. And one thing again, I want to attention to his confidence.
나는 지금 6시처럼 플레이하는 이런 사람들이 좋아요. 헛동작 없이 그냥 깔끔하게 하는 게. 그냥 어디서 동네 토너에서 막 연습하고 온 애들 쿠세 만들어가지고 게임하는데 시간만 오래 끌고 지금 6시에서 게임 안에 있죠. 제가 쿠세는 별로 없이 깔끔하게 플레이하는 거예요. 그런 게 마음에 들어.
They really crush you, or sometimes they get really crushed and it doesn't look like they're playing Magic.
I want to defend my position.
언택 페이지, 정렬 페이지 이런 애들 있거든요. 보면 죽을 것 같아.
I make myself look like an idiot, so it's only fair that someone else gets a chance to.
Yes, of course.
But I think Ichikawa in that situation is like, right, breathe out. I'm okay. Got the Omnath, got a life gain trigger. I think I'm going to be okay here.
Yeah.
But no, because of that ice that you mentioned, because of the fact that he's sitting on this petty theft. Masterful stuff from Chen. I hope we get to see more of him playing.
Yeah, the ice was actually kind of the nail in the coffin there because even if Yuki Ichikawa just went fetch land down
아니
6, block,
얘들 여기 와가지고 그거 그림 맞추게 하고 있다니까요.
8, and then the ring would have still
색상 맞추고 뭐 맞추고 이러고 있다니까. 빨리 게임에도 시원찮은데.
We're going to be able to move on now. We can move on
그런
to
친구들은
our
마음에
next
들지
feature
않아요.
match. We've got a third one coming your way here. Simon Nielsen, the man with a big old smile. You're going to see this bloke having a bad day against Bart van Etten. These are two European superstars. They've been around for a long, long, long time, as you can see.
Yep.
And we're going to get stuck into Dimir Control versus Mono Green Tron.
And 2 more new decks. We've had 3 matches, 6 different decks. This is what Modern's all about. And this
깝죽이 현실에서는 그 깝죽거리지 못하겠죠?
all about because Team Handshake, arguably the best team right now, especially with looking at Pro Tour March of the Machine, going 1, 2, 3, 4 in the last Pro Tour.
트론 vs 반지 쉬울 덱?
A lot of them.
Now, this is not your granddaddy's Tron deck anymore, dude. Khan Liberated?
Yeah.
Khan who?
That's a 1-up.
It's Khan the Great Creator now.
Exactly.
It's all about the 4-drop Khan. Khan Liberated has been a mainstay of Tron for about 10 million years.
Yeah.
But now it's all about that Khan Wishboard, dude.
Yeah, and here's a new addition to the deck that we haven't seen a lot, Urza's Saga.
For sure.
Something we don't see very much at all. I mean, here's another new card.
뭔가 새로 보이는 카드들을 많이 쓰는군.
Really cool stuff here. I talked with Javier yesterday, and a lot of the numbers look really strange. There's 3 Sylvan Scrying, for instance.
Yeah.
I was kind of asking, like, oh, did you
근데 뭐
enough Sylvan Scrying?
컨트롤 덱이니까 트론한테 할 만한가?
That's a card you would just
저거 랜드로 뽑는 그거한테
맞고
주나?
But what he was saying is
탈리스만이에요?
Tron, the one
탈리스만이네? 탈리스만을 쓰네?
everything we've known about it and start looking at the deck in a different
아,
way.
원래 썼다.
Came up with a really unique deck.
원래
And of course,
쓰긴 썼었다.
the core, 4 of each is a land, and
근데
mono
모노블러 트론이나 이런 게 썼었는데
It's kind of the same as Living End, right? Like Living End is enacting the same game plan, cascade into Living End, put a bunch of creatures into play, but the way that they do that has changed. I think it's fair to say that Tron is trying to do the same thing on one axis, right? It's trying to get 3 lands into play that tap for 7 mana.
Yeah.
But what it does with that mana is now very different. Cedric was making the point to us earlier today that it's an 8 mana deck now. It's not a 7 mana deck.
내가 안 써본 카드들이 너무 많아.
And then something out of the board.
나 이것도 한 번도 안 써본.
Level or whatever it's trying to do. It's not
아레나 나오고 나서부터는 안 했기 때문에 내가 위력을 잘 모르는 카드들이 많은 것 같아요.
Conceptually, right? It's in the same cinematic universe, but it's a very, very different style of Tron.
Yeah, Javier said a sentence to me that, like, you know, just blew me back so much. He's like, Tron is a control deck now. I was like, excuse me, sir?
Pardon me, what? On the other side of things, speaking of control decks, let's talk about this Dimir control list. This is a list that's kind of come out of left field recently.
Yep.
A deck that I think we can diplomatically say has been met with some mixed opinions.
Yes.
There are some people who think it is the next big thing. There are some people that think it is something that's been fished out of a garbage can. I am waiting to see what happens. I think it's got a lot of potential, but I want to see what these pros have got up their sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely. And it plays so many new cards from the most recent set.
부마스터요? 부마스터? 악기예요? 부마스터?
Masters, Sauron's Ransom, and the One Ring. I mean, that is a lot of cards in a modern format.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see that often. You see maybe one of these options. So it's really hard to tell how good this deck is because it's very, very new, like you were saying.
All right, let's get into what's been going on here. We're going to Thoughtseize to reveal Nielsen's hand, and we can have a look at
돌 하나랑 견제하는 거랑 절대 반지랑
ring, O-Stone as well.
카른이랑
Khan Liberated, gone but not forgotten. Here he is. And Haywire Might. Let's talk about this card, Corey.
쉽지 않구만.
Saying that Karn Liberated now is the one of fun of here? I mean,
it seems like it, right? But yeah. Talk to us about Haywire Might, because that's actually a really important card in this format.
Haywire Might not only is a very important card in the format, as far as the Team Handshake players, it's the most important card in their sideboard, which their sideboard is full of one-ofs, except 1/2 which is a Haywire Might, so you can actually bring one of them in as an Urza Saga target. You know, when you draw it, I guess that's a little bit different here, but yeah, incredible at dealing with a lot of different hate cards. It deals with the One Ring for opposing players.
Yep.
And so does Karn the Great Creator. So this is not only the best The One Ring deck, but it is the best anti-The One Ring deck, and The One Ring is the most played card at 450 copies.
So Bart Thoughtseize is away the Haywire Might. The reason the Haywire Might is so important, of course, is because it exiles an artifact or enchantment.
Yep.
The One Ring being indestructible, it is not
모할못인 나로서는 왜 저걸 뺐는지 모르겠어요.
Goes up to 3, and now Nielsen will have to decide what
모할못일 나에게는
construct, as we often call them. These
전혀 모르겠어.
have their power and toughness equal
반지
to artifacts you have.
얘 이짤이에요. 추방이에요. 추방?
이 새끼 추방이야? Which is very helpful in this deck. You know, let's say we just peel off Urza's Mind here, which is going to complete the trifecta here of Urza lands. Then of course you're like, yeah, I don't really mind doing an Urza Saga here, but if you don't draw a land, now Simon has to make a real decision here whether or not you want to use that Urza Saga mana to sack the map and accomplish Tron, which it looks like Simon's going for, or make another creature. I like this choice as the Dimir control deck has a lot of creature removal. Whether or not it's all left in from Bart, that's a different story.
So yeah, cracks the expedition map, the one that was just freshly cast. I'm just thinking, I don't think I've ever seen a talisman of anything cast in a non-commander game of Magic before.
Yeah, not really.
Like I presume this game was legal in standard.
얘 아레나 있는 건 아는데 많이 안 써가지고 추방인지 몰랐어요.
I've actually never seen a mana rock like this.
저얘 심지어 내가 쓴.
Game of competitive constructed Magic, right? It's always.
나 모노그린 할 때 얘 쓴. 근데 몰랐음. 그럴 수도 있죠.
Yeah, not exactly a staple here, and it is a one-of as well, so they really finessed the numbers on this one.
It's highly scientific, highly scientific. Right, so
뭐야, 무던의 카운터 스펠.
Put on the stack, but unfortunately for Simon, it is sent straight to the bin with a counter spell, and instead
반지 잡는 용도로 추방하는 게 많이 없어서 그런가?
We'll get an O-Stone out instead to satisfy his mana requirements for this turn.
Boost the power of the construct, and I gotta say, my favorite counterspell art as well. Beautiful. Look at that.
So, yeah, you really are a boomer.
Oh, I love it. It's gorgeous.
I like the Jace versus Chandra dual decks one. The one where Jace is kind of like sweeping his arm out through the fire.
그럴 수도 있겠네요. 다 어차피 다 반지는 쓰니까. 반지를 부실 수 있는데 확실하게 부실 수 있는 거.
Who's playing this new Dimir control list? A list that if you are a control enjoyer, I very much recommend you get your eyes on because it's got some spice, dude. It's got some real spice in there. Sheldred, Murktide region at the top, but then just a
근데 궁수랑 반지랑 그 시온을 넣으면 다 대기 다 이거 넣고 시작한다면서요.
Simon had quite the year and did very well at Pro Tour March of the Machine, making it
공식이라며.
Bart also had
시온을 넣고 반지 넣고 오크 궁수 넣으면 대완성.
For this event as well. Also, the 2022 Mox Season 3 winner. All right, so now we're gonna see if there is another counter spell. It looks like we have Subtlety and Murktide to be able to pitch if there is that Karn liberated that ends up getting cast. You know, that is.
근데 디미르콘 그렇게 많이 나온 것 같진 않거든요.
But that is a 2-for-1 here from Bart, so not ideal by any means.
그래도 아직까지 캐스케이드나 이런 게 밸류에서 그렇게 크게 밀리지는 않나 본데요. 디미르콘이 그렇게 많이 나오진 않아가지고.
And here's the really tough part about this matchup here with Dimir Control against Tron is Tron is just going to be playing a haymaker every single
아니면 아직까지 연구가 덜 돼서 그런 걸 수도 있어요. 프로투어라고 다 엄청나게 연습해서 오는 건 아니라서.
And it looks like Bart has one more piece of interaction. And outside of that, just a couple of one rings, which will come in handy. But Simon also has Ulamog as a follow-up. Well, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, one short right now. Can go for Karn. It's probably going to get Subtlety, which isn't even a good answer.
저 매직 안 접어요. 저 선언했는데. 매직 스탠 새로 나오면 그때 한다고. 그때까지 놀 거라고. 이사도 해야 되고. 매직 저 안 접어요. 저 지금 매직 몇 년 했어. 20 몇 년 했는데 쉬는 건 있어도 접는 건 없죠. 접지 않아요. 걱정하지 마세요. 저 이사 가면 트위치에서 매직 방송할 거예요. 다시 할게요. 저도 음악 들으면서 방송하고 싶어서 트위치로 다시 갈 거예요.
The breathing room that it needs, right? Otherwise,
네, 이사가 우선이라 이사 할 때까지는 방송을 조금 띄엄띄엄 하면서 이사 준비하고 이사는 14일 날이에요. 14일 날.
Chill out here and just kind of take stock, draw 3 cards, and figure out my next move. And
14일 날 이사하고 한 20일 전에
No, not really. Just playing
그때부터는 꾸준히 할게요.
방송 꾸준히. Kind of the automatic get out of ring, get out of jail free card, if you will.
이제 그때쯤 되면 매직도 다시 열심히 해야지. 성역 그만 지키고 이제 플레인즈 워커 돼야죠.
Go 1-for-1 removal, play a Teferi hero of Dominaria, and expect that to win the game anymore. Modern has just become a little bit too powerful for those type of strategies.
서로 이렇게 반지 깔면 10월 깐 사람이 이기는 거 아니에요? 10월이 있는 사람이 이기는 거 아니야? 반지와 10월이 최고의 궁합이잖아요.
One Ring, it's a card that we're going to see a lot of this weekend. Corey mentioned before, over 450 copies, the most played card in the format at the moment. All very fitting, such a powerful artifact coming and joining us from Middle-earth and making such a huge impact on the modern format.
Yeah.
So Nielsen now with a hand full. Oh, sorry, excuse me. That's I thought he just drew 5 cards. I was like, I'm sure he didn't have that.
카론도 입자일 아닌가?
But no, that was an Ancient Stirrings.
But I mean, this hand is stocked from Simon Nielsen.
카론도 입자시키잖아.
Just going to be Ulamog. Deal with that.
Oh boy, that is out.
그냥 1초 접는데 1초 만에 접는데. 울라목 나온다고 선을 하자마자 그냥. 노루각수. 방금 12시 봤어요? 노루각수. 뭐 깔았는지 안 보고 10만원 딱 탭하자마자 노루각수 바로. 바로 노루각수네. 존나 웃기네.
Modern match to show you here. We're going to
아니 카드를 확인하고 이렇게 접는 게 아니고 나왔다.
As well, we got all the European superstars coming.
명예 한국인 나왔어요.
It's fantastic to see them all. Nico Boney being around.
이 친구 한국에 거주한다면서요.
And someone who will be very, very familiar to people who've been following the European circuit over the last couple of years.
Yep, and a rematch to the Chen Ichikawa
matchup.
Pretty much similar. You can't change these decks too much. There is the white in this Rhino's deck, so you're playing Leyline Binding, and you are playing more than likely Ardent Plea. As a little bit of difference, those aren't necessarily even going to help in this 4-color matchup, as Leyline Binding
지금 위기예요, 위기.
So Nico Boney qualified via the last PT. That's why he's back here again, having another crack at it. Alex von Stanger, on the other hand, won an RCQ over in the States.
Okay.
Made the trip across the Atlantic, and I'm sure he's glad to be here in sunny Barcelona.
All right.
It is wonderful to be here in Spain, enjoying the hot
weather.
Corey has been absolutely loving it.
I love the extreme heat.
You've just been really getting into it.
I'm just so used to it, being born in North Dakota.
Yep.
We're known for our heat there.
Yeah. Fargo, North Dakota, one of the hottest. It's right up the north, right?
Yes.
Really, really hot region of the United States.
Super hot. Yeah.
So he's come over here and he's loving it.
근데 이 친구 진짜 하얗다.
In all seriousness, having the Pro Tour.
그죠? 되게 손이 되게 하얀데?
Outside of the United States, it's been a joy for me personally, someone who was on the European competitive circuit years ago as a commentator. Back at it, man.
Back at it. One of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen in my life.
Well, as someone from Fargo, North Dakota, imagine my surprise.
Second best city, Barcelona. Fargo, North Dakota. Absolutely awesome. Yeah. No, this is an incredible city. I absolutely love being here. For the second time. Last time.
저 하플링이 전설 반지 카운터 안 당해 줘서 쓴다면서요?
At ProTour, the Lord of the Rings, and it's great to have you along as we get stuck into this next match here.
아니, 네. 그 중에서도 하얗다는 거죠.
Four-color rhinos. We've already seen four-color Omnath opening up.
그 중에서도 하얗다. 더 하얘 보인다.
I want you to talk to us now about the rhinos.
아.
Talked about the fact that some of these lists
뭐 어쨌건 나왔을 때 이득보는 레전더리가 많이 있구나. 나는 반지만 생각했어요. 근데 아니구나. 많구나. 개꿀 맞네. 그렇게 보니까 개꿀 보기 싫은데?
And this enchantment, it does have exalted and do.
아 그렇네. 뼈파괴자 쓰네. 아까 말한 것처럼. 그렇네 진짜.
Which is two creatures. But it can come up in some corner case scenarios where you only want to attack with one or one dies. But the main point of it, it is just the 9th and 10th cascade card to be able to affect the battlefield here.
Stomp is going to take care of the Delighted Halfling.
Yep, and here is Teferi, the most important card in this matchup, and one of the most important planeswalkers, if not the most important planeswalker.
이거 무덤으로 가.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Yeah, dealing with these.
네 무덤 여기 있잖아 이 새끼야. 아 지성력.
You know, if you just tick up with these
이거 입자일이고 얘도 입자일이고 모험준이고 여기 무덤이요. 했다고 혼났어. 무덤 2개 만들어서 혼났어.
To be able to finish it off, it's just undeal-withable. I mean, now the leyline bindings are there to clear the way, so that is a bit of an advantage here with this version.
I think Alex is still thinking about where this Teferi is going. Upstairs, downstairs, ends up being downstairs here, and back now to Nico, who I don't think has a third land.
Okay.
Oh, no, he does. He does.
Oh!
And now we're going to see Crashing Footfalls, thanks to this Shardless Agent. 3 mana, 10 power. Easy peasy. There it is.
Oh!
And it looks like I saw the one of Hollowed Moonlight in the sideboard going to be a little brutal because, well, Alex had the decision to
진짜 말도 안 된다.
for Teferi. Subtlety doesn't do
아니 3만원 10바씩 이거 맞아 이거?
does do something to
3만원 10바씩 맞아?
You can fault that play, man.
I can't either.
You've got the
카운터를 쳐도 2바이는 남아. 이거 맞아?
The Rhinos deck so comprehensively that if it hits the battlefield, you're in such a good spot. So unfortunate for Alex to have taken that that angle of attack against.
아니 테펠이 삑나는 순간 그냥 끝이네.
You can't win them all. We're going to see a prismatic ending here.
Yep.
Take care of one of the Rhinos.
And that's a lot of the corner cases in Modern is most of the time there's 2 cards they could have. They could have Force and Negation, they could have Subtlety, and you just kind of have to guess. You can have some educated guess like, oh, there's already one Subtlety in the graveyard.
와, 교환값이 안 나온다.
You know, those type of things, but in the end of the day
진짜 약간 그거다. 그 포컬러 라이노가
Your gut? Yeah.
야, 뭐라고 해야 돼? 이게 표현이 맞는지 모르는데 델버 같다 약간. 아, 델버 같다는 표현 좀 이상하긴 한데. 근데 약간 파워나 이런 건 좀 그런 느낌인데. 던져놓고 방해하면서 몇 클락 때려서 이기는.
This is a mana hungry deck. This Omnath deck, like it needs its mana.
델버는 표현이 좀 틀린 것 같고.
Tap something down, all of a sudden you might.
여튼 깔아놓고 퍽퍽퍽 하면은 그냥 쉽게 이기는 그런 느낌이 있네.
Yeah, and here we go. We see another ice. Fire used to be a lot better when Regavan was a bit of a bigger player, but that card definitely lost a lot of stock, even though it's one of, if not the most powerful one-drop maybe ever printed. But with Orcish Bowmaster and Ren, like you were making a point to earlier, that card amount has declined.
So there we see the upkeep ice tapping down the Triome. And back over to Nico Boney now, who is just going to get in for another 6. It's up to Alex to do something, right? Like, Nico can just sit here and be like, I got 6 power, man. You have to deal with this. Otherwise, you're going to
Exactly. And we do see 2 Leylines bindings, Delighted Halfling, Omnath,
근데 캐스케이드 2장 더 있어.
in the hand there for Alex. So,
캐누다.
interesting to not fire off any Leyline binding, but really was hoping to get value out of that Hollowed Moonlight.
Boney G from the Exile Zone now, from the Adventure Zone, comes in. And here now is Leyline Binding.
And here's another scenario where you can look, be like, wow, you should have did that earlier because, you know, they didn't cast the Cascade thing. Well, Nico had it. Nico had the Cascade, so if Alex
이점 안 때려요?
before
네, 안
damage,
때려요.
all of a sudden you're dealing with 10 power here instead of, or excuse me, only 8 because it's a Violent Outburst instead of a Shardless Agent. But still, you know, Nico had both options and played around whichever scenario Alex went for.
Yep.
Play at the highest level here.
And we had another look. Alex there had a quick read of Bone Crusher Giant to make sure that he wasn't going to take 2 from it when he cast his Leyline Binding. It doesn't. Bone Crusher Giant only triggers when it's the target of a spell, not an ability.
Yep.
Cascade
And,
가자!
interesting here, Alex did have the ability to play Omnath, right? White, red, green, blue? Yep.
Zagoth Triumph can make blue.
Had the option, but didn't want to fumble into a possible subtlety, which Nico has. You know, I love these little intricate lines and magic at the highest level for Modern.
Well, this also allows him to leave Hallowed Moonlight up. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
So you're playing around 2 things here. You're playing around your opponent having something to deal with your Omnath, which he did.
Yeah.
And you're also playing around your opponent just untapping and slamming another Cascade spell onto the battlefield. Oh, boy! Oh, baby!
That was a huge draw because as it
전에!
stands...
But check this out. Check this out. In response, right, we cast the
다 나오고.
Outburst. That's an
now we have
instant.
the Hallowed Moonlight.
But the hell is the Hallowed Moonlight in hand for Alex?
Look at that.
존나 잘해.
The crashing footfalls off the top. Hallowed Moonlight cycles, gets rid of these rhinos as well.
But as it stands, it looks like there's going to have to be a chump block next turn with the Delighted Halfling because you can just cast Violent Outburst, not worry about the Cascade, get in there for 3 points of damage.
Just use it as the world's worst combat trick.
Yes.
But this is an
Oh.
incredible turnaround here for Alex.
근데 위기야.
In this game. Chalice on 0, Hallowed Moonlight to prevent the rhinos.
So here it's going to be the very interesting scenario if Alex has the Soul Read to 1, not attack with this Delighted Halfling, and 2,
달빛으로 막아서 그래도
if not, Nico is going to pick this up 2-0, and it's
손에
not
심지어 한
very
장이
heads up
저거거든요?
by any means
요거야,
that
한
you
장이.
should block this.
하나
Are
캐스케이드고.
we going to see
근데
Violent Outburst?
이거 어택이요 맞을게요.
Plus
펌핑
one,
암
plus
죽음.
combat trick on a single creature for lethal.
Okay, so had the land, drew the land off Hallowed Moonlight to play Omnath, and subtlety to finish it off.
And that's it. So we now have the sharp.
얘들아 이제 우리도 오프라인에서 이기면 주먹으로 때리자.
That was an incredible match. Incredible game.
존나 멋있는데?
To close out that match.
That was really incredible.
힙합식 인사?
At each stage of the game, there was like 6 different lines. that
수고했습니다 하면서 주먹질하자 우리 서로.
So you look at the end of the
아,
game.
나도
you're
저거
like,
해야겠다.
I really should have done that. I really should have done that. But
이제 제이스님 나 오프라인 만나가지고 나랑 게임하면 내가 지지할 때 주먹질할 거야.
Really showcases how many
조심해요.
decisions you have in an average modern.
Well, it's what you said before, right? You can try to play around one thing, you get blown out by the other. You try to play around this thing, and they've got another answer, another line. Modern's a very intricate format.
저거
It's
해야겠다
a
나도.
decision-heavy format. It's a skill testing format, and we've only just begun coverage of it for the weekend. We are so pleased you've chosen to join us here in Barcelona. We cannot wait to bring you more of Modern from Spain. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back very shortly from Pro Tour, The Lord of the Rings. Stay with us.
와 근데 모르는 사람들이 진짜 많이 늘었다. 모르는 사람들이 진짜 많이 늘었어. 옛날에 이거 보면은 다 알았거든요. 얘 누구 얘 누구 얘 누구 이런 거. 근데 지금은 진짜 모르는 사람들이 많이 는 것 같아요. 뉴페이스들이 많아. 근데 뉴페이스라서 딱 보잖아요. 경력 15년 뉴페이스 중고신인. 아니에요. 이런 얘도 유명하고 얘도 요즘에 좀 열심히 잘하고 있고 얘도 유명하고 유명한 애들 있긴 해요. 얘도 유명하고 올리버 루엘 나왔어? 아니 올리버 루엘 매직해요? 얘도 옛날에 열심히 하다가 안 보였는데 또 하나 보네. 모스카토. 카이 부대? 아니 무슨 노인정이야 이거. 노인정이야. 이거 무슨 냄새야 이거. 진짜 매직이 이거 이쁘다. 뭐야 이거? 님들 이거 뭐야? 나 이거 사고 싶다. 이거 뭐지? 이쁘다 저거.
Barcelona featuring ProTour Lord of the Rings, a 75K limited open, and so much more is this weekend.
There's also a
아니
DJ'd by
블랙 심벌 반짝반짝 빛나는 거요. 무슨 노미나리아 이거.
In other news, Commander Masters releases August 4th, and WPN stores are celebrating with draft launch parties.
저 기모를 사고 싶다고 이거 이쁘다. 빛나는 거. 아니 그걸 물어보는 게 아니고 이 제품을 물어보는 거라고. 제품. 니마 저 일러스트 말고 저 제품. 빛나오는 제품.
Vegas badges are already starting to sell out, so get yours now.
MC Vegas features the World Championship, a 100K limited open, and the grand finals of the cosplay contest.
And that runs September 22nd through the 24th.
Finally, mark your calendar for the Wilds of Eldraine pre-release happening the last weekend of September.
Did you just say pre-release?
Yeah.
I gotta go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to coverage of Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings from Barcelona, Spain. Nearly 270 players doing battle in draft and modern for their share of a $500,000 prize pool, and of course, the title of champion. Let's take a look at our headlines here. After 4 rounds of play, Modern is well and truly underway with draft under our belts after this morning. Rakdos Evoke is the most played deck in the field with just under 20% of the share. World Championship seats await. By the time the dust has settled at the end of this tournament, the top 32 players not already qualified will head to the World Championship this fall, which is extremely exciting. Living End, the card that we're going to talk about this time as well, Monty, looks great.
요 일러가 옛날 그 매직 프레임 있잖아. 요거 약간 촌스럽다고 보일 수도 있는데 나는 이게 되게 정감이 있어.
Absolutely awesome, especially against the.
나는 카드 디자인이 그때 있죠. 아이스 에이지. 이때 것도 좀 이쁜 것 같고.
I looked over at
뭐랄까 약간 앤틱한 느낌 나는 것들 있죠. 안티 퀄리티나 이때 블록게 좀 이쁜 것 같아.
Let's take a look at the leaderboard in just a second. Hey everybody.
약간 매직은 원래 일러스트가 약간 촌스러워야 돼요. 요즘 너무 세련됐어.
We'll show you the leaderboard in a minute, but first we've got Will with some.
약간 앤틱한 그 느낌이 안 나와 요즘에. 카드들이.
I'm wrong. Standings, here they are. Don't listen to me. Here we go. We've got our undefeated players, all of them, with the exception of one draw player on our next slide. Monty, what stands out to you here?
Yeah, Maria, down to 16 4-0s and some fan favorites still here with Christian Calcon.
약간 골동품 같은 느낌이 딱 진짜 나야지. 매직에 딱 느낌이 산다고요. 요즘 카드들은 일러가 너무 세련됐어.
Two players from Team Handshake here on the slide with Zachary.
나만의 작은 매직일 때요.
And pretty
그때 느낌이 나야 된다고.
start for these guys though. We still have 4 more rounds of Modern to go, so anything can happen still.
All right, there you look at all of our undefeated players here in the field. Like I mentioned, Will, you've been talking to the players out on the floor. What have you reversed this time? A player at their first Pro Tour doing pretty well out of the draft portion.
Yes, the one and only Jake Beardsley. And his first Pro Tour. I gave him an interview yesterday, but today is his birthday. So the first time he gets to play Pro Tour Magic is on his birthday. He managed to start off the day with a nice clean crisp 3-0 as well. Magic opens up an Orcish Bowmaster and a Doors of Durin. Cards you definitely want to see when you're in your first draft in your Pro Tour.
이 친구 이기는 거 존나 힘들게 이기고 지는 거 존나 쉽게 지.
Memory from that man.
Absolutely, and happy birthday to
사실상 6승 5패.
Pro Tour, your first Pro Tour. Well, it's deck tech time, everybody. It's time for the first deck tech of the tournament. We've got Rakdos Evoke with David Inglis, who's just been crushing these tournaments. Let's hear from him right now. Hey everybody, I'm here with Team Handshake captain David Inglis running Rakdos Evoke this weekend. Why did you choose this deck?
Yeah, with a format as wide open as modern, you know, there's so many.
이 친구 너무 그거다 말랐다. 이렇게 보니까는 진짜 말랐다.
Gets onto the board early, disrupts your opponents, and can just handle any deck.
그냥 화면에서 맨날 얼굴로 볼 때는 몰랐는데
Let's talk about one of the hallmark cards of this deck.
약간 진짜 비실비실해 보인다.
What does this deck? What does this card do in this deck?
Right, Grief is, you know, exactly what I just described. Is no matter what cards you're playing.
화면에서 볼 때는 저렇게 말라 보이긴 했는데 저렇게 마른지 몰랐어요.
Flexible, versatile, proactive answer. You can cheat it into play on turn 1. You can hardcast it later in the game. So it's
이 덱 역하다. 님들아 뭐야 이거? 역한 덱 뭐야 이거?
This card also seems mean, if I may say so myself. It seems a little rude, but also really powerful as you mentioned. But it has a cool combo in this deck with cards like Undying Malice. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Undying Malice is a weird one in this deck. You know, most modern decks are playing the most powerful cards from the last 20 years, and this is just like a
그래서 이름이 스캠이야?
you know, draft, you know, filler card you might play in your draft deck. But it just so happens it synergizes very well with the evoke cards. Also works well with Doughty Voidwalker.
제 역하다 덱.
Your Ragavans, you know, what's better than a Ragavan that they can't kill. So it just ends up playing out really well in the deck.
So what's the busted turn 1 you can have with this deck?
Yeah, you can play, you know, turn 1 Grief, evoke it, take their card, Undying Malice the Grief, take another card.
아니 근데 진짜 1, 2마나 무료로 쓰는 거 거기다 이걸로 언다잉으로 다시 나오는 거 아니야 이걸로 언다잉으로.
From the Lord of the Rings, Orcish Bowmasters is in this deck and it is taking over modern. What is its role?
와.
Yeah, this card is just super.
아니 내가 지금 놀란 게 뭔지 아세요? 가장 놀란 거? 내가 가장 놀란 게 아니 슈발 라볼도 2장밖에 안 써. 아니 쓸 게 얼마나 많으면 라볼도 4장을 안 쓰네 이제. 어떻게 된 거지?
It's just really versatile, great against everyone.
Yeah, this card seems awesome. Another one I want to talk about is Doughty Voidwalker from Modern Horizons 2.
아니 라볼을 2개밖에 안 쓴다는 게 너무 충격적인데?
Really that plays this card. Why are you running it?
Yeah, this is a unique one. It just so happens it synergizes very well with the deck. When you're playing Grief and Thoughtseize, you're taking cards from your opponent's hand. So if you have the Voidwalker in play, those cards get exiled, and you can steal them.
스캠 물어본 거야, 스캠?
You know, Ulamog, Emrakul, some of the most powerful cards in the format. It plays very well with Undying Malice. You cast
스캡은 그거요. 야 스캡을 물어본 거야. 스캡은 풍경 변화.
This is going to sound silly, but a 3-2 with Shadow just hits hard. You know, knowing you block it, it's really hard to deal with. I've won so many games by just turning my Voidwalker sideways 5 times and getting them dead.
How confident do you feel with your choice this deck this weekend?
그러니까
really happy with this deck. You know,
스캡은 그냥 사기꾼 막 사기치는 이런 거고 스캡은 이거고.
And it's very powerful, very efficient, and not really any deck I'm scared to play against. So
okay, well that sounds good. I mentioned at the top of this interview that you're the captain of Team Handshake. You all did really well at the last Pro Tour. How are you feeling going into this weekend?
Yeah, we're stoked. A lot of us are already qualified for Worlds, and we're just trying to run up the scoreboard, get more people qualified for Worlds, and just.
덱을 어떻게 굴리는지랑 메커니즘 같은 거는 바로 보고 이해를 했는데 제가 놀란 게 뭐가 있냐. 내가 아는 1만화 때 써야 되는 필수 카드라고 생각하는 것들?
Yeah, this deck is really,
그런 것들이 좀 수량이 줄어들고 있는 게 놀랐다는 거예요. 그런 느낌? 그러니까 기존에 있었던 1만화, 2만화에 정말 좋았던 카드들에 내가 모르는 카드들, 그러니까 내가 모른다는 것은 무슨 뜻이냐, 아레나로 넘어오고 나서 오프라인을 잘 안 했으니까 거기에 나오고 있는 이 아레나에 사용 못하는 카드라고 말하는 게 맞나? 사용할 수는 있는데 많이 보편적으로 사용하고 있지 않은 카드들? 이제 그게 모던으로 갔을 때 저 정도까지 파급력이 크구나, 이걸 좀 느꼈어요. 나는 라볼이 2개밖에 안 들어가고 충격적이야. 나는 그래도 라볼 4장 쓸 줄 알았어. 근데 라볼이 들어갈 자리까지 밀 정도로 카드들이 좋다는 게 그게 놀란 거예요. 난 라볼이 안 들어가는 중도나 이런 덱에 대한 생각을 많이 안 해봤거든요. 덱 짜는 걸 좋아하는, 제가 덱 짜는 걸 좋아하잖아요. 제 입장에서는 라볼보다 밸류 좋은 카드는 정말 나오기 힘들다 이런 생각을 해요. 아직 소트는 안 밀리고 있는데 소트랑 라볼 정도는 밀리기 힘들다 이렇게 생각하거든요. 근데 그게 밀렸다는 게 충격적인 거예요.
Then we have Jiantao Mo on Boris Burn, started playing in 2000.
약간 충격적인.
Qualified at the MTG China Open in 2022. Pro Tour debut, starting out undefeated. Excellent Pro Tour start here. Says try
이게 걔가 라가바는 진짜 너무 많이 들었어요. 이 새끼 조싹이다. 이거 너무 많이 들어가지고. 라가바는 알겠는데 오크 보호마스터나 이런 거 때문에 밀린 건가?
One way and that way is control. I talked to him with the players party. I asked him what he's playing. He's like, that's blue white because that's what he usually plays. He's like, well, I added some 4-color cards and
아무튼 좀 충격인데?
this is a different take on the 4-color Omnath deck. Some of the tools are there. Ren and 6 to Fairy Time Raveler Omnath. But
근데 보니까 이 덱
instead Greg is playing
존나 내 스타일이긴 하네요. 내 스타일이긴 한데 못 짜겠어. 곧 몇 개 나갈 것 같아. 될 것 같아. 팔다리 다 잘릴 것 같아.
Kahira the Orphan Guard as his companion, as he has been known to do many times before, still trying to take advantage of the power of the One Ring here. On the other side,
그러니까 꼭 그런 것보다 그냥 진짜 보편적인 강함이라고 보는 게 맞거든요.
Very few one drops, but they are still there.
아 그래요? 반지는 놔둔다고?
Notably, both with 2 toughness don't want to
반지는 놔둬요?
by the Bowmasters or Ren and 6. Some resilient
미식이라?
to keep the pressure, and then a lot of burn spells. Riftbolt, Skewer the Critics, Lava Spike, Boros Charm, Lightning Helix, Searing Blaze, Skullcrack, Lightning Bolt, and one of the most powerful cards in this deck, Roiling Vortex. This is a huge one in this modern format where everybody
나 존나 나 고가만 보면은 현기증 나요.
The Cascade cards. This
나 모노블로 트론으로 갔다가 고가 이거 아직도 잊을 수 없어.
All right, Monty, everybody at home watching this round coming up, what's something they should look out for?
I think the big thing is just seeing if Jiantao can get a Roiling Vortex down early, and maybe that will prevent Greg from really make tempo plays like Solitude for free in order to get ahead on the board and not die to the overwhelming pressure that the burn deck can put out.
All right, there you go, everybody. Round number 5 is on the way in the hands of Cedric and Paul in the booth with the call. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Maria, from our wonderful news desk. Cedric Phillips, Paul Chian here. We're diving into Modern, Paul. The limited stuff, it's gone.
Yeah, I know you're very excited for this.
I might be happy about that. Tough to say. We're excited to talk to you here over the course of round number 5. Going to bring you as much magic as we can. We are going to kick things off with 4-color control. That is based around Omnath and those elementals that are generally free against
머리 볼 때마다 웃기네. 색깔? 밑에 초코?
Some minor changes to burn, but generally the same deck we've seen since the last time we were here, honestly, back in 2019.
It's got like 2 new cards, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it might be positioned well. It depends on how everything goes.
너무 머리카락 색깔이 너무 눈에
it's got
띄어.
a very, linear strategy. It's just looking to do one thing. Play
밑에
someone else,
초코라니까요.
get you low, finish you off with those burn spells.
검은 머리와 민트 머리 합쳐서 민트 초코 스타일이래요.
Greg making some changes to the 4-color Omnath strategy. That's why we've characterized it as control. Not playing 4 copies of Omnath, only 3, playing a little bit more counter magic, which is a very Greg Orange thing to do.
아니 근데 저 색깔을 찾아서 염색하는 게 더 힘들 것 같거든요.
There is a way to shortcut this matchup pretty cleanly, Paul.
인간한 미용실에는 없지 않을까? 저런
If you
색깔은요?
do, things are going to be okay. If you don't, it's very hard to win.
Yeah, it is the most important.
노력이 필요한데 그 노력을 해서 저 머리카락 색깔 한 거 아니에요?
And anytime you do,
또 안 놀라워요.
that basically just negates a card. Or almost a card and a half in whatever in the deck that Jiantao is trying to play. Now, Jiantao does have several answers to the life gain effects, right? We're looking at 4 copies of Skullcrack, Roiling Vortex, right? If you
그쵸, 탈색도 한 2-3번 해가지고
so I think,
머리 좀 녹여가지고 약하게 만든 다음에 색을 먹이는 걸 텐데 그게 아니면은 진짜로 저런 식으로 진하게는 안 들어가는데 저 헤어스타일 하느라고 한 30만 원 썼을 거 아니야. 30만 원씩 막 써가지고 하는 스타일이잖아요.
With a arid mesa for a basic mountain into a monastery swift spear. 19.
얘 포컬러 컨트롤이야 얘는 또.
Here looks like Mo might go
미치겠다.
after sacrificing this sacred
컨트롤은 뭔데?
This is an ideal start with a 1-drop creature, only playing 8 of those and has 1.
이거 뭐야? 옴나스 이거 뭐야, 님들아? 이거 나오면은 상대는 어떻게 해야 돼 이거? 능력 모름.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course,
저지 불러야 돼? 이거 뭐야 이거?
The prowess here on the monastery swift spear. trying to squeeze in every single point of damage if possible. Now Greg Orange does have a counter spell.
얘는 왜 컨트롤이야? 아, 약간 카운터 많이 치고 이런 식이구나.
And this is the kind of card that is worth countering, but
아니 근데 프로모 귀엽긴 하다. 귀엽게 나오긴 했다.
Greg does have to think about
근데 카드가 비싼 카드 같지 않고 싼 카드 같이 보여요.
With this Misty Rain,
근데 비싸겠지?
we are talking about a deck that does want to play a 4-color spell after all. So if there is something like a basic island under consideration here, there are some ramifications to searching for that.
Yeah, absolutely. What Greg really wants to find is a Zagoth Triome here off the fetch, because if you do, all of a sudden you've unlocked all 5 land types.
오렌지 받아라. 이게 프로투어 날로 먹기 위해 나온
way for Greg to get the
신인의 팩이다.
green source. So yeah, it's
가차없는 모노레드 번이죠. 브로스 번인가?
If you want, maybe. And then you still have access to that counter spell on the following turn.
역시 가차 없구만.
Going to let that Rolling Vortex resolve. Going to search with the Misty Rainforest. There is a Zagoth Triome now. So all 5 colors of mana have been satisfied to turn on this Leyline Binding at the cost of a single white mana. I guess it is an interesting question here of what Greg will target with the Binding.
Right.
Creatures, well, Greg's not a lot of removal for that, but he's going to use the Binding here on the Swift Spear and says, I'll figure out some sort of way to deal with the Vortex a little bit later.
We'll worry about that at a later time, because now there is no creature on the battlefield. You still have Counterspell up for Jiantao's next play.
이거 뭐지?
So Greg's just going to play Sacred Foundry tapped. We'll head back over to Mo. Going to take one from the Roiling Vortex in the upkeep will Jiantao. So now you see a hand here with a couple copies of Sunbaked Canyon, an Inspiring Vantage, which is the draw step for the turn. Rift Bolt, Roiling Vortex, and a Lightning Bolt.
Is Jiantao going to run out Vortex number 2?
Okay.
Got to counter this one.
Yeah, I think countering that one is a pretty good idea. And what you're going to see here is no suspension of the Rift Bolt. Rift Bolt alongside Roiling Vortex is a little awkward.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world, but the Rift Bolt will trigger the Roiling Vortex, excuse me. So it'll be running 6. Going to get back to Misty Rainforest and just play that and pass the turn back. Will Orange.
Yeah, great way to un-mulligan there, right? Because now all of a sudden Greg is not going to be short on land drops here.
You can see Greg's hand right now. There's another Wrenn and 6 and then a 1 ring. And the 1 ring does draw a little, just draw some cards, of course, but
베개 반지가 있다.
Yeah, absolutely. And not really at its best in this match.
No.
Jiantao's deck is not really looking to run you over with creatures, so that effect of getting protection until end of turn doesn't really matter because
근데 메인 볼텍스 매섭긴 하네.
In response to Greg sacrificing this Misty Rainforest, it's going to be a Boros Charm that is cast here by Jiantao. So, yeah, already down to 8 is Greg. You have to assume here that's going to be some sort of land that does enter the battlefield tapped. It's a great time to get a Ravnica Shock land. It's just a decision on which one's it going to be.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be Hallowed Fountain.
And normally we would say, hey, Omnath is kind of the card that you're looking for, but with the Roiling Vortex in play, that kind of counters the life gain effect.
Yeah, and this is the big change that's been made to this deck by some players, which is get the Eidolon of the Great Revels out, get some number of Roiling Vortex into the main deck. Here for this weekend, Mo's got 2 main. And we've seen some players, though, come to this tournament with 4 in the main deck.
Yeah.
It is that powerful of a card.
Yeah, I mean, right now, that's kind of what's changed in Modern since the last time we've had the Pro Tour. The existence of those elementals, those evoke spells, all free spells, right? Along with Force of Negation just being also a very powerful spell that people play. Now all of a sudden, every single deck basically has free spells that they play. So this Roiling Vortex, anytime you just get somebody with the trigger, I mean, that's so much damage.
You saw a Sunbaked Canyon get sacrificed there from Jiantao on the end of Greg's turn. So a new card plus a draw step means 2 new cards. Roiling Vortex did trigger, so Mo is down to 15. And it looks like another Sunbaked Canyon is going to be the land for the turn. Flooding out a little bit, but if you are going to draw lands, those are the best ones to draw.
뭔 땅이지?
So you can just use the Sunbaked Canyons to just find the last few points of burn to kind of finish things off.
아, 요 땅이구나.
This will be a Goblin Guy. It can not deal any damage to Greg, so it's going to deal a little bit of damage to Wrenn.
Right, given that the ring was cast this turn, Greg finds a Solitude. Just a nice card to flash in, right?
Yeah, not
nice
a bad
lifelink creature.
Not a bad card to flash in, of course, with that Roiling Vortex hanging around.
Not as good, of course.
Yeah, and a lot of mana hanging around here for Jiantao. You're going to see the Goblin Guide. Looks like it's going to get pinged by the Wrenn in 6.
I'm assuming this is going to be another Wrenn here.
Yep, that is a correct guess. So that's going to finish off that Goblin Guide.
힘들게 고가를 샀고.
And I think it is notable here, partner, as you see Kahira is going to be added to the hand, that you didn't
say
that
it,
vision of the One Ring.
No,
you didn't.
That was just, I'm going to play it and just leave it kind of in play until maybe Greg can find a way to reset the ring. Draw some cards and reset.
Yeah, one of the more expensive fogs that you're going to see. Not going to draw.
볼텍스가 힐도 막을 수 있지 않나?
I mean, that card could possibly just get boarded out in this matchup.
It would not surprise me.
Yeah.
It is kind of high upside, but it's also kind of walking a real thin line.
There we go. And that's
라이프 개인도 막아요.
Yep, and that's going to do it. Lightning Bolt and Skewer the Critics means that Jintao is going to win game number 1 here very simply.
그냥 구워졌네요.
Orange. And as you said kind of at the jump, the matchup can be very straightforward. Do you have an Omnath or not? If you don't, the chances of you winning are very low.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Greg Orange's deck. It's a control deck. Does not win very quickly, and that just goes into Jantao's favor. And oftentimes you can kind of beat the burn decks if you want.
근데 뭐 번이 메타 타서 힘들어질 일이.
Yeah, Greg is kind of avoiding this matchup or hoping not to get paired against it, which is kind of one of the best solutions to beating burn with this kind of deck, which is
사이사이 번은 워낙 1의 3의 법칙을 지킬 수 있는 카드들이 많아가지고.
Bad news for Greg, of course, is that the pairing is here.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's a fine strategy, honestly, in a modern format where it's so diverse. You go, hey, look, burn might not be a good matchup, but what? It's going to be like 10% of the field tops?
Yeah, ideally less. But yeah, I'm with you.
Less.
I'm with you. Yeah, 10% tops in a weird way.
Right. So then, you know, it's 10 rounds of modern. You might play against it once.
Yeah. And, you know, I will say this. You can win. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's not a 0%er. You can win. Omnath is that good. But especially with Jintao's build of this deck, he does seem prepared for this matchup.
Yeah,
I will say that with the main deck copies of Whirling Vortex. So Greg did mulligan a little bit here. Didn't start with 7 cards, while Jintao did. So you saw a Lava Spike to kick things off for Jintao. Greg also did sacrifice a Flooded Strand, so that's why you see 16.
저는 기본적인 덱 구조 자체가 이런 다양한 덱들과 게임해야 되는 대회에서는 그러니까 먹고 들어가는 게 있어요. 모두가 이렇게 준비하다 보면 어느 정도 약간 느슨하게 해야 되는 부분이 생기거든요. 대부분 그런 게 극단적인 덱들에 대해서 약간 피하는데 번이 그런 경우에서는 혜택을 많이 보죠. 번이 있을 때는 지들끼리 코파 넣고선 미러 매치 역하게 하고.
And it's a consistent source of damage, so when you have the opportunity, you want to get that Vortex rolling as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And here is the Vortex. Don't have to worry about the card actual counterspell, given the lands that Greg has up. Maybe there'd be a force negation there. There's not, but there is an answer in Wear Tear.
Wear Tear.
Vortex.
Okay, Greg recognizing how powerful this enchantment is, bringing in Wear Tear out of the board.
And that's a narrow answer. Because there's not a lot to kill in this matchup.
It is just the Vortex.
Yeah, but that goes to show you just how good the Vortex is against Greg.
Right, again, not that many cards out of the board, and also we talked about how the One Ring is probably just not a good card in this matchup. Dress Down also is a card that Greg plays. Doesn't really do anything there either.
Doesn't
do much of anything
Plenty
at all.
of dead cards to board out, so just gotta even bring in cards that get maybe 4 targets.
Looks like it'll be Monastery Swift Spear now. Well, that's going to come across into the red zone. That one's going to get taken care of by a more expensive Leyline Binding, but gets the job done nonetheless.
가게하지 둘 다.
Greg's got a handful of removal spells, but now no counter spell available, so firing off his most powerful burn spell.
다 가겨.
And this is very nice sequencing. Shields are down.
이제 기도해야지.
I know they're instants, but
이게 번덱의 기본 소양이에요. 이제부터.
That's right. So just
카드를 쪼는 재미로 하는 거지. 이게 번덱 하는 사람은 다 이렇다니까.
Solitude. Not ideal.
이 상황을 일부러 즐겨요. 이제 쪼는 거야.
This is just a
얘 들어갈 때마다 이제 쫀다고.
With the burn deck, it's like, all right, I got no cards, got you down to 3.
Yep.
Off the top, let's go.
One of my lances is Sunbaked Canyon most of the time, so I get a
이거
couple
도파민
of
중독이라니까.
Now if you're Greg, you hope to fade. Right. That's all you can do. You do have one counter spell to take care of one burn spell, and now if
땅이다. 이거 땅이에요.
let's say I did draw a burn spell for the turn, I don't have to cast it.
You absolutely do not fire it up.
Yeah.
이것은 땅이다. 긁적긁적.
Basically, though. Now, as a burn player, what you want to do is wait till you draw maybe 2 burn
번이다.
3 burn spells, depending on the mana that Greg has available and what he's representing. You want to be able to use multiple burn spells to finish their opponent off. But it looks like Jantao just going for it here.
Yeah, this is favorable for Greg. This is the kind of thing that can maybe get him back into this game. Now, again, looking for Omnath, but
또 들어 카운터.
copy of counter spells. So now, if Greg can ever, as you see, Sunbaked Canyon is going to get sacrificed here. If he can ever get Solitude on the battlefield, could come back into this game.
둘 다 땅.
If you can find an untapped land that doesn't do too much damage. Now, there's not a big difference between 3 and 2, right? Because all the burn spells deal 3 damage or more.
Yep. So Greg's going to add Solitude to the hand while still representing Counterspell. Misty Rainforest can search for a basic island, so... And now this is, look, this is...
저 이제 2점만 때리면 돼.
So here's Riftbolt.
2점만 때리면 돼, 2점만.
Right, down to 2 goes Greg Orange. Now the problem is, though, he's going to fetch a basic
2점만 때리면 돼.
That means he doesn't have the mana to cast the Solitude in his hand.
And that's a bit of an issue right now, but still alive.
Right.
And now you're kind of hoping, if you're Greg, if I'm going to get a lucky here, I need you to draw a couple more lands, maybe like a Searing Blaze-esque card, just a creature that I can answer. I mean, none of it's good.
Given that you've seen the way that Jantao plays, which is
쫄깃쫄깃하다.
burn spell, I'm just going to target it.
Yep.
Perhaps you didn't want to put the Kahira into your hand. Just keep up counterspell.
2점짜리 번은 없겠죠?
The white source, so that you could run out the Solitude.
No,
얘네들은 다 안 되고.
It's a very, very good point. Take a look at the draw step here. I believe that is Chalice of the Void.
Okay. Chalice for 2.
Well, I like how you question mark that, because there's not a great answer to this question. Because also,
야바이!
your deck has counterspell.
야바이 1!
Your deck has red
That
6.
is true.
So
Chalice for 1.
Okay, so here's Chalice for 1, and now here's Kahira.
All right, 2 damage, 2 casting cost burn spell off the top.
해골 빠세!
That was a skull crack sound, my friend.
Skull crack. There you go.
Well, it's okay. So it's not over yet, because you can Solitude your own creature.
Absolutely right. So you Solitude your Kahira, gain 3 life.
Now, this isn't the prettiest sequence we've ever seen, but alive is alive. Okay? Alive is alive.
Do what you gotta do.
Okay.
내 거
So
먹음!
now, if you're Greg, how can I win? You draw a lot of 1s. You draw a lot of lands. I draw Omnath. Okay.
Oh!
Okay.
Really, Greg?
존나 잘해, 게임.
Land?
Land is perfect.
Oh my goodness. Come on. Even John Tao's giving him some.
So and now there's no draw step for Jantao. There's no draw step, and
번대
immediately
빡종.
the game. Immediately there's no draw step.
번대 빡종했어요.
Perfect. Runner. Nothing is funner. We're getting ready for game 3.
Unreal. I did not.
옴나스 딱 들어와서 땅만 아니면 되는데.
Now we take a look at the players' opening hands this time around. Now this time, Greg is keeping 7. If I'm Jantao, I'm
아 근데 진짜 찰리스부터 낭만 있게 게임 됐다.
In the matchup, and Greg is keeping 7.
아 이거 안 좋아. 생물이 안 나온 게 안 좋은 거예요. 이거.
Generally, you want to start with the 1-mana haste.
Love to start with a creature.
Yeah.
바로 볼텍스 깐다.
Love to start with a creature.
But this is good. I mean, you're on the
Vortex!
You got the Vortex here.
Okay, Vortex
On turn
very,
2.
very good. Greg doesn't look thrilled about this, but he does have Force Negation.
Yeah, it might have to fire it off. Doesn't feel good, though, of course, because that's going to put you down a card here.
카운터.
All right, but very important here.
So Force Negation exiling to Fairy is going to take care of the Vortex, which means that your cards that do gain life, your Solitude...
아, 첫 턴에 생물 안 나온 게 크다.
Now
기분 안 좋겠다.
counterspell up. And this one's not looking too bad.
리부터 날려놔야지
Okay,
뭐.
so Paul, we're playing a little fun mini game here too. So you see Jintao's hand here on the top left. A Riftbolt, a Skullcrack, a Skullcrack. Those are always going to stay in. Smash the Smithereens is kind of the mini game.
Right.
Because it kills Chalice.
Is that it?
But nothing else.
I mean, you can target the One Ring.
If it's still that's true,
right?
That's true.
You
If it's still in the deck.
If it is still in the deck, I don't think it is.
Yeah, but that's the mini game that you play here. Is the One Ring in the deck? Is my opponent boarding in Chalices? And we saw in game 2 the Chalices in.
Right.
Is it in for game 3? Don't really know. And how good is it even if it is?
Right.
We're gonna find out if that Smash the Smithereens should maybe be a different card over the course of this game as the Skullcrack does resolve, as does a Riftbolt.
All right, Greg down to 11 here. And pretty straightforward game plan here.
지금 4점 때린 번이 없어가지고 이게 이렇게 차이가 나는 거예요.
Skullcrack and Smash the Smithereens, last couple of cards in hand. Greg does have a counterspell in hand. Big
3점으로만
question
때려가지고.
is when does he actually want to cast that card? He does also have a copy of Solitude in
이래서 첫 턴에 생물 나와서 지속적인 데미지를 줄 수 있었냐 없었냐가 중요한 건데.
3/2 lifelinker.
I'm just going to pass the turn back. So one turn away from actually hard casting Solitude. Doesn't look like Greg wants to put Kahira in hand on this turn. Wants to still leave up counterspell.
All right.
And is this the time you want to counter something?
Or do you hold it? Oh, Greg being patient here.
Okay.
It's like, I'll wait. What about the Riftbolt? 5? 5 is rough because now after you fetch, you go down to 4. That puts you down to Boros Charm range.
And also, if your plan, And I think Greg knows this, of course, because he plays the control decks way more than you and I do. But if your plan is to
고가든 뭐든 지속으로 4점을 때릴 수 있는 게 있었어야 되는데.
Monastery Swiftspear, which a creature's not that scary, and it's only 1 point of damage.
And it's a free target for the Solitude.
Absolutely.
Right?
So now Greg is going to sacrifice this fetch land. Seems like a Trio might be ideal here, but actually maybe a second white source is more important.
Yep.
So it's going to be a Temple Garden that's going to the battlefield tap. Greg sits at 6, and this is the fear of Smash.
오렌지 슬리브도 오렌지
because
색은.
all of your cards are redundant, right? They all deal 3.
Because if that was a 3 damage burn spell, all of a sudden you're just 1 card away.
You're 1 card away, but now you're 1 card away from winning, in quotes, if Greg plays an artifact, which he does not have much of a reason to do.
Okay, so this is going to be a pretty easy Solitude here, and then Greg's going to turn this around.
Yeah, and then he starts attacking.
He starts attacking. Now I think John Tao is basically just dead.
Yeah, and so Solitude's going to come down here. It's going to take care of that Monastery Swiftspear, and you're not like you're going to take the damage first or get kind of tricky with it.
Unless
so
he kept Searing Blaze or
그러네. 옷도 오렌지고.
And you see the hand here for John Tao. It's
going to slip away.
This is Smash Smithereens and Inspiring Vantage.
Every time you hit, that's just 1 extra card, basically.
Yep. And Burn cannot recover from stuff like this. We saw just how quick the concession was to Omnath plus a landfall trigger. This is
basically the same thing if John Tao can't find a way to kill the Solitude.
Yep. So there's an attack for 3. Greg is going to go from 6 to 9.
네덜란드.
Fantastic. John Tao's going to fall down to 18 to 15. Again, John Tao's life doesn't really matter. It's just Greg with the elevator going up here that matters.
The life link, which is really important here. Looks like once you get that.
그렇지 않아요? 다빗은 담은 것 같아.
And Greg is at the point right now where
네덜란드 느낌 나요. 네덜란드 사람 느낌 나요.
Ooh, that is a vortex. That is
to this party.
Yeah, I mean, because Greg has the Leyline Binding to answer
Binding?
I'm going to fire that off here.
Very clean
and that's
answer.
game.
And that is going to do it. Greg Orange is going to sneak out the win.
근데 이거 번데기 참을성이 별로 없네.
The changes to the
빡종을 쉽게
deck
하네.
actually kind of important. Again, not really focusing on the burn matchup, but a card like Counterspell, which most of these 4-color Omnath/control decks, they don't play it. And it was actually pretty important there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to kind of look back at Game 2. I think that was the big one where John Tao just kind of kept firing burn spells into open mana.
물론 라이프링크 생물이 나와가지고 어쩔 수 없긴 한데.
Had to keep up mana every single turn.
Yeah.
I think it might have been better to just wait.
Yeah.
And draw maybe 2 or 3 where all of a sudden you go end of turn try to burn you.
Yep.
And he goes counterspell. All of a sudden you don't have mana for the extra counter, and that's how you beat them.
And also,
that's generally how I die to the burn players.
Absolutely.
So.
And at some point, Greg's got to tap out and do something, and then maybe it's clear for takeoff at that point.
Right.
At the end of the day, Greg Orange does get the job done there, moving on to 5-0 here at Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings. We got more undefeated players to bring you. Maria and Monty are going to tee up our next match right now.
Hey everybody, coming up next we have Tal Hudson on Mono Black Copper.
약간 어디 영화 같은 데 있는 캐릭터 닮은 것 같아요.
Mono Black
뭔가 닮았는데?
offers a new addition to the modern format. This is
모노블랙 코퍼 뭐야? 코퍼가 뭐야?
Trying to combo it with Shieldred.
이게 코퍼야? 카바 코퍼 말하는 거야? 카바 코퍼로 땅 소포하고 땅 뽑아서 그걸로 뭐해요? 뭐해? 땅 많이 뽑아서 뭐해? 땅 많이 뽑아서 하는 게 없는데? 이때 뭔데 이게요?
We have Ji on Golgari Yawgmoth. The creature combo deck is trying to get
그가 연기했던 캐릭터들 뭔가를 담은 느낌?
and combine it with 2
아니 그러니까 카바 코퍼 써가지고 땅 뽑아서 그걸 뭐예요?
Find a kill condition like Zulapar.
그냥 그건가? 그냥 컨트롤식의 덱인가?
Has Chord of Calling to help find his combo pieces.
That's Coffers v Yawgmoth coming up after the break.
모노블랙 덱도 있구나. 그죠? 저 개뿔도 모르는 애인데 알 리가 없죠. 아 역시 카렌인가? 결국에 그거네. 결국에 하는 짓은 그거네. 트론이랑 비슷하겠네 그럼. 그죠? 근데 트론처럼 빠른 건 아니고 좀 더 안정적인 견제 위주로 하다가 칼은 나와서 모노그린이랑 좀 비슷한 느낌인데 모노그린처럼 전개형이 아니고 상대를 견제하는 위주의 느낌? 그런 식의 덱이네요. 호퍼로 뭐 하나 했더니 딱 여러분 말씀하신 대로 칼은 플러스 알파밖에 없네. 별건 없는 것 같아요. 별거 막 그렇게 대단한 덱은 아니야. 근데 역겨운 게 뭔지 아세요? 역겨운 거. 절대반지 사이드에까지 있어가지고 절대반지 7장 돼. 역겹다.
Welcome, welcome. I wish we were there, but we're not doing too bad here. That is Barcelona, everybody. That is where Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings, is taking place. But we are in here in a beautiful convention center as well. Cedric Phillips, Paul Cheon, getting ready to bring you more action here from round number 5 of the Pro Tour. More modern coming, players undefeated. So we are whittling our way down to who's going to be kind of standing tall at the end of the day, Paul.
Yeah, we got a really interesting matchup here. Mono Black Coffers. Didn't think this would have been one of the big players here sitting here at 4.
근데 이 느낌이면은 골가리가 좀 할만할 것 같은데? 골가리가 어쨌건 그게 있잖아요. 콤보가 되잖아. 카라쿠퍼 쓰기 전까지 유리하게 갈 수 있지 않을까? 는 지는 중.
Mono Black Coffers Pro, right here.
I mean, I remember when Coffers was a deck a long time ago, like 20 years ago.
We're coming full circle here in Modern. Cabal Coffers has been making the rounds on Magic Online a little bit recently. You see Tal Hudson is up a game with the very innovative deck. Now, speaking of innovation, this Golgari Yawgmoth deck did also make the rounds on Magic Online, and it seems to always do well on those Saturday and Sunday events, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Someone's in the top 8 with those.
Yeah, I mean the deck is just.
아니 근데 왜 골가리 덱 데미스 보면 개세 보였는데 애들이 다 좀 약한 느낌이야.
So powerful is you can just win playing.
왜 다 약해?
You just curve out, play the Bowmasters, a new addition to the deck with the Young Wolf, and then whenever you just play Yawgmoth, you don't need to combo off. Nope. You just play the Yawgmoth, draw 3 cards, and often that's enough to win you matches.
March of Wretched Sorrow is going to take care of the brand new Bowmasters. As a Young Wolf has been already played this game, and of course you do see the Amass 1 there for Jihaoji. And now it'll be a Blooming Marsh. Going to take a damage from that Nurturing Peatland, which means the mana is working for the Golgari player, and the beatdowns aren't too bad as well. Strangerroot Geist. The Undying creatures are here. One of them does have haste in the Geist, as Tal Hudson going to fall down.
Yeah, and Tal, you know, playing the controlling role in this matchup really just wants to keep things clear and then survive until he can get to the point where he gets up to 7-8 lands with the Cabal Coffers, and then take over the game that way by playing a Karn and then getting one of his many extremely powerful effects out of the sideboard.
You'll see a Demolition Field activation there to take care of that Blooming Marsh. One thing that this Mono Black Coffers deck does do is play a lot of copies of Demolition Field and Field of Ruin to be able to slow down decks like the Urzatron. So kind of built a good matchup into their deck there. Those effects, though, less good here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the nice thing, though, is most decks in Modern only play 3-4 basic lands. So as a result, eventually you get to run them out of their lands, and you get to cash those Demolition Fields into swamps, and ultimately you want all swamps in play to, of course, power your Cabal Coffers.
Relic Progenitus off of the untapped swamp from the Demolition Field does a little bit of exiling of the Greyheart as we head back Xi's way. See if there's maybe a 4th land and a Yawgmoth coming here soon.
Yeah, Xi just wants to put maximum pressure here. He wants the game to end quickly because Tal has the advantage in the late game.
Yes. So for Golgari Yawgmoth, it does play a fair game quite well, but it also does have quite a few options. As you see, Boseiju is going to be the land for the turn. Yeah. Let's see what the follow-up is going to be here.
Yawgmoth would be ideal.
Yeah, that's a perfect card.
Another really cool card out of the sideboard is Elven Chorus.
Okay.
really, really great in this matchup. Black decks do not have good ways to deal with enchantment. Ooh, and that is an Elven Chorus here in play.
Well,
creature?
아무 때나 내 덱 밀어볼 수 있다. 나는 내 덱 위에 있는 크리처 스펠을 캐스팅할 수 있다. 내 생물들은 아무색 마나 엘프가 된다. 좋네. 기가 막힌 카드.
By being able to play all of these creatures off the top of your deck, your already deck that does play.
그런 기가 막힌 카드가 있었단 말이야.
And you are searching for one key one. Now this will be a very powerful creature in Shieldred, the Apocalypse.
Right, absolutely, and not too many answers from the Golgari side for a Shieldred. You do have 4 copies of Grist.
윗점 봐야지, 못 참지.
So that would be something that Jihao would be interested in. Now remember, Grist is a creature, so you can also chord for it if you do still have that after sideboard.
You see some mana being reached for already, so I'm curious to see what she is up to this turn. Looks like some real plotting is taking place.
Yeah.
There's a peatland sacrifice if it does come down to it, in desperate need of a new card.
Right. I mean, with the combination of the Elven Chorus, I mean, Jihao has so much mana.
It's a lot of mana. Yep.
Yeah.
어허, 이 새끼 이거 꺾었다 말았다, 꺾었다 말았다.
The lands a little bit because it appears wants to keep the peatland available. So,
gonna
figure out which creature to tap for mana. It's gonna be Strangleguard, and now it is Yawgmoth. Okay.
There it is, and he has the combo online right now. But remember, he is facing a Shieldred in play.
Yes.
So it is punishing.
The combo is here, sort of. Insofar as you can do it. Now, it does cost life to activate, but at the same time, there is a Shieldred on the battlefield, too, and you're drawing cards. So each activation here of Yawgmoth is quite pricey.
Yeah, you take 3 damage every time you activate Yawgmoth.
Now, you do have the ability to give Yawgmoth some -1/-1 counters, but there is 4 toughness over there, so this is kind of tough. Now, one thing worth noting here with the Elven Chorus, the ability to tap mana, the Proliferate works its way into the equation to get that Shieldred off the battlefield a little bit more easily.
Absolutely.
What's up?
Has access to 6 mana here. Because I don't think he has enough to just try to kill the Shieldred straight up, because he would take 15 damage.
Yeah, I think it's just
드로우도 하고
콤보도
돌리면서
no land played this turn. That's an additional black source of mana.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I kind of like this attack.
어떻게 맞아?
Attacks here too. So the Yawgmoth was just played this turn, correct?
That is correct.
So that one does not tap for mana.
That is
it
correct.
Has sickness.
And
now these creatures that are attacking, they're not going to tap for mana either. So Talathon's going to fall down to 8. Let's see if there's a follow-up play here for Jihao.
No blocks. Down to 8.
Land doesn't look, the hand doesn't look particularly good.
I want no real way for Jihao to get in for more damage here, I don't think. Yeah, Shieldred.
Before damage.
Looks like you might have an effect here before damage. Players are communicating a little bit back and forth. We'll try to communicate that to you watching at home.
Feels like a chord here, right? If you're tapping something.
Gotcha. Right.
So the peatland's going to deal some damage. Okay. This is disc. Okay, so this is proliferate.
Proliferating.
Yeah.
So pumping, you can add +1/+1 counters here.
Correct.
And add a -1/-1 counter onto the Shieldred. So we're getting aggressive here.
Yes, yes. It's kind of playing a weird normal game with Yawgmoth and making these creatures larger. So you're seeing Wall of Roots actually tap for black mana, and now Wall of Roots is going to add a green mana with its ability. And now that green mana is going to be filtered into Twilight Rider for 2 black mana, which is going to allow you to discard a card to proliferate again, which makes Shieldred a little bit worse, and the creature's a little bit better.
Okay. So Tal goes down to 3.
7, 8, 9 damage.
That's 9 damage.
So 4.
Looks like going to fall down to 4.
Okay, so not quite lethal.
Wait, how much damage is this?
Yeah, they're gonna confirm back and forth here exactly how much damage is done. When the dust does settle and the life totals are updated, they will be accurate for you at home.
Well, so that's a 1/1 amass token with 3 counters on it? No. It's just
it's a 0/0 with 3 counters.
It's a 0/0. So
correct.
So we're looking at an attack for 9, correct?
Yeah.
So 13 minus 9 is 4.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I think we're on the same page there.
There we go.
And now this Wall of Roots, well, that's good fodder to throw away. Now it's
so Shieldred's got 3 counters on it. You can fling 2 creatures, right? And you'll go down to 4.
Yep. So you start with the Young Wolf, toss that. It's going to come back because of Undying. It's going to get a +1/+1 counter. Not a -1/-1 counter.
Draw a card.
Yep, draw a card.
Okay.
Resolve the shielded trigger, so you're going to fall down to 7.
Do it one more time so that Tal can't gain life next turn.
Yep.
위에 봐야지. 빨리 봐.
So Jihao has a huge board.
미쳤겠어. 빨리 봐.
And Tal needs to find an answer for everything.
아니 밑장 봐야지.
you make it sound so easy. But what this does is it kind of goes to show you this deck's ability to play a normal game.
Right.
Even though Yawgmoth is an incredible card, we're kind of playing normalized Magic because of the Shieldred. But being able to get all this damage through and kill the Shieldred is kind of nuts. Right. All in one turn.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Using every mode of Yawgmoth here.
Yep. So nice Shieldred. See you later. Both players at 4 life now. I'm curious, what's Tal Hudson's best draw?
Damnation?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, Damnation would be okay, but
that's kind of medium, actually.
Because you can put a counter on the Young Wolf.
Yeah.
Right? And it'll come back and get you. So
that's going to be a win there for Golgari Yawgmoth. Excuse me. Jihao Ji going to win that game, which sends us to a third one between Ji and Hudson. This time, Hudson going to be on the play. Yawgmoth, a great combo with Cabal Coffers.
Absolutely.
Both players are going to keep 7 cards. Blooming Marsh into a Thoughtseize means we'll get a good idea of exactly what Tal Hudson is working with. A Swamp, a Castle Lockbane, a Demolition Field, a Shieldred, a Cabal Coffers.
Knight's Whisper.
And I believe that is a Knight's Whisper that I'm laughing at, because that card is from like 05.
Yeah, well, you know, 2 mana draw 2. You got to find a way to smooth out your draws here, so Tal's going for that.
여러분 큰일 났어요.
I mean,
저 이번 경기 보고 방송할게요. 나 너무 졸려서 안 되겠어. 자야겠어.
I'm hard pressed to not select Knight's Whisper.
내일은 끝까지 봅시다. 오늘은 도망갈게요.
I really am. I think that probably is going to be the selection. Shieldred is very good, but that was kind of solved pretty easily. It looks like it will be Shieldred.
아 오늘 나갔다 왔더니 나 너무 힘들다 더워가지고 거의 먹어서 너무 졸려서 지금 거의 반 졸고 있거든요. 안 되겠어.
So assuming we are correct that is a Knight's Whisper, and it is. Yeah, okay, it is.
내일은 6시에 낄 테니까 드래프트부터 재밌게 봅시다.
2 cards, 2 life.
나 안 자면은 나 안 될 것 같아.
Originally from
힘들어.
5th Dawn.
It's been a while.
Yes, it has been.
It's been around.
You saw Demolition Field was the second land there for Tal. Again, when you have Urborg, it is already a swamp as well, so no reason almost to not play the colorless land.
Yeah. So what do we have here? Strangleroot Geist maybe, Wall of Roots.
I'm just gonna pass the turn back. There is an Orcish Bow. Bowmasters.
Wow.
Bowmasters.
You almost slipped.
I almost did it, Corey. I almost did.
근데 내 생각보다 모던 재밌는데?
Just gonna
얘들아?
pass the turn back.
어떡하지?
Gonna activate the relic right away. Will Tal Hudson, so that Thoughtseize is gone for good.
아닌가? 얘네들이 눈속임 하는 건가?
And if one Knight's
there it is.
노잼 매치를 피처로 안 보여줘서 재밌는 척하는 거죠.
Response will give us a 3/3 token, and Tal Hudson's going to take a lot of damage here from the Knight's Whisper.
Yeah, so from the Knight's Whisper, from the Bowmasters, yep.
That's 3, and then 2 more from the 2 triggers.
So that's 5.
So take 5.
And we haven't even talked about the attack step.
Right, of course.
So
Bowmasters 13.
Bowmasters looking pretty good here.
Yeah, I mean it is the second most played card in the entire tournament coming in. So only behind the One Ring.
It's a card that almost got people to cut Ragavan from
근데
the deck.
괴랄하고 이런 걸 떠나가지고 일단 난 모르겠다. 나는 지금까지 본 걸로는 괜찮은데? 모던 생각보다? 나는 개사기 나와서 다 그냥 이지하고 끝날 줄 알았는데 그렇진 않은데?
Couple of young wolves and no land.
다양한 덱들이 있긴 한데요.
So he just kind of on this. I hope these creatures get me there. Now Young Wolf is pretty good against sweepers, right?
Point, yes.
If Tal does manage to find something like a Damnation, we'll still have to face 4 damage with the double Young Wolves in play.
And it is worth noting as well that though it does look like Jihao might be mana screwed here a little bit as far as lands are concerned, if you're deploying more creatures onto the battlefield, it does still open up the floodgates for Court of Calling.
Right.
So those might be mana creatures and we just don't know it yet.
Ooh, I guess with the double relic, if you have the Damnation, how much does this Coffers tap for? 4 mana?
Yeah, we're just flat 4 right now.
Yeah, it's just flat 4, okay. So you'd be able to get one of the Young Wolves as Jihao would exile the Bowmasters.
아니 내 예상을 깨고 왜 재밌어?
You're gonna see a fatal push take care of that amass token, so that thing's got to go away.
All right.
Oh yeah.
약간 미드레인지 덱들이 많아서 그런가?
Damage in half.
Well, anytime you see someone move the lands over like that, I don't know if you caught that there from Jihao. I got a feeling a land was the draw for the turn. I have a sneaking suspicion. We'll see.
Kind of awkward though. You don't really want to pop those relics because you're just gonna give Jihao another trigger there with the Bowmasters.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's a very good point. Every part of the Bowmaster's Buffalo. Very important.
You gotta kill it. You
Yeah.
just gotta use a removal spell to get rid of it. But doesn't look like Tal has one here.
Looks like 3 damage will come across there first.
Okay.
So it's 18-6.
Yeah.
4 cards in hand? Yes.
Let's see what the follow-up here is going to be. It's just going to be passing. It looks like maybe passing the turn, so no land drawn.
All right. What do you have? What are you working with here, Tal?
Okay, so there's the relic activation.
So there will be a trigger here from the Bowmasters.
So long as you remember that trigger.
All right, take one.
Yep. And you get to amass.
Find some answers.
And now,
push. Found it after.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. I have to imagine.
Hold!
Given the sequencing,
other
장막!
horrible
given the sequencing, I think the push was found.
Ooh.
장막이라니!
Veil.
Summer.
Quite the beating there, folks.
Counter your fatal push and draw a card.
Yes, very, very nice Veil of Summer there for Jihao Ji.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
So these players are going to make sure the life totals are on the up and up. Tal Hudson is down to 5 and is in some serious trouble.
Wow.
What I want to see right now is you got the coffers, you got the Urborg.
You get some power.
You've got the combo.
You got the combo here. You have access to 5 mana if you draw a land. It's considerably more. Go up to 7, I believe.
Yeah.
So what can you do with all that mana?
The 5th land drop is kind of the flashpoint where something dope should happen.
7 mana here. Tal has access to. Can he deal with Jihao, who's only on 2 lands here? He's been able to do all of this on just 2.
All right, we're fiddling with those lands. Just passing the turn.
Nothing? What do you have? Do you have a March, maybe? March would be great. March of Wretched Sorrow.
Okay, well.
Gain a bunch of life.
We're tapping
right?
some manas.
This is 5, 6.
힐을 하려고 한다. 뭐야?
So it's going to be a field activation first. So I think there's a lot of floating of mana, and it's going to be a field activation at least first.
Okay.
That's what it feels like.
What does that accomplish? Because you have the Urborg with the coffers already, right?
Sure. You're trying to screw up something for your opponent. I'm not entirely sure what. Basic Swamp is going to be the search there for Jihao Ji.
Is he just going for a double demolition field turn here or something?
This might be premature because I think I'm gonna.
Let's see. Are we gonna field again?
I think that's what he's doing. Okay, so he's got a mana floating.
All right, I'm destroying all of your lands.
땅 나올 확률을 줄이는 건가?
So now there's a forest and a swamp here for G. I guess you can't get Strangleroot Geisted here off the top.
이유는 모르겠지만 땅을 존나 부시고 있음.
Technically true.
That is technically true. Although if he had one, he probably would have cast it already.
So what is coming here?
I don't know. I mean, that was your best play with 7 mana?
That is one of the plays. Oh no. Okay, so
isn't he just dead?
Look, it's not looking good. It's not, I don't know what's going on, but none of it's good for Tal.
Was Tal just thinning out his deck to try to find a removal spell?
That has to be. That has to be. Okay, so now. Okay, so this is Sheoldred's Edict.
Okay, sack a token.
Okay.
So go to 1.
Hey, still alive.
1.
Still alive.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, that's a Pendelhaven.
Yeah, okay, not alive. Not alive.
And unalive.
Xiao Xi's gonna win this game and match 2-1.
뭔가 열심히 했지만
Mono black coffers.
Wow.
Yawgmoth doing it in unconventional
뭔가 열심히 했지만
I mean, I
끝남.
talked about it before, right? You don't have to necessarily just combo them out. And this one was just kind of a scrappy win, just with a bunch of young wolves and bowmasters just doing its thing.
Yeah, this is a thing that this deck can do. It doesn't happen all the time.
그래도 볼만하네요.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just
다행히.
gonna kind of do some
내일은
stuff
열심히
with creatures and it might be good.
봅시다.
Right?
오늘은
And
저
it got there. I mean, I don't really know what
잠자러
Tal was
갈게요.
working with there. He looked like he basically just
나
kind of
더위
had nothing
먹었나
there,
너무
so
힘드네요.
We'll never know.
쉬러 갈게요.
we will never know. I can ask.
내일은 6시에 바로 키도록 하겠습니다. 여러분
Christian
Love it.
빠잉.
sound good to you? We're gonna head that
Bye-bye.
way right now. Gonna be watching Mono Green